He was originally a top-tier shut-in who just mooched along, waiting to die. But at the very moment the apocalypse descended, he awakened an exclusive skill. In this city that had already been completely taken over by monsters, his apartment was like a real safe house, absolutely invincible. But the problem was, he couldn't get out. Just when he had fallen into total despair over it, a stunningly beautiful married woman, with tears in her eyes, knocked on his door. From this moment on, the gears of fate began to turn. Not long after, he too would become the world's only administrator. Time came to the third day after the apocalypse arrived. Jae-yin's hand holding the chips trembled slightly. Still looking like a complete loser, he slowly stuffed the chips into his mouth, and savored them carefully. Clearly, the world had not been completely destroyed. Jae-yin could still eat chips, drink cola, and keep lying low at home like usual. It's just that now, he was alone. And also, at present, he was the only man monopolizing an entire 100 square meter apartment. His parents, and his grandparents, were all outside. This place was bought by his dad with a loan. His family wasn't well off. Back then, to get the home buying discount, they had to actually live here for 2 years. This was the real reason Jae-hyun had been squatting here all along, until the sudden disaster struck, and he ended up trapped in this house. Looking at his phone, with no signal, he slumped back on the sofa, and let out a long sigh. Life is hard. The corporate drone sheds tears. Suddenly, a piercing monster shriek came from outside. He looked up out the window. A massive monstrous bird was diving madly toward this building. The next second, the monster's huge mouth pressed up to the balcony, and snapped open right in front of Jae-hyun. Damn, isn't this thing way too scary? This was a bird that he had no idea how it had grown into this shape. Anyway, in his view, he was probably done for here. A horn blast sounded in his ears, along with sailors' laughter. No, that wasn't hallucination. It was the system notification sound. Skill Ultimate Shut-in activated. Without permission, no entity may step even half a step inside. Scared the hell out of me. I almost died just now. Jae-hyun had survived until now thanks to his tough life. Plus, the freakish skill the system gave him. All of a sudden, he kicked the front door. To hell with Ultimate Shut-in. Yes, for the moment, he was alive. But the side effect was deadly too. The Ultimate Shut-in cannot take even half a step outside the front door, so there was nothing he could do. He could only be purely, unconditionally, invincible inside the room. He turned to look at the living room, and said gloomily, "What's the point of being invincible? There's only a tiny bit of food and drink left at home. Tell me, can invincibility be eaten as a meal?" The fridge had long since lost power, and his favorite beef was completely ruined. Only the leftover dishes his mom had left behind remained. With the power out, who knew how long they'd last? Luckily, there were still some reserves. The premium ingredient of the apocalypse, instant noodles. He was sunk in deep thought when the system panel suddenly popped up, startling him. Successfully hunted Calican. Gained a large amount of EXP as skill level increased. Could it be some expert made a move? Jae-in stood up, and moved closer to the balcony to look down. That monstrous bird was lying on its side downstairs, sleeping very peacefully. It looked like it was probably dead. Beside it were other monsters, gnawing on its corpse. Did it try to crash into my place, get bounced off, and die from the fall, so the kill counts as mine? Just then, the system sent another notification. A new skill, plus a whole bunch of densely packed settlement info. But Jae-hyun just stared blankly downstairs. Watching those monsters that were so excited, they'd gone crazy. He had no idea what they were so hyped about. And he had no idea what the system was freaking out about either. The system had already tallied up the loot, and it even sent Jae-hyun a bit of money on top of that. Suddenly, the room lights flickered, and came back on. No way, power's back this fast? Turns out, it was a new skill. The Ultimate Shut-in's dignity, maintain the house, restore half of the facility functions. Jae-hyun stared hard at the system panel, eyes wide. Then he suddenly rushed to the fridge. Electricity. There's really electricity. He tried the faucet too. Water. There's really water. In that instant, Jae-hyun was so excited he was about to cry. Wasn't this basically no different from life before the apocalypse? Then what was he waiting for? He had to scroll on his phone for a bit to relax first. Turns out he'd been thinking too much. There was power, but the internet, none at all. It's still not quite there, system bro. Out of the corner of his eye, Jae-hyun spotted a USB drive on the floor. Probably had games or something on it. He couldn't be bothered to care. He'd play around first. However, as he played, Jae-hyun couldn't help thinking of his childhood again. Days when his parents were by his side. Those were simple, pure times of happiness. The pure land in his heart, the most precious memories. So am I supposed to keep rotting like this forever? That won't do. No matter what, I have to bring my family here. Just as Jae-hyun made up his mind, the system simultaneously unlocked the shop function. The shop could buy items on the list at the original price. What would refresh inside? He casually opened it and looked at his balance, not sure how much he could actually buy. But since his skill level had increased, he decided to try first. Could he walk out the front door? In an instant, an invisible mysterious force blocked him right before the threshold. Looks like he still had to keep leveling. But one thing was certain. As long as he kept hunting monsters, his skill level could keep increasing, and he could unlock more new functions. One day, he should be able to get permission to go out. But then the problem arose. How were they supposed to hunt? Monsters that came right to their doorstep like before were, after all, a minority. Jaehyun looked outside, his gaze falling on the goblins gnawing at the corpse. Maybe I can think of a way to kill them. It's worth a try. The next second, he grabbed a bottle of mineral water and hurled it hard down below. Just as I thought. I can't go out, but I can throw things out. Then this still has some potential. Jaehyun picked up a small dumbbell that was set to the side. Come on, let the goblins taste how strong this is. Then he noticed the goblins downstairs were almost done eating, and they seemed to be getting ready to pack up and leave. Fuck, so you're freeloading and that's not enough? You even want to take it to go? Jaehyun immediately flung the dumbbell out, praying like crazy. Please, it has to hit. The dumbbell fell from the sky, but it didn't hit the goblin. It only smashed the monstrous bird's corpse to bits. However, it did successfully draw the goblin's attention. Things seemed a bit not good. There were only a few dumbbells at home he could throw. Now there was only the last one left. He'd run out of things that could be used as weapons. There were large appliances, but Jaehyun couldn't lift them to smash anything at all. The goblins downstairs casually looked around, and immediately spotted Jaehyun standing on the balcony. It's over. I'm going to die. As the goblins let out a round of shrill screeches, they swarmed toward the building. Watching the goblin horde rapidly closing in, Jaehyun's confidence in hitting with thrown objects was already at 90%. But now, he had nothing left in his hands to throw. Wait, there's the shop? Jaehyun raised his hand and opened the system shop. And the shop was completely empty. Right after that, the system popped up a prompt, asking whether he wanted to list an item. What is there to hesitate about? List it. The next second, a beam of light swept over, and the dumbbell in his hand was successfully registered and listed. Once an item is listed, as long as you pay to buy it, you can purchase it unlimited times. And the price is the same as before the apocalypse. The money he'd just earned from killing monsters was enough to buy back this dumbbell again. Jaehyun didn't hesitate, and chose to purchase. A dazzling flash of light, and the dumbbell appeared in front of him again. Good, as long as I register and list an item, I can buy it infinitely. With a fixed weapon, what comes next will be much easier. In the blink of an eye, the dumbbell once again fell from the sky. This time, it hit a goblin squarely in the head. Experience credited. Money credited. Jaehyun was very satisfied. The monsters downstairs were still mourning their companion's departure. And the next dumbbell was already in position in midair. Obviously, this pack of monsters wasn't that stupid. They knew how to dodge and how to run. Now that's kind of annoying. Buy, keep buying, I'm rich right now. I refuse to believe I can't smash you little cash piles, and little EXP packs, to death. Another hit, another settlement. Jaehyun again harvested experience and money. And he also unlocked a new skill. This haul was extremely worthwhile. New skill, storage space unlocked. Jaehyun put the dumbbell inside, then summoned it back out. After a simple test, he realized he could directly summon items to a location he designated. At this moment, a crazy, bold idea surfaced in Jaehyun's mind. The light flashed again, and Jaehyun bought even more dumbbells. Next up, Grand Summoning Art, Secret Technique, Dumbbells from the Heavens. Goblins, it's not just rain that falls from the sky, it's dumbbells. This time I'm doing full fire coverage. Let's see where you can hide now. Along with kill after kill, Jaehyun devoured this wave of experience down to the last drop. Right after, the system prompted whether he wanted to list more products. Even an idiot knew what to choose. List them. Absolutely list them. Up to now, Jaehyun had already listed some everyday items, and the system was still sitting on the more than 2 million he had left from farming monsters just now. After the first round of battle settlement was done, Jaehyun found that his balance had actually dropped instead. This wasn't very scientific. It was probably the cost of restoring the house facilities. The system actually deducted it automatically. Got to say, this system is damn smart. If anyone was to blame that bunch of dumbass goblins earlier. The nearby wave got smashed to death by him, and the monsters farther away all ran off. Which led to him not farming enough EXP, and not maxing out his earnings either. Still wanted to find a few more monsters to farm. But outside, apart from the corpse of that suicide bird monster Calican, he couldn't see a single living one. If only another one would come deliver itself to me. What's that flying over there? Whatever he wished for came true. Another Calican actually flew over. Jaehyun quickly turned and went back into the room. He tied a mirror to a clothes-drying pole and stuck it out from the balcony. He tried using the reflection to draw the monster's attention over. As the monster flew over the residential complex, Jaehyun kept adjusting the mirror's angle, and it finally locked onto the position of the light source. The next second, bearing fangs and claws, it charged straight at Jae-yin. Perfect. That's exactly the effect I wanted. By the current rules, it still couldn't get in. It was another free kill. So long as it died near this building, Jae-yin's level would skyrocket on the spot. When the monster realized it couldn't get in no matter how it rammed, it flapped its huge wings. And a demonic gale came howling in. It caught Jae-yin completely off guard. He raised his arm to block the wind, and forced his eyes open, only to see the thing slip away. No way, this is getting ridiculous. Jae-yin craned his head to look up. The monster had grabbed the eaves above with its giant claws. It changed its angle of attack. Immediately after, it opened its gaping, blood-filled maw. And it continued ramming the barrier like crazy. This monster was clearly a bit smarter, but only a bit. It kept ramming the system's protective shield, to the point that Jae-hyun started to wonder whether it could actually break through. No matter what, I can't just stand by. And based on his earlier observations, only if the corpse fell within his effective range would it trigger reward settlement. Those monsters that were badly injured before, then quickly dragged away by other goblins, simply hadn't counted as kills at all. In simple terms, at the moment of settlement, if the corpse was too far from the house, Jae-hyun wouldn't get the reward. So is there a way to kill it in one hit? Jae-hyun stared at the items in the system shop, his brain starting to spin at high speed. Got it. Canola oil, listed. He looked at the canola oil he just bought on the floor, instantly hugged the oil jug, and rushed into the kitchen. Pan up, oil in. All in one smooth flow. While the oil temperature rose, Jae-hyun grabbed a wooden stick, and he used tape to wrap gauze around one end of it. Then he stuck it into the boiling hot oil, to soak it thoroughly. Next, he listed this pot of high-temperature canola oil in the system shop. Then Jae-hyun lit the wooden stick that had been soaked in hot oil. Now it had a new name, Torch. Looking at the monster still battering the barrier, Jae-hyun carried the torch and walked to the window. Still the familiar grand summoning art. But this move, I'm calling it Meteor Fire Rain. Scalding canola oil poured down from the sky, instantly scorching the monster so badly it flipped and rolled like crazy in midair. Jae-hyun roared, "Die for me." He threw the torch straight at the monster's body. In an instant, flames burst across the monster. The blazing fire burned like a living fireball. See, didn't that do it? The burning monster spun in the air, and finally plummeted from high above. Is this a bit cruel? Next time I'll pay attention. Be even crueler. Watching the monster roll and scream on the ground, in a short while, it completely stopped moving. The system began the settlement. This was a level 27 monster. The rewards were surely quite substantial. Before the burning black smoke had even dispersed, the settlement was already complete. Just this one monster actually dropped more than 9 million won. The next second, a new upgraded skill popped up. Home territory expansion. Before Jae-hyun could even react, a violent bout of dizziness suddenly hit, as if his consciousness were yanked out of his body, passing through the front door like an out-of-body experience, all the way flying to the end of the corridor. In another unit, a family of 4 was sitting around the coffee table. In Jae-hyun's consciousness, it was like he had turned on a god's eye view, and that family should be the neighbors on his floor. Not long after, a strong wave of discomfort surged up, and Jae-hyun's consciousness returned to his body, his vision back to normal. He replayed in disbelief everything he had just seen, and what that family of 4 looked like. At the same time, each of their basic profiles also appeared on Jae-hyun's system interface. Citizens who meet the acceptance criteria have been found. Grant them citizen status? What the hell? Then if I don't grant them citizen status, what happens? The system calmly gave the answer. Those without status will be forcibly expelled from their residence. Jae-hyun's heart sank, his conscience dragged under the spotlight for judgment. No status? They'd be almost certainly dead. Give them all status. I'll study what other functions the system has first. That ability that felt like an out-of-body experience was called Ultimate Eyes. Apart from unlocking citizen permissions, what else can I do? He kept flipping back and forth through the system menu. And finally, beneath the skills section, he saw a new item, Citizen Status Management. He opened the details page, and it clearly recorded each citizen's level and their trust in Jae-hyun. What Jae-hyun didn't expect was that the cap on citizens he could accept was as high as 600 people. He could distribute EXP and money to citizens, and he could also siphon EXP and money from them. I love this system so much. Is this how you get stronger? He could even use the system to assign all kinds of tasks to citizens. This is kind of interesting. I need to find a chance to try it. Jae-hyun drafted a task to hunt goblins, with a small EXP reward, and the failure condition being death. He stared at the confirmation prompt for publishing the task, silent for a few seconds. Forget it. No need to rush. And my conscience won't allow me to do that right now. After all, as long as I want to, he could kill them in minutes. That's my ability, and the power I'm holding in my hands right now. But right now, what exactly should I do? The next second, Jae-hyun activated Ultimate Eyes again, planning to observe that family first. With this skill, he could see any scene he wanted within his territory, and hear every sound clearly. The woman was asking her husband what they should do next. The man was completely at a loss in the face of the situation, and planned to go out to look for supplies and a water source. The wife was worried. And besides, where is there even water outside now? No one knows. The man rubbed his forehead dejectedly, and said he'd try his luck at a nearby convenience store first. The two daughters couldn't help repeatedly saying they were thirsty. The man clenched his fists, and quietly made up his mind. He held his wife's hand and said softly, "Have them trust me," and waited home with peace of mind. "I will definitely come back." The woman bit her lip hard, forcing herself not to let the tears fall. Seeing this, Jae-in turned off the skill. "It's worse than I imagined." He opened the system shop with his other hand. "If only the shop could unlock more supplies. I'll try upgrading skills first." Looking at all the skills he currently had, Jae-in decided to prioritize upgrading the storage shop. He pressed confirm to upgrade, and a flash of light passed. The shop was upgraded to level 2, can list 20 items, and enjoy a 10% discount. Looks pretty good, very practical. Then he continued upgrading, since he would definitely run into more survivors in the future. The shop rose to level 3, can list 40 items, and a new item repair function was added. Worth it. This skill is really good. I'll buy some oranges first, then buy some water, then keep upgrading the next skill. Jae-in tapped the ultimate shut-in dignity maintenance, the core skill that could restore house functions. If he could provide water and electricity to others, he could definitely trade for quite a lot. The skill was successfully upgraded to level 2. The new function displayed, can register vassals. I was originally hoping it could restore the internet. This vassal thing, what the hell is it? On the other side, in the neighbor's unit, the man had already packed some simple gear, and was about to head out to look for supplies. His wife softly called out to him, the words reaching her lips. Then she swallowed them back down. The man bent over and coaxed the two daughters. "Daddy will be back soon." The two little girls looked up at him. "Daddy, are you really going out?" The man patted the child's head. "Be good, Daddy has to go out, and bring back some supplies." The child burst into tears all at once. "But Daddy, there are monsters outside." Turns out the child remembered everything. It was a bright, breezy afternoon, and the monster just suddenly appeared at the end of the street. The two kids playing outside were the first to spot it, and the older sister grabbed the younger one, and sprinted madly home. The man also recalled that day. If he and his wife hadn't each grabbed a child, and run for their lives, that day, the whole family would have died on that road. Thinking of that, the man standing at the doorway said nothing more, only closing his eyes, and taking a deep breath. Behind him, his wife comforted the terrified children. He knew better than anyone. This was very likely the last time he'd ever see them. Just thinking of that made him feel fucking awful. Right then, a knock on the door rang out abruptly. The whole family froze in place. There wasn't even a peephole on the door. All they could do was stare hard at it, not daring to make a sound. After quite a while, a voice came from outside. "Excuse me, could you open the door?" The man was startled and suspicious. At a time like this, how could there be a human voice outside? It could also be a monster mimicking human speech. He didn't dare act rashly. The voice outside sounded again. "Is anyone there?" The wife quickly covered the children's mouths, afraid they'd make a sound. The man carefully picked up a golf club as a weapon, and slowly approached the door. Time ticked by. Outside went quiet, with no further movement. The man muttered in a lowered voice. Did he leave? His emotions gradually loosened a bit too. The next second, the front door was pushed open directly from the outside. The man lunged forward reflexively, scooped up his wife and daughters, and shouted, "Please don't hurt them." Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to disturb you." Standing outside the door was Jae-in. The man didn't recognize him at all. Jae-in was carrying a bag of things, and introduced himself naturally. "My name is Jae-in. I'm your next-door neighbor. I came over to bring you some water and oranges. After you eat and drink, how about we talk?" The moment he heard water and things, the man's guard wavered instantly. In this era, water was life, and Jae-in didn't look like a monster. Maybe he could even help their family. In the end, the man stepped aside, and let Jae-in in. Even though he'd come in, the two children still shrank back, trembling. Did I scare their whole family? Jae-in's gaze swept the living room, and he found they had pulled the blackout curtains tightly shut. He had to admit, this family was pretty smart. Doing that really could reduce the odds of monsters noticing this place. But I don't like an environment where you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Let's make it brighter in here. Jae-in silently recited it in his heart, and activated the dignity maintenance skill. The next second, the ceiling light snapped on. The family looked up at the sudden light, faces blank with confusion, not knowing what had happened. Jae-in handed over a bottle of water. "Let the kids drink first." The man took the water, and split it between his two daughters. The two little girls took the bottled water, and the next second, they put on a talent show right in front of Jae-in. One came up, and started chugging like a bull. They drank too fast, and both started coughing from choking. Jaehyun watched them with a blank face, but inside, his heart couldn't help softening a little. In the apocalypse, being able to live on this clumsily somehow also counted as a kind of cuteness. Do you like oranges? Jaehyun held the oranges out in front of the little girls. The child took an orange and softly, tremblingly, said thank you twice. The mother took it and patiently peeled the orange, feeding the segments into the child's mouth one by one. The long-lost taste of fruit exploded in her mouth, and the little girl's eyes practically sparkled with happiness. Oranges are super delicious. Beside her, the older sister was practically drooling, and cried expectantly, Mom, I want one too. She got her wish and ate an orange too. So happy she was about to bounce right off the couch. At this time, a system prompt popped up. A citizen's trust has reached 50. Loyalty unlocked. At the same time, the younger sister's stats had already met the requirements for vassal registration. Jaehyun glanced at the little girl and silently shook his head. Meeting the standard at such a young age didn't really mean much. There were only 10 vassal slots. It had to be someone at least on her dad's level to help Jaehyun carry out orders and do real work. But her dad's trust in him was too low. He had to find a way to prop that trust up, so Jaehyun would have people he could use under him. He was thinking about how to raise this man's trust value when the other party called out to him, pulling him back from his thoughts. The man sincerely thanked Jaehyun, saying he had no idea how to repay this kindness. It just so happened Jaehyun also hadn't figured out how to bring up conditions yet, so he went with the flow and invited him out. If it's convenient, let's talk for a minute in the corridor. The two of them walked outside one after the other. Jaehyun spoke first. You all received the citizen status notification, right? Yes, about half an hour ago, our whole family got that prompt. Jaehyun asked again. Before that, did anything abnormal happen? Like suddenly not being able to move? The man nodded and said that at that time, the whole family was like they'd had a pause button pressed, unable to move and not knowing what was happening outside. Even now he wasn't sure whether, before becoming citizens, they'd been in some kind of frozen state. Jaehyun decided to be direct. Mr. Choi, Jaehyun has a way to let you go back to the kind of normal life you used to have. The man instinctively showed a skeptical expression. I can ensure that monsters won't invade your home. The distrust on his face became even more obvious. Jaehyun looked at him calmly and only repeated, I can do it. The man was silent for a moment, then lifted his head and said slowly, I know none of this can be free. What do you want me to do? For the life you want, what you'll do next will be dangerous. You might die. After a short silence, the man softly breathed out a single word. Okay, I'll do it. Because before you came, I'd already planned to gamble and go out. Not bad. Jaehyun nodded. Now that's more like a dad, and an adult with the awareness an adult should have. He thought of the golf club in the corner of the living room and casually asked, by the way, how much was that golf club of yours? This, don't remember too clearly. Probably cost around 4 or 500,000 won. This thing really isn't cheap. Looks like I need to save more money, or later I won't even be able to afford the gear in the shop. Chui Hyungjun couldn't understand at all why Jaehyun had suddenly started talking about golf club pricing. Jaehyun didn't explain further either, but pulled the topic back to the point, asking whether he still remembered the day the monsters first appeared. Choi Hyungjun said that day was a weekend, and also the most terrifying day of his life. After hearing his description, Jaehyun started making a judgment. Most people who stayed at home probably had higher odds of surviving, because a single goblin was weak as hell. Whether in level, strength, or speed, it was only an ordinary threat. What made it truly scary was that it moved in packs. But humans were also a species that liked to band together. As long as they banded together, people weren't likely to lose. So yeah, I also need to build, and grow, an army that belongs to me. Jaehyun looked at Choi Hyungjun. Then, Mr. Choi, from now on, your mission is this. Together with me, go find more survivors. After settling all that, Jaehyun returned to his own unit. He flopped into the sofa and locked his gaze onto the system panel. Choi Hyungjun's trust was slowly rising. As long as Jaehyun keeps accepting citizens and keeps getting stronger, one day I'll be able to reunite with my family, right? No sooner had the thought fallen than a monster's piercing howl suddenly came from outside the building. Jaehyun sprang up. He strode to the balcony in a few steps and looked out in the direction of the sound. I can't believe it. On the street below, there were actually humans locked in close quarters combat with monsters. But Jaehyun was restricted by the system and couldn't go far from his unit. The ways he could help them were pitifully few. Just then, a young man raised a baseball bat high. He brought it down in a head-on swing at a charging goblin. That goblin flew several meters, as if it had been hit by a truck. The entire monster was knocked straight back. What is going on here? Right after, a girl in purple drew a compound bow. She knocked 2 arrows at once. When she released the string, 2 streaks of arrow light almost simultaneously hit. 2 goblins were instantly headshot on the spot. On the other side, there was also a young man with a baseball bat on his shoulder. He was standing above a monster and looking down. The next second, he kicked off the ground hard and leapt 3 to 4 stories into the air. He raised the bat high and smashed it solidly into a goblin's head. With a dull crack, the monster's head burst like a watermelon, brains splattering on the spot. Seeing things go bad, the remaining goblins scattered and fled. At that point, the fight below was declared over. Just then, the purple-clad girl with the bow seemed to notice something. She drew again and aimed at a target at the street corner. She steadied herself. When she saw clearly that it was only a bag of food tossed by the roadside, confusion instantly appeared on her face. She lifted her head and searched upward, her gaze shifting between floors. Jaehyun, who lived on the top floor, stood on the balcony and waved frantically, greeting them. As if she'd seen something, the girl froze slightly. Jaehyun waved even harder, as if he wanted to write his presence into the air, so they could see exactly where he was. Right then, knocking and a greeting suddenly sounded from outside his door. Jaehyun withdrew his gaze and went to open it. Outside was Choi Hyung-jun, holding a big box in his arms. Jaehyun reached out and pulled the door open. But before the man could even step in, he was bounced back by an invisible barrier. A system prompt appeared in front of them. Without permission, unqualified individuals may not enter. The air fell silent at once. Choi Hyung-jun looked at the prompt box hanging in front of his eyes, awkward and speechless. Jaehyun stared at that line of text, and another question popped into his mind. Does that mean ordinary people can't enter my unit either? Do they have to be registered as citizens, or recruited as vassals, to be qualified to step into my home? He reached out and took the box Choi Hyung-jun had brought. He opened it, and saw it was filled with various things that could be used as weapons. Fruit knives, small tools, simple makeshift armaments. Jaehyun opened the system shop, and under Choi Hyung-jun's shocked gaze, bought a batch of bottled water and instant noodles on the spot. After a few confirmation tones, the newly bought supplies appeared in the storage slots. Jaehyun packed the water and cup noodles into the box one by one. He shut the lid and handed it back to Choi Hyung-jun. Deliver these to the first floor entrance. To the first floor? Won't that be too dangerous? It's fine. Jaehyun's tone was calm, like he was stating a fact. Based on my observations, those goblins are mostly active during the day. At this time, it's relatively safe. Having him deliver supplies to the first floor, Jaehyun's real goal was to hook the few people downstairs with decent combat power, and draw them up. As long as they discovered that Jaehyun could provide food and drinking water steadily, they would gradually be unable to detach themselves from him. Choi Hyung-jun was still a bit hesitant, dawdling where he stood. Jaehyun frowned and cut him off. Stop yapping here and do what I said. You've eaten my food. If you won't even run this small errand for Jaehyun, then what use are you to me? Choi Hyung-jun was stunned by the scolding. He gritted his teeth, and in the end still mustered the courage to nod and accept. Of course, if he was doing work for Jaehyun, Jaehyun wasn't going to have him do it entirely for nothing. Jaehyun pulled up the task interface, and right in front of him, created a simple task. Binding the objective, deliver supplies to the first floor entrance, to him, with a small EXP reward. The task prompt appeared on the system panel in front of Choi Hyung-jun. He looked at it for a while before carefully asking, "Isn't this kind of like a leveling system in a game?" "Yes, that's right," Jaehyun admitted plainly. "And by the way, you're level 9 right now. When you level up, you should get a pretty good wave of rewards." "I see," he nodded, a faint trace of anticipation in his eyes. "Then I get it. I'll take the supplies down right now." After saying that, he hugged the box. He gripped the golf club tightly in his other hand. He took a deep breath and shakily walked toward the stairwell, step by step, down to the first floor. Finally, he reached the first floor entrance. Choi Hyung-jun secretly let out a breath. If I put this box down, that should count as completing the task, right? Before the thought could finish turning over, a shadow suddenly appeared in the corner of his eye. In that moment, he once again felt the fear of being ruled by monsters. At this very instant, only one thought was left in his head. Run. The problem was, once a coward like him started running, 9 times out of 10 he'd sprain his ankle while running. Sure enough, his foot slipped, and he did a perfect faceplant. Thump, sprawling on the ground. On the ground, he struggled and bellowed in breakdown rage. Damn legs. Move for me, now. Footsteps from the figure drew closer. Choi Hyung-jun was panicking like crazy inside. Hey, are you okay? The young man who had just finished fighting monsters walked up, looking worriedly at the cowardly Choi Hyung-jun lying on the ground. Almost at the same time, upstairs on Jaehyun's side, the system abruptly popped up a prompt. An unauthorized target is attempting to break in. Jaehyun glanced at the prompt, his heart stirring. Who would it be? I only told Choi Hyung-jun to deliver supplies to the first floor. Did something happen down there? Before thinking it through, he decided to take a look first. Ultimate Eyes. Activate. His view shifted. Through the skill, Jaehyun saw that behind Choi Hyung-jun was the 6-person squad that had been hunting goblins downstairs earlier. They were gathered together, discussing in low voices. clearly studying the box of instant noodles Jaehyun had tossed down earlier. Following the trail here, wanting to come find supplies and replenish. After confirming it was them, Jaehyun shut the skill off. Immediately after, the system popped up a new prompt again. A being that meets the citizen qualification is approaching. Send a citizen status invitation? Oh, this isn't the same as when I issued status to Choi Hyung-jun before. Jaehyun understood after a brief thought. That time with Choi Hyung-jun was when my territory expanded. He was forcibly included as a citizen by the system, basically a forced recruitment. But these outsiders have a choice now. They can accept, or they can refuse. This is a bit annoying. But no rush. There's definitely another way. At this moment, the video intercom chimed with a notification, relaying a request to talk from downstairs. Jaehyun connected, and said simply to them, "Wait a moment." After hanging up, he immediately pulled up the task interface, and began editing Choi Hyung-jun's current task content. The task text jumped line by line on the panel. Task update, host 6 guests for a meal. Choi Hyung-jun, still standing around blankly on the first floor, suddenly saw a task update prompt pop up in front of him, and froze on the spot. "I've got a bold idea. First tell them, you'll provide food." Choi Hyung-jun turned around and stammered the situation to the 6-person squad. We can provide food. Really? In times like these, if someone takes the initiative to treat you to a meal, almost no one would say no. Especially for them, who had just fought a battle and drained all their stamina. It was truly timely help in a snowstorm. After confirming it, Jae-ying started a string of operations in the system. Send citizen status invitations to the 6. Simultaneously enable access permissions for them. The instant the permissions finished activating, the system immediately returned feedback. New citizen authorization approved. 6 targets have obtained entry permission, so they were finally able to enter the building. Right after, a new system prompt popped up. Citizen count has reached 10. EXP and money gain bonus, plus 10%. Jae-ying looked at the growing numbers in the corner of the panel, feeling quite satisfied. This is great. He immediately pulled up the 6 people's individual info panels, and checked them one by one. The 6 newcomers were all fairly high level. The highest one was actually level 23, already close to the bird monster Calican Jaehyun had killed earlier. Jaehyun tapped into the detailed profile of that level 23 member, Ha Dongjian, awakened. As expected, someone whose awakened abilities. His ability was written in the skills tab. Baseball throwing. Strengthen the power of thrown attacks to 3 times the original. Even in the real world, a baseball is a dangerous hard object. Let alone in the apocalypse, used to smash monsters in the head. No wonder he handled goblins with ease. As for trust, no rush. He could cultivate that slowly later. Jaehyun casually set the EXP gain split for the 6-person squad to 70%. From now on, as long as I assign them tasks, they can go out and farm monsters, level up, grind materials, and I can stay home and take a cut of EXP and rewards. This is what you call winning while lying down. Of course, if he wanted to truly rely on them, Jaehyun also had to spend time understanding their personalities and thoughts, because these people would very likely become a key link in Jaehyun finding his family again. Just as Jaehyun was in his unit, looking at the panels while thinking to himself, the system suddenly prompted. Ha Dongjian's trust in you has increased. Jaehyun froze for a moment. I'm still in here doing nothing. How did trust go up? The next second, among the 6 who had just registered as citizens, another person's trust also began to rise slowly. What the hell? What's going on now? Elsewhere, Choi Hyung-jun had already brought the 6-person squad back to his home. His wife looked at the sudden extra group of people with a baffled face, completely unable to figure out what was happening now. No time to explain, Choi Hyung-jun urged in a lowered voice. Prepare something for the guests to eat first. After learning that all of this was part of Jaehyun's plan, she didn't ask more, and readily nodded in agreement. Turning to face the guests, she put on a polite smile. Please wait a moment. At this time, Ha Dongjian took the initiative to ask Choi Hyung-jun what kind of person Jaehyun actually was. Choi Hyung-jun had only one thought in his heart. How the hell would he know? Other than knowing Jaehyun was his next-door neighbor, he knew almost nothing else. But one thing is certain, Choi Hyung-jun still added seriously. He's a very capable person. The fact that we're still alive at this point is all thanks to his help. Hearing this, Ha Dongjian already had a vaguely sketched guess of what Jaehyun was like. Someone who can do all this, he calculated in his head. 9 times out of 10 is an extremely strong awakened. I have to leave as good an impression as possible in front of him. And when he thought about how Jaehyun could not only provide food, but also guarantee a stable supply of water and electricity, Ha Dongjian's heart gave a slight jolt. How is this any different from a god? Just as the atmosphere eased up, Choi Hyung-jun spoke again. Cooking will still take a little time. Do you want to take a shower first? As soon as the words fell, the 2 girls on the team froze on the spot. You can still shower? Seriously? Of course, and it's hot water, Choi Hyung-jun explained. That counts as part of Jaehyun's abilities. Now the girls were even more shocked. In the apocalypse, and there's still hot water for a shower? That's way too blissful. Like this, Choi Hyung-jun led them to split up and find rooms to wash up. After the 6 people slowly pieced the situation together, they could almost confirm. Jaehyun was very likely a high tier awakened. Some of them started calculating in their hearts, thinking about how, later, they should perform well in front of Jaehyun. Seeing this, Ha Dong-jian reminded them. No matter what, our top priority is to get as much food as possible. Don't screw this up for me, got it? Everyone nodded, saying they understood. However, there was one person on the team who kept a dark face the whole time, looking like he wasn't in a very good mood. Ha Dong-jian walked over, gently supporting his shoulder, his tone full of apology. Byung-go, this is my fault. If I hadn't insisted on dragging you to that housewarming party, you wouldn't have been separated from your grandma. That person shook his head and said in a low voice, you don't need to apologize. I'm the one who wanted to go. Let's eat something here first, then we'll head out to your grandma's place. Okay. Mun Byung-go nodded thanks to his teammates, but there was still a shadow in his eyes. But maybe it's already too late. He lowered his voice as if stating a cruel reality. There are so many monsters outside. The chance that grandma is still alive right now is probably infinitely close to 0. Byung-go, hang in there a bit more. Someone patted his shoulder. We're already near the area. We'll think of a way to save your grandma together. Alright, I know, it's just that right now. Before he could finish speaking, the sound of a lock turning rang out. The few who were whispering at low volume all froze at the same time, and turned their heads toward the front door in unison. The door was pushed open, and Jaehyun, carrying a crate of supplies, appeared at the entrance to Choi Hyung-jun's home. He didn't beat around the bush. He went straight to the point. Next, I'll help you. In the instant they saw Jaehyun, their instincts almost simultaneously produced the same judgment. The man in front of them might really have the ability to save them. Soon, everyone gathered around the dining table, squeezing in close to sit in a circle. Choi Hyung-jun's wife, Park Hye-won, said a little embarrassedly, sorry, this is all we can do. You'll have to squeeze in like this. Everyone quickly waved their hands to say it was fine. This was the apocalypse. At a time like this, who still cared about appearances? Choi Hyung-jun came out from the kitchen carrying things. Sorry to bother you all, the food will be on the table soon. He brought out bowls of white rice one by one, and set them on the table. Park Hye-won added with a red face. I'm not sure whether it suits everyone's taste. Looking at the steaming hot dishes on plate after plate, someone couldn't hold back anymore. Their chopsticks stretched out first. The archer girl took a bite and froze. This is way too delicious, isn't it? In a time like this, we can still eat such a sumptuous meal? Park Hye-won quickly explained. Thanks to the ingredients he provided. Otherwise, I could only treat everyone to rice and oranges. As soon as she finished speaking, Jae-ying's system immediately popped up a prompt. Citizen Park Hye-won's trust in you has increased to 50. Jae-ying glanced at the panel and couldn't help complaining inwardly. Didn't expect it. Park Hye-won's trust is rising faster than her husband's. Right after, everyone opened the floodgates and stopped holding back as they ate. On every face was a long-lost sense of satisfaction. The way they ate was unbelievably fragrant. Shoveling rice in big mouthfuls, they praised the food from the bottom of their hearts. I haven't tasted this flavor in so long. This is too happy. It's like I'm dreaming. Park Hye-won hurriedly said. Don't be polite. Eat as much as you can. At this moment, the younger daughter ran over from the far side of the room and hugged her mom's arm. Mom, I want to eat that sweet rolled omelet. Baby Seoyeon, after the guests are done, Mom will make it specially for you, okay? Tears instantly welled up in the little girl's eyes. But she was sensible, and didn't make a fuss. She just pressed her lips tight, not daring to say more. Just then, the archer girl beckoned to her. Come over, eat with us. The next second, Seoyeon dashed over like a little rabbit, sat obediently on her lap, eyes shining as she stared at the food on the table, little hands gesturing in midair, her face full of anticipation. The girl smiled, picked up the sweet rolled omelet with her chopsticks, and fed it into her mouth bit by bit. On the child's face bloomed a long-lost, completely relaxed smile. Seeing this, Choi Hyung-jun and his wife quickly stood up to apologize. We're really sorry. She shouldn't be disturbing everyone like this. Jae-in spoke up then. Don't just keep busying yourselves. Sit down and eat too. There's enough food for everyone. And so, a whole table of people sat together, warmly and happily digging in. Jae-hyun hadn't eaten a meal like this in a very, very long time. As he slowly chewed the food, he silently thought to himself. The leftover lunchboxes his parents had packed and left in the fridge before were the last traces of ordinary life he'd had with his family. Now he only hoped for one thing. No matter what the outside world became, he hoped his family would be safe. Soon, all the food on the table was eaten up. The younger daughter rubbed her eyes and looked at her mom, whispering, I'm full, now I'm so sleepy. Park Haiwan stood up, gently patted her back, and led the two children back to the room, getting ready to go to sleep. Only the adults were left in the living room, and the atmosphere tightened accordingly. Time to talk business. Jae-hyun looked around at everyone present and pulled the conversation back to the point, picking up from what you were saying. If you're not far from his maternal grandmother's place, why can't you get there? It's because of the goblins outside. Jae-hyun frowned. No way. With this many of you, you got stopped just because of goblins? That's right, the man added with a bitter smile. The underground parking garage is especially suitable for monsters to hide in. It has basically become their lair. Just the underground parking garage of our complex alone has at least several thousand goblins. Thinking that his territory still hadn't extended underground, Jae-in gestured for them to continue. We've observed that all exits leading outside are connected to the underground. If we want to go out, we have to pass through there. So we don't dare force our way through. But as far as I know, aren't there some small paths and side routes nearby? There are. Ha Dongjian nodded. We originally planned to detour via those small paths. But there, we ran into something even more terrifying than goblins. From its build, it looked like a wolf, but also kind of like a bear. As he recalled it, a shadow unconsciously crept into his eyes. The only reason we managed to make it back was sheer luck, mainly because that beast was fighting goblins at the time, and we used the chaos to slip away. Jae-in rubbed his forehead helplessly. So did you see a wolf, or did you see a bear? Your description has even got me confused. We couldn't really tell either. The light was too dark there. We couldn't see what it looked like at all. Jae-hyun thought for a moment, and still reached a conclusion. Fine, we'll forbear, we'll have to face it sooner or later. The real trouble is that our ways of fighting will be restricted. That instantly woke them up. Jae-hyun lifted his eyes with interest. Go on. What kind of restriction, exactly? For us, whether it's bows and arrows, or throwing baseballs, arrows and balls will run out sooner or later. If resupply can't keep up, our combat power will keep dropping. That's just a small problem. Jae-hyun waved his hand. This, I'll solve for you. Bring all your weapons over, and let me take a look. They handed over weapons one by one. Bows, quivers, baseballs, and the like. Jae-hyun took the bow end, as a matter of course, had the system shop scan it and list it. After the small miscellaneous items were listed, the panel popped up the bow's price. Current price, 1.5 million. Fucking expensive. Even as he cursed out loud, Jae-hyun did. In fact, kind of like the thing. Whatever, leave it listed for now. He looked up at the group. Among you, how many can use a bow? As it turned out, no one raised a hand. The air fell silent for 2 seconds. Jae-hyun's face stayed blank. Fine, if you can't, you'll still learn. From now on, you're going to be using these things. As he spoke, he laid out the newly purchased bows and arrows in a neat row in front of everyone. The system prompt also popped up right after. At the sight of these weapons, their trust in Jae-hyun rose slightly again. Munbyongo's eyes were wide and fixed, staring hard at the bows and arrows on the table. He had only one thought. With these weapons, maybe there really was a chance to save Grandma. Looking at the equipment on the table, everyone voiced their admiration. With these weapons, our hunting speed will definitely increase a lot. Jae-hyun nodded, but still pressed a hand down. I know you're all in a hurry, but don't rush yet. Before we go save anyone, we need to take out a batch of goblins first. Okay, someone asked. Then when do we start hunting them? Tomorrow. They agreed readily, but there was still a trace of hesitation on their faces. Jae-hyun didn't plan to give them time to agonize. He set the tempo outright. Tomorrow, the sooner the better. Step 1. Get Byongo's grandma out first. Hearing that, Byongo was stunned, his eyes slightly red. Thank you. Ha Dongjian also nodded solemnly in agreement, but then frowned. But how exactly are we supposed to act? Jae-hyun mocked him mercilessly. Idiot, do I have to teach you everything? Can't you use your brain and think of a strategy? After saying that, he didn't keep them in suspense, and explained in detail the bait tactic he'd thought of. Use a small number of people to lure part of the goblins away from the main group. Then eliminate them one by one at a pre-arranged location. As they listened, they simulated the battle in their heads. This method can work. The premise is that everything goes smoothly, and the goblins are willing to take the bait. Just then, the system suddenly popped up a new prompt. Citizen Choi Hyung-jun's current task has been completed. Rewards have been issued. But Jae-in had clearly set an EXP reward. Yet in the system wallet, 30,000 won had been forcibly deducted. Jae-in calculated rapidly in his head. So that means, as long as I have enough money, can I just throw cash at citizens to help them level up? But that feels wrong. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I can't casually brute force levels with this method. At the same time the rewards were issued, Choi Hyung-jun's trust rose again, hitting the threshold for vassal registration in one go. Jae-hyun went with the flow and tapped confirm, officially registering him as a vassal. At that moment, Choi Hyung-jun immediately felt some kind of change within his body. Power surged wildly, as if something had been completely ignited. His face was full of shock, and also excitement he couldn't hide. He wanted to share it with everyone immediately. At the same time, Jaehyun also received system feedback. First-time vassal registration. Obtain new skill. Can summon them. On top of that, with this task settlement, Choi Hyung-jun directly awakened a new ability, Gorilla Strength. Jaehyun looked at the small plus symbol after Choi Hyung-jun's info on the panel, tapped into it, and saw. The new function description was simple and brutally direct. You can spend money to directly raise a vassal's level, but the required amount. Level up cost? 1 million. This damn system really isn't human. The panel on that side was scary. On the real-world side, everyone also noticed his change in expression. Jaehyun, what's wrong? Jaehyun brushed it off with a perfunctory shake of his head, and brought the topic back to what was in front of him. He looked at Choi Hyung-jun. How do you feel right now? Choi Hyung-jun clenched his fist, eyes bright. I feel like I've got endless strength all over. Did you do this? Do you even have to ask? Jaehyun replied calmly. What? You think you're some kind of genius? Since Choi Hyung-jun had already awakened an ability, Jaehyun didn't plan to let him hide in the back anymore. He handed him a bow. This mission, you're coming too. Citizens have a 10% EXP bonus. As a vassal, you get double. You kill one monster, and I can take the bigger share of the profit on my side too. Got it? In other words, this time he had to shove him onto the stage, ready or not. Choi Hyung-jun was a bit of a coward, but under Jaehyun's gaze, he could only grit his teeth and take the bow. Jaehyun concluded with a smiling face. Then next, I'm counting on you. Time passed without anyone noticing. After everyone organized their gear, they soon arrived on the first floor. Someone looked around in confusion. Why is the first step coming to the first floor? The situation on the first floor is indeed terrible, but this is the first step of the plan. We need to find as many survivors as possible, and bring them to the 30th floor. Without enough survivors, there's no way to lure large numbers of goblins into the apartment building. Ha Dongjian followed up, confirming that everyone understood. Everyone's already very clear on this, right? They responded one by one. Understood. Jaehyun gave them one last look, and issued the order softly but firmly. Good. Stay alert. Begin the operation. Everyone began searching forward. Suddenly, Ha Dongjian, who was walking at the very front, stopped in his tracks. The moment they stepped into the first room, everyone's pupils shrank at the same time. Severed limbs covered the floor, human corpses lay strewn about, and the bloodstains had long since turned black. Someone swallowed with difficulty, forcing themselves to stop looking. Let's go. There are no living people here anymore. Next room. The group nodded in silence. Fists clenched, and weapons clenched too, as they continued searching forward. After sweeping the first floor, aside from cold corpses, there wasn't even a trace of a survivor. Then let's go. Search the second floor. As soon as they reached the second floor, the scene before them was almost identical. Bloodstains, corpses, broken furniture. Looks like we don't need to search this floor carefully either. As soon as they reached the third floor, the ground was noticeably much cleaner. You could hardly see any signs of monster activity. They became more patient, knocking door by door. Behind every crack in every door, they searched for humans still alive. As a result, the entire floor was empty. They proceeded methodically to the fourth floor, continuing to knock and search. A door finally opened a narrow crack. From inside came a man's trembling voice. Are you really a rescue team? Ha Dongjian froze for a moment, then replied in delighted surprise. Yes, we're here to rescue people. The man cautiously asked again. Can you give me some water? I haven't had any water for days. I'm really thirsty. Ha Dongjian immediately pulled a bottle of water from his backpack, and handed it in from outside the door. The man took the water, his hand still trembling slightly. Are you really a rescue team? Are you sure you're giving this water to me to drink? Ha Dongjian thought for a moment and replied honestly. Actually, we're also residents of this apartment building. But right now, we really are carrying out a rescue. No sooner had he finished speaking than the man shut the door again with a bang. The next second, the front door opened all the way. The man extended his hand, an embarrassed look on his face. My name is Hong Jongsu. Sorry, at a time like this, I'm a bit too nervous. Ha Dongjian shook his head. It's okay. After this, I hope all of us can get along well. Gaeong, Hyerin, you two take them to the 30th floor first. Then come back and regroup. Hong Jongsu heard that and jumped in fright. The 30th floor? Aren't we supposed to leave the apartment building? His son, on the other hand, boldly walked out. Let's go, Dad. Maybe there's a helicopter on the roof picking us up? You're overthinking it. There's no helicopter upstairs, but you can eat, and you can shower. His daughter's eyes lit up the moment she heard shower, and she bounced right out. Really? We can still shower? Really? If I'm lying, I don't get candy. Then what are we waiting for? Dad, let's go up together. Seeing that both kids were already tempted, Hong Jongsu hesitated for a moment, but still nodded in agreement. System prompt. Your current number of citizens has reached 40. Jaehyun did a quick calculation in his head. With 40 citizens, the bonus has already been pushed to 90%. He arranged the elderly and children together in Choi Hyung-jun's home. The rest of the rescued people temporarily crowded into the corridor. As a first stopgap settlement, Ha Dongjian returned to Jaehin's side and gave a progress report. Pretty much all the survivors in the entire apartment building have gathered here. Looks like quite a few people have been hiding at home from the very beginning and didn't dare go out. Choi Hyung-jun's place is basically full too. At this scale, it's enough for now. Jaehin activated Ultimate Eyes and looked down from above at every room. He saw people handing out food, people soothing children, people silently cleaning up the place. After confirming that everyone was doing their utmost to survive, he turned the skill off and began laying out the monster hunting plan. Phase 2. Downstairs, Ha Dongjian's group was already doing final planning for the fight. They discussed which floor to start clearing from, how to disperse the monsters, pick them off one by one, and how to design the retreat route. At this moment, someone couldn't help voicing concern. What if, during the operation, the number of monsters far exceeds expectations? If we split up, will mutual support be too slow? And if something unexpected happens halfway? Before he could finish, Hiren was already impatient. Fuck, you're so long-winded and cowardly. Next time we eat, go sit at the kids' table. The bespectacled guy who got roasted still wanted to keep nagging. Just then, a strange yet familiar set of footsteps came over. Of course, it wasn't that strange. It was just goblins arriving. Dare to interrupt me? Hiren turned around and fired an arrow. An arrow was just a manner of speaking. In reality it was a headshot, plus a double kill. Another fierce fighter directly swung up his baseball bat. He brought it down in a heavy blow right onto a goblin's head. The hit not only knocked the monster flying, it even knocked the brains clean out of it. He admired the goblin lying on the floor in a grotesque pose, looking satisfied. The bespectacled guy couldn't help complaining again. Didn't you say you like using baseballs? Then why did you take a bow and arrows? The baseball brute was just about to give him a swing too, but Hiren cut in with a single line. Look, monster corpses are disappearing. Byungo frowned and guessed. Could this also be Jaehin's ability? Forget it for now. We keep pushing, down into the underground. On the other side, the system prompts on Jaehin's end almost never stopped. Citizen trust increases were spamming one after another. He twisted open a bottle of water and drank unhurriedly. At the same time, he stared at the constantly jumping numbers on the panel. If you said he wasn't slacking, he really hadn't personally lifted a finger. But if you said he was just coasting, with the entire building covered by the range of his skill, in the end, he was more like a guardian now. Just then, the system popped a new message. Munbiango's trust has risen above 50. Jaehin raised an eyebrow. It's only been a few hours? It rose that fast? But that was a good thing. The more vassals, the faster the overall development. He pulled up Byungo's detailed panel and noticed one stat. Loyalty, 88. Jaehin's heart stirred. With a loyal little brother like that, how could I not take him? A blade delivered to your door on the rising tide. You've got to hold it in your own hand. Meanwhile, on basement level 1, the fighting was still ongoing. Byungo's body suddenly lit up with a ring of blue lightning. Everyone whipped their heads around. They were completely unable to figure out what was happening to him. A bunch of goblins were also dazzled by the flash and couldn't open their eyes. Too many monsters. Ha Dongjian shouted. Forget that. Retreat first. Run. Everyone just wanted to open distance from the monsters as fast as possible. They wanted to avoid being swallowed by the monster tide. While falling back, they kept shooting arrows at the monsters to pin them down. But seeing that the arrows only hit a handful, Hiren's face grew uglier and uglier. She gritted her teeth, and her hand speed burst to the limit. One volley of multi-shot arrow rain poured out from her hands. This wave did clear out quite a few monsters, but they still had to run, because this pack of goblins was practically endless. From the look of it, it was like even the ones on basement level 2 had been stirred up and charged up. Finally, they rushed into the emergency stairwell. They worked together to shut the door, and Ha Dongjian braced it with all his strength. Still a moment too slow. Several monsters' claws had already shoved viciously through the crack, thrashing and grabbing. Everyone hurried forward to help hold the door, pinching those goblins until they screeched in pain. But with limited manpower and too many monsters, their strength ultimately couldn't withstand the continuous battering. Just as they were about to give out, a voice exploded. You go. It was Choi Hyung-jun. He violently activated his skill, Gorilla Strength. With the skill's boost, his muscles instantly bulged out, veins popping. He shoved forward, locking the door down like a nail. Hurry up and get upstairs. He knew very clearly in his heart. No matter what, he had to hold the monsters here. Under the suppression of that massive strength, the door was finally slammed fully shut by him. Choi Hyung-jun, we're safe for now. Run. Hearing his companion shout, he turned and sprinted for the stairs. But the guy's cowardly talent still hadn't changed. His foot slipped, and he crashed down. At the same time, the door was forced open again by the monsters. Don't mind me. You go. He roared at the top of his lungs. Right then, a black shadow flashed past his side. It was that reckless brute with the baseball bat. With another swing, he smashed the goblin that pounced over into pieces. Then he reached out and pulled Choi Hyung-jun up. But in that instant, a monster's claws had already grabbed Choi Hyung-jun's leg. The next second, Choi Hyung-jun disappeared from the stairs. Just like that, the baseball brute froze completely. With waves of goblins charging from behind, he couldn't afford to think. He could only swing reflexively in counterattack. The others kept providing ranged fire support, helping him tear open a gap forward. The baseball brute wasn't dumb enough to hard brawl. Amid his teammates' shouts, he sprinted desperately up the stairs. It was just that under that tide of monsters, whether he could escape or not, no one could say. Outside the apartment building, a gigantic monster that looked like a bear was lowering its head and gnawing on goblins. In its eyes there was only hunger and killing intent, until it slowly raised its head, its gaze locking onto the apartment building. That lit lamp on the rooftop seemed to be hinting to it. There, maybe, was the next meal. 30th floor of the apartment building. Choi Hyung-jun, who had just disappeared in the stairwell, suddenly appeared on the spot. You almost died, you know. Jae-in's voice came from the side. Who am I? Where am I? Choi Hyung-jun looked blank, then saw Jae-in again. Why are you here? If Jae-in hadn't been using ultimate eyes to keep the battlefield locked in the whole time, and in the most critical moment yanked him up with the summoning skill, he'd already be a corpse in a monster's stomach now. Only now did he belatedly feel the pain from his wounds. Jae-in glanced at him. Are you okay? Choi Hyung-jun was also confused. When did I get hurt? Jae-in did a quick check. You're fine. Looks like it's just a superficial wound. If you rest properly, it should recover soon. Looking at Choi Hyung-jun covered in injuries, Jae-in made up his mind. It was time to list some medical supplies in the system shop. Choi Hyung-jun, wait here a moment. Under his puzzled gaze, Jae-in stood up and went back into his unit. He rummaged through the cabinet and dug out the first aid kit the household had left behind. Looking at that first aid kit, Jae-in suddenly remembered the scene from childhood. His mom fed him medicine. That warm touch felt like it was reaching through a hazy fog of years. You couldn't quite grasp it, yet it burned so much you only wanted to dodge away. He lowered his eyes to the table. There was a whole heap of small medical tools, solutions, pills, bottles, and jars. If I list them one by one, there's no way the system shop slots will be enough. Got it. A thought stirred in his mind. Pack them all into the first aid kit. Scanning the whole kit directly should work too, right? No sooner said than done. System scan. Success. New item listed. Basic first aid kit. Jae-in took the first aid kit and went back in front of Choi Hyung-jun. Come on, let me see where you're hurt. Choi Hyung-jun rolled up his pant leg and revealed the wound on his leg. Still trying to act tough, he added. It's really fine. I'll disinfect it first. The cotton ball soaked in antiseptic had barely touched the wound, and the guy who'd just been insisting it didn't hurt instantly cracked his voice yelling. After the simple disinfection and bandaging was done, the system prompt sounded again. Choi Hyung-jun's loyalty and trust increased. Jae-in put away the first aid kit, but couldn't help thinking. No idea how things are going for the group down there right now. You rest first, Choi Hyung-jun. I still have other things to handle. He took a deep breath and activated ultimate eyes again. The scene cut back underground. The baseball brute was sprinting for his life under his teammates' cover. Youth was capital, unlike some coward who twists an ankle the moment he runs. But still, same old story. There were too many monsters. A goblin closest to him suddenly pounced. It was about to grab him. Fuck you, Munbyongo roared. He swung the compound bow in a sideways sweep, forcibly smacking that goblin flying. Byongo was astonishingly fast. The next second, he had already flashed right in front of the monster. He kept swinging the bow and hammering down repeatedly, almost giving the monster no time to react. The teammates beside him all stared, dumbfounded. Byongo, since when did he become this crazy in a fight? Watching this from above, Jae-in's lips curled slightly. Looks like he's doing pretty well. The reason Byongo could reach this level was, of course, that when he became Jae-in's vassal, he also awakened his own ability. A rank ability, teleportation. Judging from the effect, it was indeed extremely powerful. At this moment, Byongo was still crazily pounding on monsters' heads. While directing the shooting, Ha Dongjian asked the bespectacled guy, "The things I told you to prepare, are they ready or not?" The bespectacled guy replied, "All ready." The others chimed in too. "Everything according to the plan has been set up. Byongo, that's enough. Get up here, now." The next instant, Byongo flipped over the simple obstacle they'd set on the stairs, almost like he'd teleported. Right after, a big bucket was tipped over from above. Scalding liquid came pouring down. Whether it was boiling water didn't matter. Either way, the monsters were drenched and screamed nonstop. When the monsters at the very front were almost all soaked through, Ha Dongjian roared. "Now!" A finger pressed the red button. In an instant, a flash of electricity cut through the stairwell. It was the damaged wire they had deliberately set up here earlier. The goblins, drenched all over, were instantly electrocuted into twitching and convulsing, falling in heaps. As the monsters died, the panel on Jaehyun's side kept popping loot settlements. His skill list leveled up along with it. Fuck, there's that familiar, nasty feeling again. A ring of light with a strange resonance spread out from Jaehyun as the center. Layer by layer it extended downward, all the way to the parking garage, covering the goblins down there as well. System prompt. Hostile creatures detected. Begin purging immediately. In the blink of an eye, blue-purple light wrapped all the monsters. One after another, they exploded into motes of light, not even a hair left behind. Jaehyun listened to the system reward chimes one after another, and only thought, damn, that sounds good. Meanwhile, the goblins still left in the parking garage were still cheering and shouting. They were shouting for the companions who had rushed in. Just then, a massive black shadow silently appeared behind them. The goblins slowly turned their heads, about to open their mouths. Shit, it was that bear monster. The next second, the bear monster opened its huge, blood-red maw, and stuffed them into it one by one. It was even a little comical. Jaehyun once again saw the expression called fear on a goblin's face. The bear monster let out a roar, and swung its gigantic bear paw forward. Smack! One slap meant a whole patch of bodies, monsters toppling all over the ground. It bit as it fought, killing goblins like it was playing around. The goblins finally snapped. What the fuck, you messing with our brothers? Everyone, get it. They lunged up suicidally, hanging densely all over the bear monster. Now even the bear monster looked a bit bedraggled. After all, enough ants can bite an elephant to death, let alone when these weren't ants. Just as the bear monster was being tightly entangled by the goblins, those goblins suddenly, one after another, burst into blood mist. The bear monster froze too, and before it could figure out what was happening, a system prompt sounded. You have been granted citizen status. The next moment, a mysterious force acted on the bear monster. Its body stiffened in place and convulsed violently, and then, on the bear's face, a human face slowly emerged. The features became clearer bit by bit, and what finally appeared was, unbelievably, a gorgeous married woman. Very soon, the bear body completely collapsed. The gorgeous married woman lost all support, and fell flat on her face to the ground. Jaehyun forcibly endured the discomfort brought by the sudden swelling power inside him. His gaze shifted back and forth between the corpses spread all over the ground and the unconscious woman. Fuck, it can transform too? You can even play it like this? You drop a married woman on me. What are you trying to do now? The system quickly gave the answer. Oh Yeonju. S rank ability, Bearman. Level, 33. She was actually level 33, and had awakened an S rank ability at that. This improvement was far from the only thing. 3 members' trust also rose at the same time. Very good. Jaehyun decided on the spot. Infect the baseball kid, Kang Deoksu, as a vassal. The instant the enfeoffment was completed, the system continued with another prompt. Kang Deoksu awakened an S-rank ability, Iron Knight. The ability description said, can summon armor and weapons. His level was also raised in sync to level 25. Looks like the baseline level is set according to the awakened ability. Choi Hyungjun awakened the B-rank Gorilla Strength, and got boosted to level 20. Kang Deoksu awakened the S-rank Iron Knight, and was level 25. And Byunggo, with a rank teleportation, was straight up level 30. From the moment someone is registered as a vassal, their level is one time set based on the tier of their awakened ability. Basically like opening a random blind box. Even more subtle was that the tier of the awakened ability and the resulting level didn't seem to have a direct relationship with loyalty. Kang Deoksu's loyalty wasn't that high. Yet he awakened an S-rank ability stronger than Choi Hyungjun's. Jaehyun's heart sank slightly. If only I knew what method could affect awakening high-tier abilities. This missing piece of information was like a thorn stuck in his throat. He couldn't swallow it, and he couldn't spit it out. Yet it was tied to the maximum value of those 10 vassal slots. Then what if he recruited a guy who had already awakened an ability as a vassal? What would happen? With the previous upgrade, Jaehyun's movable range expanded a little again. He walked to the elevator doors, and activated Ultimate Eyes again. His vision locked onto Oh Yeonju lying prone on the ground. Choi Hyungjun, trouble you to go to basement level 2 and bring the woman there over. Okay, I'll go do it right away. Downstairs, Kang Deoksu's group was cleaning up the battlefield. He couldn't understand it. What was up with the goblins just now? One second they were charging, the next second they just died. Dying for no reason. Ha Dongjian recalled the chaotic scene from that instant. Someone with that kind of power, both strong and bizarre, it can only be him. And there was Byunggo too. He had originally been an introverted, honest guy. But ever since meeting Jaehyun, that fighting desire was like someone had flicked a switch, and he'd become a different person. Whether it was Jaehyun's inexplicable personal charisma, or those absurd abilities on him that didn't even feel real. In this damned apocalypse, there was only one conclusion. Only by being chosen by Jaehyun could you survive. At this moment, Choi Hyungjun had also arrived at basement level 2, and briskly walked toward Oh Yeonju, who was lying on the ground. Somewhere deep in her memories, a small hand was pushing a toy car, tracing tracks back and forth across the floor. Not far away, someone stood quietly, watching the child playing on the floor with a gentle gaze. The little boy suddenly noticed the stare and turned back excitedly. "Wow, it's Mom!" He jumped up in happiness and waved hard at his mother. The next second, the expression in his mother's eyes changed from tenderness to terror. A goblin that came out of nowhere was already behind the child. She lunged toward her son almost on instinct. The little boy turned around, saw that monstrous, hideous face, and froze in place in sheer fright. Unfortunately, not everyone can make disaster move one step slower than them. The world fell silent, leaving only a small toy car stained with blood, lying all alone on the ground. A despairing scream tore through the dream. These scenes were the nightmare Oyanju relived over and over. "Ms. Oyanju, are you okay?" In reality, Jaehyun looked at the just-awakened Oyanju in front of him, at a loss for what to do for a moment. He still reached out his hand. "Hello, my name is Jaehyun." She looked up at him and asked only one question. "Was it you?" Jaehyun's mind stalled. "What are you talking about?" She frowned and added, "I mean, were those goblins killed by you?" Seeing she had no intention of shaking hands, Jaehyun silently drew his hand back. "It was me." Oyanju didn't say anything else, just stared at Jaehyun and silently calculated in her mind. This kid is too strong, being able to instantly wipe out that many goblins. He must have other ways too. But the child is already gone. Could it be that it's truly impossible to ever see him again? In the end, she raised her head and spoke as if using all the strength in her body. "Please save my son, even if he only comes back for one day. If I can spend just one more day with him, I'll be satisfied." Once she confirmed that Jaehyun was the one who killed the goblins, her emotions finally completely collapsed. If not for the system prompt showing a trust increase, Jaehyun would have thought she'd gone crazy. She sat on the bed and burst into soundless sobs, grief and longing breaking through the dam together. Watching her look like she was about to be drowned by her emotions, Jaehyun gritted his teeth and decided to try it, to see whether the system truly had a limit. He issued her a task. Personal task objective: eliminate 1,000 goblins. Time limit: none. Failure penalty: none. Task reward: your son revived. Jaehyun thought to himself. Next, according to the normal script, it should probably give a prompt: the task cannot be assigned, right? His fingers trembled slightly as he pressed, little by little, toward the confirm publish button. He also prepared for the worst in his heart. Makes sense. No matter how broken the system is, it shouldn't allow true resurrection of the dead. The next second, prompt: your funds are insufficient to pay for resurrection-type rewards. Please return after you have sufficient funds. Jaehyun was completely stunned. Meaning, as long as he had enough money, the system could even handle resurrection. It was just that right now Jaehyun had no idea how much money would be enough to cover this resurrection. "Don't cry, okay?" Oyanju sniffled and looked up. "What is it?" Jaehyun stared at her and said word by word. "I think I should be able to help you. Help you revive your son. It's hard, but it's not hopeless." She froze in place. "You can really revive my son?" "Yes, I'm sure there's a way to bring him back. But not now. I can't do it yet. But I didn't lie to you. This is absolutely possible." She was so anxious she almost rushed over. "Then what do you need me to do?" "As long as it's possible, I'm willing to do anything for you." Jaehyun's plan was simple. On one hand, have her join Ha Dongjian's team to strengthen their overall combat power. On the other hand, he truly needed to make all 7 of them his vassals. He said, "Then get up first. I'll take you to meet a few people. Get to know them first." Jaehyun led her to Ha Dongjian and the others. After a brief round of greetings and handshakes, Oyanju looked at Kang Deoksu. "You're that baseball thrower?" Then she looked at the girl in purple. "And you're the archer, right?" The archer girl looked puzzled. "How do you know us? Have we met you before?" Oyanju raised both hands and made a little claw gesture. "You really don't remember me at all?" "We've met before, you know." Ha Dongjian's group still had question marks all over their faces. Seeing they had no recollection at all, Oyanju couldn't be bothered to explain, and simply began transforming on the spot. Muscles swelled, bones stretched, fur rapidly spread, until the transformation was basically complete. The archer girl finally reacted. "Wait, you're that bear?" Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at this small bear monster that Oyanju had turned into. Before they could speak, she introduced herself first. "To be precise, I'm a bear. Back at that fork in the road, I helped you several times, you know." "You really didn't notice at all?" Only then did they realize. So she had been the bear monster that appeared at critical moments. Jaehyun stepped out from behind them. All right. Since you were basically old acquaintances already, that makes things easier. Starting tomorrow morning, your task is to rescue Munbyongo's grandma. We've cleared out quite a lot of goblins now. So, in theory, we can go save her. Choi Hyung-jun is injured. Let him rest for this operation. Oyanju, you'll move with them." Hearing she could join the operation, Oyanju visibly perked up. She was more than happy to. Then it settled. "See you tomorrow morning. But Kong Deoksu, Munbyango, you two don't leave yet. Come to the corridor with me. Corridor. Leaning against the wall, Jae-yin looked at the two of them. Do you know why I only called you two over separately? Byango thought seriously for a moment. Because we have special power? Jae-yin nodded. You're pretty smart. That's right, both of you awakened this time. Byango, your ability is teleportation. You should have felt a bit of it just now. Kong Deoksu, your ability is Iron Knight. Before tomorrow's mission, you have to figure your abilities out. So, first I'll give you a small task. Jae-hyun was just about to assign the two of them a training task, but the system beat him to it. Team task, demonstrate awakened abilities. Completion reward, strength increase. Looking at the prompt box, Jae-hyun evaluated it in his head. Fine, this kind of task is basically free. Kong Deoksu couldn't help asking. So what does my ability actually look like? Jae-hyun explained. From what the system says, you can summon a weapon, and then summon a set of armor to wear on your body. He was imagining how cool that would look, when a blue light suddenly flashed beside him. Byango disappeared on the spot. It made Kong Deoksu jolt in surprise. Jae-hyun gave him a side-eye. You're such a reckless guy. What are you getting hyped for? The next second, Byango reappeared. He looked down at his hands, his eyes full of excitement. With this power, there are so many things I can do. The system prompt immediately flashed a line. Byango, trust level and loyalty increase. He suddenly turned around and bowed deeply to Jae-hyun. Thank you, Jae-hyun. Jae-hyun waved his hand. I know you're grateful, but don't rush to thank me yet. At your current level, trying to go back to your grandma's place alone is still too hard. Because right now you can't control your ability freely, right? That teleport you just did was more luck than anything. You know it yourself. So you need to fully master this skill. Figure out its usage cost, and also, he was right at the key point when another burst of bright light flashed beside them. Whoosh! A slightly long halberd-like weapon appeared. Plus, a full suit of armor that looked impressive just at a glance. It appeared in front of them. Jae-yin swept his eyes over it. A somewhat long halberd, plus a set of armor that looks pretty marketable. Kong Deoksu grinned like a player who had just pulled an SSR. I did it. This is so damn cool. The more excited he got, the more the system trust and loyalty values shot upward. Jae-hyun couldn't be bothered to interrupt this brute for now. He could understand the feeling anyway. He turned his head to the distance and raised his hand to point at the neighboring building. Byango, can you teleport over there? Byango thought carefully. I think I can try. Alright then. Jae-hyun casually assigned him a task, using it as a live-fire drill. Byango took a deep breath and did full mental prep. Kong Deoksu cheered him on like crazy from behind. Blue light flashed again, and instantly, he was gone. The next second, he had appeared in a room on the rooftop of the neighboring building. He waved at them across the gap in midair. Watching from the system's perspective, Jae-hyun thought, not bad. The kid has potential, and he's got guts too. Seeing Byango so excited like a newbie player who had just unlocked a new map, Jae-hyun genuinely felt pleased. But cool only lasts about 3 seconds. He swayed in place and passed out on the spot. It made sense, but it still startled Jae-hyun and Kong Deoksu. Jae-hyun flicked his hand. He pulled him back directly from next door and settled him onto the bed. He fainted. Looks like he used up too much stamina and mental energy. Jae-hyun opened the panel to confirm. HP normal, status healthy. He's probably just not used to this ability yet. Hearing that, they both let out a sigh of relief. Next, it was Kong Deoksu's turn for high-intensity training. Jae-hyun assigned him a similar practice task. Train while wearing armor. The armor only had a face shield, not a mask. But to complete the task, he put a mask of pain on his own face. Watching this reckless brute working out in full gear, Jae-hyun evaluated him in his heart. Good endurance. Reckless, sure, but strong willpower. When both of them completed the task, Jae-hyun's system popped a new prompt. Evaluating? Just those few words. He had never seen it before. He didn't know whether it was a new function or a hidden mechanism. Kong Deoksu panted and asked, Jae-hyun, time should be up, right? Can we end it? Only then did Jae-hyun snap back. You can rest. He'd gotten engrossed in watching the system and really had forgotten the time a bit. Thanks. Thank you for training us. As he said that, the system finally produced a result. Evaluation complete. Your strength has increased slightly. Jae-hyun stared at the prompt, not reacting at first. The next second, he could clearly feel it. His hands felt lighter. His muscles seemed to have been painlessly trained once, and his strength silently rose another notch. So you can even play it like this? Then next, I've got something new to mess with. The next day, on a certain road, a familiar scene played out. Ha Dongjian was at the very front, running and shouting, Run! A familiar huge swarm of goblins thundered after them from behind. Kong Deoksu gritted his teeth, sprinting while turning his head to watch the monsters. That's right, he was going to go reckless again. After all, with a new skill, how could he not use it? In the next instant, the fully armored brute planted himself straight in front of the goblins. The armor gleamed dazzlingly in the sunlight. God say, it was kind of cool. He swung his weapon and charged straight in. The monsters in the front line couldn't withstand it at all, and almost instantly, whole swaths of them dropped. But goblins always fight in groups. How could he block that many alone? Watching monsters slip around him from both sides and continue chasing the team, Kong Deoksu could only curse. Before his words even faded, 3 afterimages swept past, and 3 goblins that had slipped by him on the side were instantly shot down. Clean and crisp, triple kill. He turned his head, his heart jolting. Who was that? Such accurate shooting? Leave the ones that slip through to me. You just focus on taking them head on. Mum Byongo put away the compound bow and stepped out from the side. Nice, this is how farming monsters feels good. You little bastards, come on together again. Faced with such unreasonable teamwork, the frontline goblins looked utterly unconvinced. But unconvinced or not, their bodies were honest. They turned and ran. Holy shit, what is this now? Just as they turned around, a huge shadow pressed down over their heads. Oyanju had already completed her transformation. Her eyes were red like a berserker. Now it was the goblins' turn to collectively break down. Byongo and Kong Deoksu were killing to their heart's content, and Oyanju was even better at cutting into the battlefield from all directions, tearing the front line into pieces. Byongo, Ha Dongjian shouted his name loudly from behind. Byongo turned back. What? Go! Hurry up and get to your grandma's. As soon as he heard that, Byongo jolted awake. Right, I've got real business. A flash of blue light, and with one teleport he left the battlefield. Thanks, son. He still remembered to shout back before leaving. At the same time, the system popped a prompt. Oyanju's task has been completed. Jae-hing was curled up in his room eating spicy turkey ramen. He bit noodles while staring at the system panel, still thinking. Wonder what reward I'll get this time. The reward arrived quickly. This time, it was a few 100,000 won. Oh? When Deoksu completed his task, I got a strength increase. This time it's Oyanju, and I get money. Looks like extra rewards are random. Or maybe, as the difficulty gradually increases, the reward types start diversifying too. Not long after, Byongo's task also completed. Jae-yin kept slurping the turkey ramen, quietly waiting for the next reward prompt. Congratulations, you've hit the jackpot. Jae-yin froze for a moment. And this jackpot really did have weight. It was actually skill points. Looking at the line of text, Jae-yin finally nodded in satisfaction. Nice, very nice. Elsewhere, Byongo gritted his teeth and triggered the teleport skill. So exhausted he was drenched in sweat. Luckily, in a wave of dizziness, he finally appeared at his grandma's door. He staggered forward and pushed the front door open. He plunged into the house. In the bedroom, Grandma was still lying quietly on the bed, motionless. In a panic, he called softly, "Grandma," and stepped closer. The old woman let out a faint hum. It looked like she wasn't gone yet. Is that you, Byongo? Grandma lifted a withered hand, groping in the air. Byongo couldn't hold back anymore. Crying, he lunged forward and hugged her hard. In that moment, he finally let out the breath he'd been holding. I'm sorry, Grandma. I came too late. Holding his grandma, he had only one thought. Thank God I met him. At the moment he genuinely thanked Jae-hyun from the bottom of his heart. His loyalty jumped straight to 100. At the same time, the system increased the vassal cap by 1. I looked at the vassal list info on the system. Holy shit, you can play it like this too? Come on, now let's see. How much does it cost to level up Byongo? Insufficient funds. Please gather sufficient funds before trying again. Jae-hyun didn't expect upgrading him would actually cost a whole small goal. Sorry, Byongo. Looks like from now on, I'll have to assign you tasks every day, stacking you up little by little. A gem? What's that sound? There was faint movement in the corridor, like from the elevator side. Who could it be? Skill Ultimate Eyes activated. His view shifted, and he saw a man and a woman standing in the corridor. They stood at Choi Hyung-jun's door and knocked lightly. Is anyone home? Park Hae-won looked at the front door in confusion. Who could be looking for them? She opened it and asked the man and woman at the entrance. Who are you? The girl introduced herself. My name is Kim Dabin. This is my younger brother, Kim Miho. We live in the neighboring building. Park Hae-won raised an eyebrow. Alright, stop circling around. What do you want? It's like this. We want to ask you for a favor. I know this may be a bit abrupt, but can you let me take a shower here? Just a shower? Yes, we just want a shower. That counts as a problem? Fine. Come in and wash, her younger brother asked. Sis, where should I put this box? What's in the box? Kim Dabin explained. Just some random canned foods. We're strangers, and we came to bother you so abruptly. Bringing something counts as a token of sincerity. Kim Dabin saw the compound bow and the baseball bat in the corner, so she asked Park Hae-won, are these weapons the property of this apartment's owner? No, but it's kind of complicated to explain. Don't worry about that for now. Okay, then we won't ask. Seeing they didn't look like bad people, Jae-hyun turned off the skill. Anyway, I'll have to go talk to them in a bit. Maybe I can ask them for help too. Have them go rescue survivors in other apartment buildings while we're at it. Suddenly the system prompted that a red tiger had been killed, awarding a skill and massive experience. Holy shit, what just happened? And it even gave Jae-yin over 30 million? He activated Ultimate Eyes again, and the situation in front of him wasn't good. Ha Dongjian's group looked rather battered. The little bear that Oh Yanju had turned into was also lying in front of the red tiger. So I stopped watching the battlefield for just a moment. And you guys managed to make it this miserable over here? The system prompted again. Candidates eligible to be granted citizen status detected. There are still people without citizen status? Give it now. All of them, every last one. Now the number of citizens had reached 50. The related gains rose again, and the skill power of faith was unlocked. Fine. Park that skill for now. I don't have time to study it. My head only has one thought. Did anyone get hurt? Byongo was completely drained, carrying his grandma on his back. Kang Deoksu was carrying Oyanju, and the others were also desperately fleeing. Damn it. This is too bad. And why did it have to be Oyanju who got hurt so badly? Then goblins appeared on the road again. Someone casually raised a hand and fired an arrow. That arrow pinned the goblin down on the spot. Even the archer hadn't expected that arrow to have such huge power. The fleeing team members all felt their bodies suddenly become lighter. This was the power of faith skill, boosting all attributes according to trust level. So this skill is that insane? Ha Dongjian's team all had trust above 50, so this skill was very strong. Byongo said, "This has to be Jae-in's skill helping us." As he spoke, the two girls on the team also reached the standard to be taken as vassals. Take them now. Immediately, right now. The two girls felt their surging abilities in shock. Gaon awakened the penetration skill, while Hiren awakened poison mist. The girls turned back around. Why are we still running? If we run, we can run later. First let's fuck them up. They drew bows and knocked arrows. That arrow tore toward a monster dog head, with a fierce whistling break through the air. Who would have thought the arrow could even curve? One shot pierced all the monsters ahead. Gaeong herself was stunned. I calmly looked at the system panel and started issuing her a task. Use the penetration skill to kill 10 goblins within a time limit. Next, this poison mist is a bit tricky. If it's used badly, I'm afraid the monsters won't be poisoned to death before the teammates get gassed out first. Let's set it aside for now, and train it slowly later. Now let me see the status of the other citizens. In the God's Eye view, a man was walking forward holding a water bottle. It looked like he was collecting drinking water in advance. Some households also had some food, and most people would collect supplies themselves. Looks like this is also why these people don't want to join Ha Dongjian's squad. At this moment, a woman appeared in the view. I immediately hurried toward her home. At the same time, I used the system to check her basic information. The woman lying on the ground was named Kim Dejong, and she had also awakened an ability. Must save her. She's a healer. Soon I arrived at her door. It didn't look locked, so I opened the front door. But unexpectedly, there was still a security latch on the inside. He remembered the new skill he had just obtained, Invisible Hand. Perhaps it could summon an invisible hand and control it. The problem is, how do I use this hand to break the security latch? Just as I thought that, the invisible hand directly turned into a pair of large scissors. I controlled the scissors and aimed them at the latch. The latch snapped off with a sound. Jae-hyun rushed into the room. He went up to the woman. "Hey, wake up. Don't die yet." Her condition looked even worse than I'd imagined. Her lips were cracked. It was obvious dehydration. I quickly looked for something nearby that could help her. The next second, I widened my eyes. Drinking water was not far from her. That makes no sense. But the top priority now was how to save her. System, it's your time to perform. Issue task, take 1 breath. Reward, remove dehydration status. This reward cost me 10 million. But she was still breathing, so she completed the task instantly. "Hey, wake up. Can you hear me? Can you see me?" The girl slowly woke up and asked. "Who are you?" "I live upstairs. I saw you were about to die, so I broke in to save you." Then Kim Dejong covered her face and started crying. Jae-yin was suddenly at a loss. But the situation was urgent, so he said sharply, "Kim Dejong, I really am sorry for barging into your home, but I need your help badly. One of my teammates is seriously injured." She didn't speak, thinking, what is this guy talking about? How does he know I can help him? And he wants me to treat his teammate. How does he know I'm a nurse? But since Jae-hyun was asking for her help, it probably wasn't dangerous. So she agreed. Wait, there's a new task again. Treat the injured Oyanju. Task or no task, even if the system didn't give one, Jae-hyun would still save Oyanju. There's no reason not to. I said to Kim Dejong, take these first. Jae-hyun will bring people over in a bit. She stared at the things I took out, dumbfounded. They were just fresh oranges. She called out loudly. Wait. She pointed at the system panel and asked, what is that? Oh, this? When the time comes, I'll tell you naturally. For now, get some rest. Looking at the oranges, the girl thought, so many? Am I dreaming? Jae-hyun had just gotten back home. A prompt came through that Kim Dejong's trust had increased. At first she probably didn't trust me at all. She just thought I was a bad guy, which is normal. I did break in and end up standing in her living room. Even if it's to save her, it still looks like a robbery. Ha Dongjian's side should be about to come back by now too. Damn, why are they still running for their lives like crazy? That huge shadow behind them, what the hell is that? It was actually the red tiger that had just badly injured Oyanju. How could there be another red tiger? Right now, the red tiger was chasing Ha Dongjian and his group. Suddenly, Hairin twisted her ankle and crashed hard to the ground. Gaeong shouted Hairin's name anxiously, hoping she'd get up quickly. Hairin endured the sharp pain and struggled up from the ground. No! From Gaeong's eyes, it looked like it was too late. Sure enough, the tiger had already opened its mouth wide right behind the Hairin who'd just gotten up. She turned her head to look back. So death has always been this close. The huge mouth rapidly closed in, and she could only stay still. The next second, the huge mouth shut. A flash of blue-purple light swept by. The red tiger looked blank. How did it not get to eat? Hairin, saved by my summoning, was still in shock. I watched her kneel in front of me, utterly exhausted. If I hadn't activated the skill in time, this girl would have been done for. Luckily, I made it in time. This could also buy a little more time for the others who were fleeing. At this moment, the system sent a prompt. There are new citizens that can be accepted. The next second, Byongo appeared in front of me holding his grandma. He begged me to look after his grandma. Jaehyun, please take care of my grandma. I still have to go back. That tiger, sit down. I cut him off. Going out to die is fun, is it? You think I'm not tired enough from saving people? He wanted to argue, but seeing Jaehyun's firm eyes, he ultimately said nothing, and obediently went to look after his grandma himself. Here, I stared at the tiger chasing everyone. In my mind, I was calculating what suitable skill I had to take down this tiger. The tiger pursued relentlessly, getting closer and closer to them. Ha Dongjian knew this wouldn't work. If it went on like this, no one would survive. So he stopped running. He pulled out a baseball he had on him, and activated his skill, baseball throwing. With triple strength added, the ball flew at the tiger in dazzling blue light. It didn't hit, and I don't know whether it truly missed, or whether he threw it that way on purpose. Either way, the tiger got enraged, and Gaeong shouted Ha Dongjian's name loudly. At this moment, the tiger was already right in front of him. Why are you calling me? It's already too late, but just now, I was pretty cool, right? You all run. I'll hold it off a bit longer for you. He really was fast. He actually ran straight to the entrance of the underground parking garage in one go. The tiger's gaping mouth was right there too. Finally, Ha Dongjian started to panic. This time I'm probably really done. As long as Jaehyun is here, they never have to panic over this moment. A huge clamp fell from the sky. Then the tiger's front paws left the ground. The next second, the tiger was clamped up by that big clamp. In Ha Dongjian's shocked gaze, the entire tiger was lifted off the ground. At this time, Gaeong and the others also caught up. Originally Jaehyun planned to summon Dongjian back too, but it didn't seem necessary yet. So he assigned a task to Gaeong. Having Gaeong hunt is enough. Counting all the bonuses, I can get 4 times the loot. What I need to do is keep the tiger steadily controlled, so Gaeong can focus on full DPS. The tiger struggled in the clamp, extremely unwilling. But Gaeong didn't care. You've been chasing me for ages. I hold grudges. She fired an arrow with special effects. Obviously she had activated a skill. As the red tiger was killed, I obtained a huge amount of rewards, and their trust and loyalty rose again. Good. Ha Dongjian has finally reached the vassal standard too. Now I can bring him into the team. Back home, a pair of hands emitting golden light hovered above the wound. It was Kim Dejong, healing Oyanju with all her strength. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Wrapped in the golden light, Oyanju's complexion also improved. I was also glad I'd found a healer. This kind of healing ability is basically god tier in the apocalypse. Then I asked Ha Dongjian, what's with the red tiger? Didn't we already kill one? Why did another one show up after that? Later we guessed. Byongo's grandma's building is probably on the red tiger's territory. No wonder Jaehyun always felt something was off. Thinking back now, that whole area didn't have any goblins at all. If it really were goblin territory, his grandma's place would have been packed with monsters long ago. Got to say, that luck, insane. And his grandma's life. She really is tough. At this moment, Kim Dejong's healing task finished, and the system delivered the reward. She stood up and wiped the sweat from her forehead. I'm done. Jaehyun casually praised her. Good job. Then she thought and looked up to ask him. Then now, can I go home? Jaehyun had just started. Wait. Before he could finish, Choi Hyung-jun cut in. You're not going to keep stuffing people into my place, are you? He looked calm on the surface, and looked around at everyone. What I'm about to say next is exactly this issue. There are a few empty units downstairs with no one living in them. Starting now, I'll provide water, electricity, and basic supplies over there. Pack up and move there. Jaehyun turned to look at Kim Dabin again. And you too, Dabin. There are 2 empty units over there. water and electricity are on me too. Help me organize the other survivors to move over together. Kim Dabin and her younger brother Miho both nodded, saying no problem. Jaehyun added, but let's be clear in advance. You two can take one unit by yourselves. The remaining others will share the other unit. But I have one requirement. Kim Dabin's eyes lit up, and she immediately responded. With treatment this good, just say it, Jaehyun Appa. Forget one requirement. I'll go through fire and water for you. It's simple. I want you to be my secretary, responsible for passing messages and coordinating between me and the survivors. What do you mean? I don't really get it. She stared at Jaehyun. You're responsible for conveying my tasks and rules for me. Tell them, if a team kills 100 goblins, they can be allocated one unit, form another team, accept 10 survivors into the team, and you can also be allocated a unit. The housing, water, electricity, and supplies, I provide it all. But these rewards are first come, first served. Make it clear. From now on, only people who prove they have value can get the supplies they need. At the same time, a man was sprinting, panting hard. Behind him was a huge mob of goblins, chasing this piece of meat like they'd gone mad. He ran while almost crying, looking both terrified and wronged. Not far ahead, a half-open door was standing ajar. That was his target. He sprinted with all his strength. In the very second before the goblin's claws could catch him, he did a textbook slide. He narrowly skimmed under the monster's claws. A blur of motion, and he slipped through the doorway. He immediately shouted at the top of his lungs. Now! Move! Right now! Behind the door, 3 teammates lay in ambush. Nice work. Enough monsters have been lured over. The next second, the 3 grabbed their homemade weapons and charged out without hesitation. Straight into the monsters. In the narrow doorway, monsters surged in. But they didn't show much panic. Moves that couldn't be more ordinary. Amateur attack lines. Yet they forcibly held the position with tight chokepoint control. This seemingly rough fighting style, in coordination among the 3, was shockingly effective. Second by second, they not only held the door, they also took down a considerable number of goblins. The remaining monsters that weren't dead began to waver and back off. Gradually, they retreated. At this moment, one of the men's lips curled upward. I want to show off. Help me see how the effect looks. After saying that, he grabbed a crude spear. With a hard throw, the weapon held out between the 2 teammates. It shot straight after the fleeing goblins. The spear forcibly skewered one monster clean through. How was my flex? The 2 companions were expressionless. SOSO. Alright, then let's count. How many monsters did we kill total? After a quick tally, they realized it. These 3 amateur hunters had actually cut down over 100 goblins. The runner who'd lured monsters couldn't help cursing. Fuck your mother. Sunjiab, didn't you say at most 10 monsters? The show-off Sunjiab turned and frowned. So what? Fuck your mother? You had me lure that many. I almost died out there. Sunjiab irritably pressed at his temples. Listen to me. Who came up with this Luran hunt tactic set? Me. Who made these crude spears? Those twins. You patted your own chest and said you run fast. Now you made it back alive, and you're here yapping at me? If you don't want to stay in the team, you can fuck off. Seeing the atmosphere about to explode, the 2 brothers hurried to pull one guy each. They coaxed both sides. They were pretty sly too, talking nicely while smoothing things over. In the end, the man realized he'd gotten heated and apologized to Sunjiab. Sunjiab snorted and couldn't be bothered to pursue it. Right now, he only wanted one thing: to hurry up and claim a unit. However, at the unit assignment desk, Kim Dabin looked at the record and said to them apologetically, I'm very sorry. Another team reached 100 goblins first, and already claimed that unit. Sunjiab froze. What did you say? Someone was faster than us at killing 100 goblins? Dabin, wait, don't joke around. Hurry up and give us the unit. Dabin shrugged. Well, I'm not joking. They're already here. It's that team. The ones who completed the task earlier than you. Sunjiab followed her line of sight. He saw Miho walking over with a middle-aged couple. Miho explained. They were qualified to take the new unit, but they voluntarily gave it up. The condition was, let their daughter not have to kill monsters. Dabin frowned. Their daughter is a minor anyway. By the rules, she can be exempt from tasks. The middle-aged couple smiled. She's already an adult. She just looks young. Oh right. Jaehyun also promised to provide us with bows and arrows. Sunjiab cut in. They still have to go to the battlefield? At that age, it's not really suitable for high-intensity combat, is it? Inside, he started to feel unconvinced. Isn't this special treatment? Miho added. Oh, right. Jaehyun told the 2nd and 3rd teams to go to the 30th floor to collect their rewards. Dabin turned to look at Sunjiab. Looks like you got lucky. Go to the 30th floor to claim your reward. Sunjiab's face was full of displeasure. But the task had been confirmed, so he could only agree. In the elevator, he still couldn't help complaining. I really can't figure out why everyone is so respectful to that guy. The twin brothers echoed him. They all worship him like a god. Could he be some cult leader? The man who lured monsters objected quietly. Saying that behind someone's back feels kind of wrong. Either way, he's the one providing everyone housing and supplies. It's normal to curry favor with him, right? All three turned their heads in unison to stare at him. Sunjiab snorted coldly. Later I'm going to have a good talk with you. The elevator doors opened. The moment they stepped out, Jae-in also happened to arrive at the elevator area. His expression was calm as he looked at these people. Hello. These guys who'd been yapping happily in the elevator all went instantly silent, the moment they saw the real person. After a few seconds of silence, Baek Sunjiab stiffened his scalp. He reached out his hand and gave a brief self-introduction. Jae-in grasped his hand and said calmly, "That move of fighting while holding the doorway. Your performance really was pretty good." Sunjiab's eyes jolted. "How do you know? Our fight, you saw it?" Jae-in couldn't be bothered to explain much on that topic, and directly gave them the unit number he'd arranged. Sunjiab froze. "You're really just giving it to us like that?" Jae-in gave him a look. "Your kill count met the standard. Naturally you're qualified to get a unit. And one more thing. I'm not a cult leader. Watch what you say next time. I don't want to become any kind of god either." He shifted tone. "But, I've got something else I want you to do. Just tell me, will you do it or not?" The camera shifted. A group of people were being chased, sprinting like crazy. At the front was Baek Sunjiab. He ran while turning into a side alley. The goblins behind him also swarmed in. At the end of the alley, Sunjiab shouted at the top of his lungs to Ha Dongjian in front of him. "Move, now." Ha Dongjian's mouth curled slightly. "All right, then I'll do it." He raised his hand and gripped the spear tightly. After being taken in as a vassal, Ha Dongjian's attributes were boosted across the board, and he also unlocked a new skill. He began charging power. The skill activated. Throwing power increased fivefold. With a violent motion, he hurled the spear at the monsters. This strike skewered a monster straight through. The remaining goblins refused to accept it. One of them, clearly larger, howled and charged up to hard brawl. Ha Dongjian stood straight, not intimidated at all. At the instant the two sides were about to collide, an arrow glowing blue streaked past his shoulder from behind him. It nailed the big goblin right on the crown of the head. Daeong's bow-drawing posture was beautiful as hell. "Who told you I'm fighting alone?" The next second, Ha Dongjian calmly drew out a second spear. He simply thrust it forward, plain and ordinary, and the monster dropped on the spot. The system prompt flashed, "Mission complete." After the battle ended, they found 3 terrified survivors huddled in the corner, not daring to even breathe loudly. Ha Dongjian showed them a gentle smile. "Let's go. It's safe now." After that, he and Sunjiab's group brought the 3 people back to the apartment building together. Jae-hyun looked at the newly brought back survivors. Counting these 3, the total citizen count reached exactly 200. The more people, the stronger I get. He accepted them as citizens without hesitation. The system then unlocked a new skill, tax collection. Every 30 days, automatically collect 10% tax from citizens' account balances. This skill was pretty decent. It wouldn't deduct citizens' actual balances, but Jae-in also couldn't decide the amount himself. Jae-in started calculating in his head. He was short on time and had heavy tasks. To save his parents, he had to get stronger as soon as possible. So he still had to send Ha Dongjian's squad out. The next reward was skill points times 3. At the same time, that familiar sensation of leveling surged again. Territory range expanded. Light blanketed the entire building. Now, the whole apartment building is mine. New function unlocked. Construction. And construction funds, 1 billion. Jae-in opened the construction panel. "Let's see what the hell I can build." Solar power plant, 130 million. Gym, 300 million. Annual profit, 30 million. He couldn't help cursing. What the hell, only 30 million a year? What does that even do? Just one solar setup costs over 100 million. Might as well go rob someone. With that money, Jae-in would be better off just dumping it into vassals to raise combat power. But he quickly realized something was off. Construction funds were a separate budget and could only be used for infrastructure. Now that makes sense. It wasn't the same thing as his normal income. Since construction funds couldn't be diverted for his own use, he had to spend it now. He immediately chose to build a solar power unit. Time, 24 hours. Cost, 130 million. Construction funds remaining, 800 plus million. Isn't one a bit too few? Another one? The system replied calmly. Only 1 unit per apartment building. Jae-in could only shift his gaze to mall-related buildings. Let me see what building a shop is about. Oh, this is way more than I expected. Products in the mall would be generated automatically when someone pays. And it was a truly unmanned store. No staffing needed. Saving labor and worry. It could also set prices freely, meaning capital circulation efficiency rose another notch. This has to be built too. But where should I put it? Put it on the first floor. The severed limbs have long been cleaned up, and the first floor is spacious enough too. Lastly, build a gym. Gym effect, when citizens work out, they can increase strength and stamina. Jae-in directly placed the gym on the second floor. After finishing construction, He opened the mall again to check the upgraded functions. Now, the mall's listable goods expanded to 500 types, with richer variety and clearer categories. Obviously, it was designed to pair with an unmanned store. Need to take a good look. In the updated list, it still wasn't everything you could want, but it was enough to meet current living and combat needs, and each product would automatically derive similar substitutes. This upgrade is going to be extremely useful. On the other side, Kong Deoksu was still chopping through monsters. As one of the first batch of veterans who'd weathered the storms and leveled up, he was now a bona fide expert. He just cleared a patch of monsters when he heard Ha Dongjian calling him. "What is it? Can your weapon be thrown? Let me borrow it to try." Before he could think much, Ha Dongjian already had his halberd in hand. He charged power and threw it diagonally upward. The halberd drew an exaggerated arc through the air, and flew far, far away. Deoksu's heart shattered. "Are you sick in the head? Why the hell are you randomly throwing my weapon?" Ha Dongjian said calmly. "Now try recalling the weapon, and then summon it again. Trust me, I won't harm you." Kong Deoksu complained, but still did as told. The next second, the halberd returned to his hand out of thin air. Kong Deoksu instantly had an epiphany. "Dongjian, you're a fucking genius." At this moment, Gaeong walked over. "Dongjian, we should go." As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly looked to the side, as if she'd noticed something. It was a very familiar glow. The arrow she had just fired had now reappeared in front of her. New skill unlocked, total concentration. When using Ultimate Eyes, you can simultaneously use another skill. Now that she had gotten her ammunition resupply again, she naturally continued clearing monsters without hesitation. At this point, they also completed the task. Everything was almost exactly as Jaehyun had calculated. By continuously hunting monsters, they leveled up steadily. He relaxed slightly. "Finally, I can see a bit of hope." A 10-kilometer distance would take at least several hours on foot. Thinking of that, Jaehyun went up to the rooftop alone. Standing on the roof and looking out at the ruined city in the distance felt awful beyond words. Time waits for no one, he thought silently. I hope they can get stronger quickly. Jaehyun opened the panel and checked the status of the recent combatants. Kim Jeon, Awakened Crow contract, very suitable for recon missions. Oh Yeonju, currently the ceiling of combat power in Jaehyun's faction. Plus Kim Dejong's healing and shielding. Almost a perfect support. But Kim Dejong is hard to deal with. Her loyalty still hasn't reached the threshold to be taken as a vassal. Unlike Kim Dejong, she quickly and completely leaned to my side. Even more troublesome is that those who awakened before the system intervened have a huge innate advantage. To raise her loyalty, the only way is to revive her child. Jaehyun had tried before, but back then he was far short on coins, and he couldn't even set a resurrection task. He decided to try again now. The result was the same. The system mercilessly popped a prompt. Insufficient funds. Jaehyun felt a ball of irritation. So who can tell me how much money does it take to revive one person? I'm fucking impressed. He was agonizing over what to do about this. The system, meanwhile, as usual, kept popping a string of prompts. Income from monster kills, deposited one payment after another into the ultimate shut-in, bound e-wallet. Suddenly, Jaehyun had a flash of insight. If I can't fully revive him for now, what about reviving him for just one day? An idea rapidly took shape in his mind. Use a one-time task reward to let her son return briefly within a limited time. But the prerequisite was to first push her loyalty up to the vassal line. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Outside came a familiar voice. Jaehyun opened the door. Oh Yeonju stood at the doorway, flustered and out of breath. She looked like she'd run all the way up, her eyes red-rimmed. Looking at Jaehyun, her voice trembling. That task just now. Jaehyun cut her off. Yes, there's a time limit, but Jaehyun didn't lie to you. Hearing that, it was as if her strength was drained away. She slumped to the floor. She couldn't help crying. Thank you so much, Jaehyun. Actually, even if it's only for an instant, as long as I can see him, it's enough. On the system side, her loyalty naturally broke through the threshold. Jaehyun felt a wave of satisfaction. That feels good. Oh Yeonju, secured. Not long after, today's shop earnings also arrived. Over 300,000. Jaehyun did a rough calculation. Net profit about 20%. Taking in a bit over 300,000 meant total sales had already exceeded 1 million. He couldn't help going to check on the unmanned shop. People were coming and going in an endless stream. Some were carefully budgeting in front of the shelves. Others bought what they liked. And if they had no money, they decisively took quests to go kill monsters and earn. He hadn't expected it. Just by hanging hunting rewards on the quest board, the entire building's atmosphere would change drastically. Ever since the shop appeared, everyone knew it. Killing monsters could earn money. The result was, there were almost not enough goblins to kill. Consumption desire drove them to expand outward non-stop, automatically moving toward farther hunting areas. Jaehyun's level rose smoothly along with it, and many new citizens arrived. The current total population was closing in on 800 people. A chill thought swept across his mind. From now on, system-prompted events will erupt exponentially. As if responding to that, the next moment, new kill reward income arrived again. Everything started once more. Over on the battlefield, the transformed Oyanju was clearly especially ruthless when dealing with the goblins. Her ways of killing monsters were simple. Either she slapped them flying with one paw, or she simply bit them to pieces. No matter how you looked at it, it felt like she was venting hatred. After clearing the monsters at hand, she cancelled her transformation. Teammates behind her called her name while panting. Everyone was concerned about whether she was injured, and teased her. "Can you leave some monsters for us? We want to feel good too." She was a little embarrassed. "I'm fine. If it looks like I'm stealing kills, then I'm really sorry." The teammates laughed instead. "Don't apologize. Winning while lying down feels pretty great too." Hearing them say that, Oyanju got shy instead. Jaehyun observed from afar, thinking, "Looks like they're getting along pretty well." Oyanju was already level 40 now. After becoming a vassal, she was frighteningly strong. She'd even obtained an S-rank skill. Now she could both tank and fight. Jaehyun was watching with great interest when suddenly, from the darkness ahead of the subway, a heavy disturbance came. In an instant, a gigantic foot stepped into their view. That oppressive presence made everyone break out in cold sweat. A fully armed goblin general slowly emerged from the darkness. Oyanju instantly entered combat state, transforming as she warned. "Be careful, this is..." But before she could finish, she had already completed her barification. Amid two teammates' startled cries, she left them only her back. The duel erupted. The goblin general swung its weapon and smashed down ferociously. In her bear form, Oyanju raised a paw and smacked down, forcibly shaking the attack off. One bear and one goblin, two monsters, fought to a standstill. At the instant the two forces locked, Gaeong drew her bow and knocked an arrow. Seizing the timing, she fired. The arrow went straight for the monster's chest. But this goblin general was clearly smarter than the father. It raised its weapon to block, batting the arrow away. Even so, that brief distraction let Oyanju seize an opening. The next second, she burst forward and slammed the monster to the ground. Then she opened her mouth wide. This boss that had looked fairly strong instantly became a victim of her jaws. A system prompt popped up. "Congratulations on killing the goblin captain. Unlocked, outpost-based construction." Jaehyun opened the description and looked at the price. "It takes 1.3 billion just to build a safe zone watchtower?" Even though the number startled him, he had to admit the function was indeed good. And he actually had enough funds now. From an investment perspective, it was worth it. But construction time, 7 days. And it requires titled citizens to remain within range the entire time. If he built it now, Oyanju, Kim Dejung, and Ha Dongjian would all have to squat there for 7 full days. The time cost is too high. "The thing I can least afford to waste is time." And with nearby monsters basically cleared out, the returns of building an outpost in this area weren't high. Not building it for now. Later. But he had already noted it. Later, if he could build an outpost base at his parents' apartment complex, that would be perfect. As long as they stayed within that territory, Jaehyun could protect them directly. It was just that bringing his family over now was easier said than done. Jaehyun sighed softly to himself. "I hope you're all still alive." He couldn't delay anymore. Tomorrow, he would send Ha Dongjian and the others to his parents' neighborhood. Inside the subway, after watching Oyanju's fight, Kim Jian was completely numb. This is way too absurd. How can a human tear monsters apart with bare hands? He thought about it, and corrected himself. Oh, right. After transforming, I guess she can't really be considered human anymore. After all, even before receiving Jaehyun's buffs, she had already been very strong. He couldn't help being curious. How exactly had Oyanju been persuaded by Jaehyun to join the team? While he was letting his thoughts run wild, Jaehyun issued a task for them to return. A system notification popped up in front of everyone at the same time. Ha Dongjian called everyone to set off. "Let's go. Get back. Now." Kim Jian summoned his contract crow. The crow obediently perched on his hand. After exchanging a few simple cues with its master, Ha Dongjian had him send the crow out to scout first. Receiving the order, the crow spread its wings and flew off. It quickly reached high altitude, and scouted the route ahead along the tracks. Through shared vision, Kim Jian didn't find any obvious danger, so everyone began withdrawing along the return route. On the way, Kim Jian suddenly seemed to sense something. He turned his head toward a patch of shadow to one side. There was an inconspicuous little mouse there. He crouched down and looked closely, but didn't find anything abnormal. So he stood up helplessly, and continued following the group. He didn't know that at the moment they turned their backs and left, that mouse quietly stared at their silhouettes in the darkness. When the footsteps had faded into the distance, the mouse suddenly darted out. It charged in the direction they had gone. Its speed was astonishingly fast. In just a few hops, it sprang up onto the subway platform. Standing at the edge, its tiny eyes spun around, as if it were thinking about something. At night, Jaehyun called several core team members into his room. He briefly made one thing clear. He was going to look for his parents. He hoped they could help. For a moment, everyone fell silent and didn't answer right away. Jaehyun spoke first. Jaehyun knows the chance is extremely slim. Ha Dongjian suddenly asked, "Can you be sure your family is still in that apartment building right now?" To be honest, Jaehyun couldn't be sure. At this moment, Byongo stepped forward. "I'll help you." Everyone looked at him. He said seriously, "The only reason I'm alive today is because of your help, so I'm going to help." Ha Dongjian nodded. "Yeah, to be alive until now, everyone's been helped by Jaehyun. Just tell us what you need us to do." Warmth surged in Jaehyun's chest. "Good thing they aren't ungrateful," he said in a low voice. "The monsters nearby are basically cleared out. You just need to follow the subway line all the way there. Once you exit the station, I'll continue to guide you through the system. I know this is my personal matter, so please put safety first and advance steadily." After saying that, he bowed deeply to them. "Please rest well and prepare for tomorrow." Oh Yeonju suddenly spoke up. "Wait, I have a question. Can't you use your ability to directly bring your family over?" Jaehyun didn't hide it. "To be honest, I tried. I tried to exploit the system's task rewards and use a similar method to teleport people over. When I saw Byungo's teleport ability before, Jaehyun was extremely excited, and I thought I could bring people back instantly. But I can't. Maybe my ability range still doesn't cover where they are. So under that premise, there's nothing I can do about it." He paused. "Even if my parents might be on the brink of death right now. After all, I'm not omnipotent yet. If I can't do something, I can't do it. But Yeonju, you can rest assured. What Jaehyun promised you, one day I will do it." After hearing that, she showed a relieved smile. "Jaehyun, thank you for your honesty." On the system side, her trust rose again. Jaehyun replied, "No need. I'm the one who should be thanking you. Go rest." One by one, everyone left. Before leaving, Ha Dongjian even turned back on purpose. He reminded him to rest early too. The moment the door closed, a system prompt immediately popped up. "Someone is attempting to enter the territory without authorization. Grant citizen status?" Jaehyun tapped confirm and took the chance to see which newcomer it was. The next second, Seo Yejin joined successfully. Awakened ability, Mouse Queen. Another awakened one? What? A mouse is actually an awakened? Time rewound to an hour earlier. Back then, the mouse was lying in the shadows. It watched the battle between humans and monsters from start to finish with its own eyes. The little mouse was so shocked its tail went stiff. These humans are way too strong. Are they all awakened? It swallowed a tiny mouthful of saliva and decided to sneak after them. It wanted to see what was really going on. So the little mouse sprinted wildly in the direction they left. It left the subway station, climbed rails, squeezed through cracks. It crossed rubble and trash. Along the way it had its share of hard trekking, and it probably didn't even know how far it had run. Finally, it reached the vicinity of the apartment building. It looked up. In the small playground downstairs, there were actually children playing and roughhousing. The mouse was stunned on the spot, almost speaking human words. Right after that, it spotted the high-rise lit brightly. The first-floor lobby was packed with people. Some were shopping, some were chatting. What the fuck? This is basically two different worlds. The mouse got more and more excited, thinking, "I have to get in there and take a good look." Its eyes shone as its short little legs scurried up the steps. The next second, its little head slammed solidly into an invisible barrier. That one really hurt, so much that its tail twisted into an S shape. At this moment, a prompt box popped up in front of it. Entry forbidden. Apply for citizen status? This sudden prompt made the little mouse so anxious it nearly started cursing out loud. Staring at the system dialog box that had no response for ages, it suddenly felt a little sad. Could it be, mice have no human rights? A few seconds later, citizen status authorization successful. The mouse was so happy its fur practically exploded. It spread its short legs and pattered up the steps again. The moment it stepped into the lobby, it was spotted by humans. A mouse. Everyone yells at a street rat. A big foot came stomping down at it. The mouse was scared out of its mind. It rolled and scrambled, weaving like crazy between table legs and corners. And only with great difficulty did it finally escape human sight. Along the way, it glimpsed a fully equipped gym. A few people were lifting weights, running, stretching. It also saw several women with insanely good figures. The mouse's eyes went straight. This is the life I long for. At the same time, in the subway station, Seo Yejin, who was controlling this mouse, suddenly felt a violent headache. Maybe it was because the distance was too far, and her mental energy was drained too much. Or maybe the mouse had died at some moment. But even so, she still felt very happy, because she finally knew how to live properly. She collapsed onto the ground, and also understood. Knowing that place existed was one thing. Being able to reach it was another. She gritted her teeth. Looks like the only way is to follow the subway tracks all the way there. But, there's a very troublesome big monster over there. Still, I'm not without a chance, because my mice are everywhere. Mouse Queen. Once you tame mice, you can control them freely, and share their vision and senses. On Jaehyun's side, he was reading her ability description. Her skill is pretty good, so it's not transformation, it's control. With an S-rank awakened who delivered herself to his doorstep, Jaehyun naturally couldn't let it go. He had to take her in as a vassal. But where is she hiding right now? He tried using his own skill to scan the surrounding area, but didn't find any trace of her. Then I'll post a task to lure her over. Wait, he suddenly thought of a question Ayanju had asked earlier. Why don't you just summon your family over directly? The earlier summoning failure was very likely because the target was beyond his skill's effective range. But if the target already has citizen status, will it still work on her? After all, no matter how far away his vassals were when killing monsters, the loot still went straight into his account. Then I'll issue a task she absolutely can't complete, and set the failure penalty to forced summoning back to the Lord's side. He tried creating the task in the system. It was published successfully. The system didn't reject it. Success. System, I just glitched you into a little bug this time. If this worked, then bringing his family over in the future would add one more stable, safe route. The process was very clear. First, send DONGHUA's squad to the area where his parents were. Set up an outpost base there. Register his parents as citizens. And finally, use a similar task method to summon them directly back. This plan was both safe and reliable. Now let's see how much this trick costs. 10 seconds later, the system notification popped up. Task failed. 30 million won has been consumed. Jaehyun relaxed. That scared the hell out of me. Good thing it works, and the price is still acceptable. The next second, Seo Yejin in a cap appeared in Jaehyun's room, looking completely dumbfounded. Jaehyun froze for a second, then looked back at her. Holy shit, she's already here? The system's pretty reliable. The mouse queen in front of him was so frightened that she dropped straight to her knees. And in her terrified eyes, it looked like she was about to burst into tears at any second. Jaehyun restrained his expression. He put on the gentlest smile he could manage, and greeted her. Hi, Seo Yejin. Her whole body shuddered. Who are you? How do you know my name? Of course I know. I'm the one who just granted you citizen status. And the place you're in right now is that apartment building your mouse saw earlier. From its perspective, the top floor. Nice to meet you. My name is Jaehyun. As he spoke, he took out a bit of snack from his storage space and held it out to her. She hesitated, but still reached out to take it, asking softly, that super weird task just now, was that you? Jaehyun nodded. That's right, I did it. Her eyes lit up, and her mood flipped instantly. Wow, big brother, you're amazing. I still have a lot of people over there I need to take care of. Can you please take them in too? Jaehyun was a bit speechless. You're already making demands of me? She hurriedly waved her hands. No, I originally wanted to bring them over with me. But it's too far. I really can't. From what you're saying, it's not just 1 or 2 people. Tell me, how many are there in total? 35. Jaehyun fell silent for a moment, then sighed. Sorry, I can't do it right now. She thought he didn't want to. She knelt properly on the floor, her eyes reddening. What do you mean by that? Jaehyun spread his hands. Nothing. My ability is really limited. She grabbed Jaehyun's sleeve, almost choking with sobs. Please, big brother. All my relatives are over there. I'm willing to do anything for you, big brother. Please. Jaehyun waved his hand. Don't panic yet. Let me think of a way. He suddenly realized something. Since citizen status could be granted to her through a mouse, what about other people? He glanced at Seo Yejin's detailed status panel. Her trust is pretty high, probably because she has no other choice, and can only bet on me. Jaehyun looked at her again. Are you sure you're willing to do anything for me? Without hesitation, she said. Yes, I'll pay any price. Good. Jaehyun nodded. I think there should be a way to do what you said. But the premise is, you must trust me completely. She froze for a moment, then her eyes brightened. She hadn't expected him to agree so quickly. Jaehyun emphasized again. If you can truly trust me completely, I guarantee I'll save your family. This time she didn't space out. She nodded immediately. From now on I'm Big Brother's mousy. As soon as the words fell, a system prompt jumped out on a spot. Affection and trust have met the standard. Target can be registered as vassal. This was exactly the effect Jaehyun wanted. He chose to recruit without hesitation. In an instant, a mysterious power enveloped her. The awakened was amplified again, and a new ability awakened along with it, Beast Tamer, further strengthening her control over the rat swarm. As she accepted the new ability, Jaehyun casually asked, near where your family is gathered, are there any mice you've tamed? She answered without even thinking, yes, I have tons of mice. Then now, have all your mice head toward where your clan is gathered. She closed her eyes and focused completely on linking with the swarm. Jaehyun also activated Ultimate Eyes at the same time. With the two abilities stacked, the images came into Jaehyun's view with crystal clarity. Not long after, one mouse slipped into a dim space. There were people packed around. Someone recognized it at a glance. It's Yejin's mouse. Right then, in the air above the mouse's head, a blue window suddenly appeared. The next second, the window flew open, and boxed food, drinking water, daily necessities poured down like rain, continuously smashing onto the ground. People froze for 2 seconds. Then cheers they couldn't hold back erupted. Everyone thought this was supplies Yejin had delivered for them at the risk of her life. On the system side, her trust rose sharply yet again. Jaehyun watched the scene before him. As expected, everything is going exactly as I anticipated. The Mouse Queen's mice paired with his ultimate eyes was simply a match made in heaven. From now on, I'll have thousands upon thousands of eyes and ears. They'll be the perfect scouts. The plan gradually became clear. Jaehyun explained his concept to Yejin. He also told her in detail the location where his parents might be. As it happened, she wasn't unfamiliar with that area. My family used to live near there too. In that case, compared to sending Ha Dongjian over to brute force his way in, using her mice to scout first has more advantages. Not only could they confirm Jaehyun's parents' condition, they could also deliver supplies to them in advance. Yejin was very willing, and repeatedly promised she would definitely give it her all. Her loyalty and trust rose again. Then have the mice start working right now. Go along the subway tracks. This was Jaehyun's planned rescue route in the first place. She jolted in fright after hearing that. No, you can't go from that side. Jaehyun frowned. Why? Is there any road I can't take? She bit her lip. Because, there's a terrifying big thing in the subway station. Jaehyun raised an eyebrow. How terrifying can it be? It's just a monster. How about this? You send a mouse over first and take a look. Deep inside the subway station, that mouse quickly received the order, and moved forward through the dark passageway, soon arriving at the target area. Then it saw a goblin hanging in midair by something. The little mouse looked upward along the shared view. There was a huge python. It was swallowing the goblin down, bite by bite. A goblin that big, in its mouth, was just a one-bite dessert. Suddenly, the giant python stopped moving. It seemed to sense something, and slowly turned its head. Its icy vertical pupils met the mouse's gaze. In the next moment, its enormous body twisted, and that massive snake head appeared instantly in front of the mouse. It opened its blood-red mouth, aiming right at it. Clearly, the goblin it had just eaten hadn't fully satisfied it, and this mouse might simply be an after-dinner sweet in its eyes. But given the mouse's size and agility, it wouldn't be that easy to bite. Through shared vision, Jaehyun saw all of it clearly. It really is a super huge monster. First, I need to figure out its level. From what had been observed so far, this giant python was very likely above level 40. Seo Yejin offered a suggestion. Detour. It'd be better to go through another subway station. I've seen Ha Dongjian and the other's strength, but taking a longer way around from that side would be steadier. Jaehyun nodded. That's a good suggestion. I'll seriously consider it. Go rest in a room on the 27th floor for now. Starting today, you'll live here. Just do a simple cleanup of the room yourself. Watching her leave, Jaehyun understood. Her detour plan was the optimal answer from a safety standpoint. If it were the old me, maybe I'd agree to go around. But now, I don't know what surrender means. He pulled up the system panel. It's time to add another set of solar power facilities on the roof of the apartment building next door. The previous unit had already proven that the generation efficiency was indeed pretty good. But to supply electricity for nearly 800 people, it was still far from enough. To save funds while installing more facilities, he had to redesign the layout. Next, let's begin. Inside the subway station, Ha Dongjian and the others were sprinting like mad. Suddenly, their entire squad made a sharp turn, shifting into a more open area. It turned out they were being chased by a swarm of flying bat monsters. The area just now was hard to maneuver in, and not suitable for ranged strikes. The next second, several people raised their crossbows at the same time. Even though there weren't many of them, the momentum somehow created the feeling of a volley of 10,000 arrows. Awakened ones were just that outrageous. In just a few breaths, the whole swarm of bat monsters was riddled full of holes, and dropped to the ground like dumplings. Gaeong looked around. Anyone hurt? Clearly not. But Hyerin couldn't help worrying. The giant python we have to deal with next is the real hard part. Ha Dongjian stayed calm. It should be fine. Don't forget, if things get urgent, Jaehyun will summon us directly. Oh, right. Gaeong smiled too. So everyone, don't be too anxious. Let's move out. Ha Dongjian still walked in front. Before long, they reached the area where the giant python was. The sight in front of them left everyone dumbstruck. Broken goblin corpses were scattered everywhere on the ground, along with rail cars twisted out of shape. Everyone forced down their discomfort and kept moving forward. All of a sudden, Ha Dongjian in the lead seemed to notice something, and immediately raised a hand to signal everyone to stop. The next second, a massive snake head slowly emerged from the darkness. A monster this big. Is this really something we can fight? Before they could think further, the giant python suddenly let out a piercing hiss, and the savage soundwave crashed into them like a tsunami. Ha Dongjian roared, "Everyone, get down!" The booming wave kicked up dust from the ground. Everyone instinctively flattened themselves, only to be surprised to find it. The giant snake didn't lunge into attack right away. What was that just now? An earthquake? Why isn't it moving? Ha Dongjian stared at the task panel that popped up in front of him, looking utterly baffled. For a snake this huge, and it still gives us a 10-minute time limit. Don't you think that's a bit absurd? Jaehyun, what are you thinking? But when he looked up again, he found it. The giant snake was lying there, completely motionless. This, no matter how you look at it, something's off. Even so, he honestly drew his weapon. He activated his throwing skill, and hurled it viciously at the giant python's head. Blood burst on the spot. The thick snake body convulsed violently, letting out a pained hiss. Why it had turned out like this, of course, was because Jaehyun had already made his move in advance. The giant python always used venom to paralyze its prey. Then it swallowed it whole. For large creatures, that was extremely lethal. But when it swallowed a tiny mouse along with it, it had no idea what level of disaster was waiting for it. Jaehyun activated his spatial storage skill. He decided to use the swallowed mouse to dismantle this fortress from the inside. First, in the giant python's body, he released a huge surge of gas. That was a perfectly reasonable first step. Then he summoned a wad of tissue that was already lit. Didn't see this coming, did you? What you swallowed wasn't just a mouse, but suicide demolition infantry. A violent explosion detonated from inside the giant python. At the same time, Seo Yejin suddenly clutched her head. Jaehyun thought the shock of the blast had been transmitted to her through the mouse. But after asking, he learned she was simply terrified by the visual of an explosion from inside the body. In any case, Jaehyun's wave of remote support from the inside out seemed to be working pretty well. Of course, relying on that single blast still wasn't enough to directly kill the giant snake. The follow-up finishing work still had to be left to those vassals with knight titles. Jaehyun also had a little calculation in mind. Letting them land the final kill was not only safe, it would also let him get 6 times the experience. On the other side, just as Ha Dongjian's spear thrust out, Oyeonju also finished transforming. Her whole body turned into a berserk bear silhouette as she charged with a roar. This was the first time Jaehyun had seen up close the outrageous yet hype scene of a bear paw slapping a snake head. Oyeonju slapped her palm onto the giant python's head, and the enormous snake body was blasted straight away. It smashed heavily into the wall. She gave the giant python no time to react. Once she entered combat mode, she never made anyone worry. A clean, decisive little combo sent the giant python reeling, leaving it no chance to struggle. Only after confirming it was no longer moving did Oyeonju confidently cancel her transformation. The giant python was officially declared dead. The spoils from this battle were quite substantial. An absurdly high drop rate, with loot all over the ground. Meanwhile, on Jaehyun's side, the system began settling rewards. The experience bar skyrocketed upward, and level-up effects cascaded layer after layer. As his level increased, the territory range expanded wildly once again. Every level up felt like having a layer of bone torn off. Painful, yet addictively satisfying. After the leveling ended, new areas were incorporated into the territory. Jaehyun discovered even more survivors, and immediately registered them as citizens. System prompts popped one after another. Citizen count has exceeded 1,000. A new bonus has been unlocked, and it was absurdly overpowered. Now, even if Jaehyun set the experience distribution rate to 0, the awakened in the team would still receive all the experience. At this time, a light knock came from outside the door. Seo Yejin walked into Jaehyun's room. "Big brother, sorry to bother you. Right now, do you have time to bring my family over?" Jaehyun thought for a moment. Of course. This was what we agreed on, and the conditions are mature now. That's great. Thanks, bro. Jaehyun asked again. But Jaehyun wants to ask you something while we're at it. On your side, do you still have any mice you can control? Jaehyun has already had Dongjian and the others follow your mice. They need you to guide them. The view cut back to the subway battlefield. A gray little mouse wriggled out from under a pile of corpses. Everyone was reorganizing their formation. That last fight had been a bit chaotic. The mouse's stubby little legs ran fast, and in a flash, it dashed to the very front of the squad. Ha Dongjian regrouped his teammates. As soon as he looked up, he saw Oyeonju back in human form, and he froze for 2 seconds. Oyeonju spoke calmly. "I only killed the giant python. Those goblins were dealt with a long time ago. This should have been goblin territory, right? That python was really brutal. As far as everyone's eyes could see, the walls, floor, and train cars were covered in smashed and torn traces of bloody flesh. Even seasoned awakened felt a chill in their hearts. No need to mourn goblins. They don't deserve it. Everyone keep moving forward. Even though the boss is dead, don't let your guard down." At that moment, the mouse, which originally couldn't speak human language, suddenly stood up on its hind legs, and frantically gestured at them. Someone laughed. "This mouse is way too clever. Must be Jaehyun's ability." After confirming there was no danger, everyone simply continued forward under the mouse's guidance. Jaehyun used ultimate eyes to confirm it. They had temporarily left the high-risk zone. He drew his gaze back to the system panel. The skill points he'd just gotten from leveling up hadn't been used yet. What to spend them on? He already had the answer. Upgrade Ultimate Eyes first. Once this skill was strengthened, paired with the mice that were everywhere, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. The instant the skill upgraded, that brain-rending discomfort struck again. But fortunately, it came fast and went fast too. When the discomfort faded, Jaehyun switched the viewpoint back to the squad. They were clearing out the miscellaneous goblin fodder along the way. The difference this time was clear. Ultimate Eyes had evolved. Every monster's level, traits, and weaknesses were all obvious at a glance. Perfect. Upgrading this skill was so worth it. From now on we can pick targets precisely. No need to have them charge in blindly anymore. Next, Jaehyun chose to upgrade Dignity Maintenance. As the number of citizens kept increasing, the basic infrastructure this skill provided had become the foundation of the territory's operation. Water, electricity, gas, and so on. He was pondering how to plan resources when suddenly a jarring sound drilled into his ears. That sound, it almost sounds like gunfire? Jaehyun frowned. This is really not right. Goblins actually use guns? And not just one? Where did you guys even get firearms? At the same time, Ha Dongjian's squad also got a clear look at what was ahead. Several goblins holding muskets were raising their barrels at them. Run, move, now. No one hesitated. They immediately vaulted into a train car nearby, using cover to evade the bullets. The rounds cut through the air and grazed past the car's shell. Metallic impacts kept ringing out. This firepower is insane. Where the hell did they get guns? In the rear of the car, everyone briefly suppressed their panic. Charging straight in isn't realistic. But we're not panicking either. Because they had Byunggo. He could blink. In an instant, Mun Byunggo flashed out from behind cover. His figure vanished from where he stood, and in the next second appeared at a blind spot the goblins would never expect. A blade flashed. A musket goblin was stabbed through the chest and died on the spot. Every time he appeared, he took at least one musket goblin with him. He was completely absorbed in the killing. But with so many eyes, there were always stragglers among the monsters. Farther off, another goblin quietly raised its musket and fired at him. At the moment the bullet was about to leave the barrel, an arrow flew in from the side. Impossibly precise, it struck the goblin's gun hand in the wrist. The musket dropped to the ground. Gaeong pressed down her anger. We're all ranged players too. And you motherfuckers still dare to sneak attack? Others in the party also made their moves. Skills, arrows, throwing knives, and magic shots all slammed into the enemy group in one chaotic barrage. We've held it in for so long. Hidden for so long. How could we just watch you bully Byunggo? Steel Knight Kong Deoksu and Oyeonju, those two crashed head-on into the monster pile like tanks. Under the somewhat stunned gazes of the others, with the team's ranged support, they forcibly beat whole swaths of monsters into disarray, routed and scattered. After the battle ended, Jaehyun slowly withdrew his gaze from Ultimate Eyes. On the ground were several revolvers that had been knocked down. He reached out and tapped, registering one of them into the system. A gun. Good stuff. But this thing absolutely can't be put directly on the shop for everyone to buy whenever they want. Having guns in hand could indeed spur some people to hunt monsters more actively, making the citizens' overall strength grow faster. From a profit perspective, the temptation really was huge. But trust every single person? Jaehyun wasn't naive enough for that. Up to now, he had been accepting citizens in select all plus random mode. No threshold, no screening, just scooping them all in at once. Because he knew it. As long as resources and welfare rose with the population, the situation was still under his control. But if every citizen could freely obtain guns and ammunition, everything could very well spiral completely out of control. Jealousy, resentment, greed, cliques, infighting, murder. Jaehyun couldn't guarantee that among these 1,000 people, there weren't genuine villains. So there was absolutely no way he would let everyone have the right to purchase weapons. Anyone who can get a gun must have trust and loyalty that both clear the line. And Jaehyun has already decided who the first person to touch a gun will be. The next second, a streak of blue light flashed. A full set of firearms and ammunition appeared out of thin air, hanging in the air before Mun Byunggo. He froze for a moment, then immediately picked up the gun. He held it like a treasure he couldn't put down. He checked it over, while repeatedly whispering thanks. Thank you, Brother Jaehyun. On the battlefield, all the monsters had been cleared out. Everyone continued pushing forward, following the mice. Before long, the mouse stopped in front of an iron door. Ha Dongjian stepped forward and yanked hard. Behind the door was a group of survivors huddled together, trembling. Someone immediately couldn't hold back, and started crying. The scene shifted. Nice weather. Jaehyun rarely left the rooftop. Now he was out on the street, breathing in long mist fresh air. After leveling up, the expanded territory had already encompassed the entire block. He and Seo Yejin walked side by side. Just then, a system notification suddenly popped up. Jaehyun glanced at it and said to her, "Looks like your family has arrived." He flicked a finger backward, accepting that newly triggered group of people all as citizens. The next second, two utterly familiar calls rang out from the crowd. Yejin, sis. Those were her mom's and younger sister's voices. She almost instantly turned around and threw herself into their arms. The three of them hugged tightly, none of them willing to let go first. Crying, laughter, and garbled words all crashed together at once. Suddenly, her younger sister sniffled. Wow, sis, you smell so nice today. Did you take a shower? Jaehyun stood to the side, quietly watching the scene. He let her introduce to her family the life here, the housing, the rules, and the future. But he felt it was still necessary to add a line. Even though I did assign you a room. But with this many people, it probably won't be enough space. Only then did she belatedly turn her head back and count carefully. Besides her mom and sister, there was still a large crowd standing behind her. For a moment she didn't know what to do. Worried about causing trouble for Jaehyun, and too embarrassed to ask for more outright. Jaehyun saw her hesitation and smiled, waving his hand. I'm messing with you. I'll give you 3 more empty rooms. Should be enough. She let out a long breath and nodded hard right away. Thank you, brother Jaehyun. You'll see. An even harder working Mousy. As this group of people were all settled in, system messages about trust increased started flooding the screen. One after another. Jaehyun skimmed through their basic info, and after confirming the general situation, his gaze suddenly stopped. It stopped on a function he'd previously overlooked. Beast management. What's this now? He clicked in to look. Funds required for this summoning. 10 billion. Summon? Summon what? Summon. What kind of beast is worth 10 billion? Cold sweat slid down his back. He stared at the word summon, for a moment, hesitating. Right then, a slightly timid voice came from outside the door. Brother Jaehyun? It was hiring. Jaehyun brought her into his room. Seeing how jittery she looked, he asked. What do you need me for? She opened her mouth, but it seemed hard to say. She stammered and couldn't get the words out. Jaehyun simply broke the tension for her first. Relax. No need to be so stiff. She jolted in fright, her face instantly turning bright red, and she quickly lowered her head. After a moment of silence, she finally said softly, I want to leave the team. The air went instantly quiet. What did you say? Say that again. This time, she gathered a bit of courage. She lifted her gaze. Her voice still trembled, but she repeated it anyway. I want to leave the team. Jaehyun looked at her in silence, his expression complicated. She bit her lip and started explaining. My ability isn't useful. Everyone's fighting, pushing forward, risking their lives. With me there, it doesn't seem any better. Maybe without me, the team would actually be better. Jaehyun let out a soft sigh. Hey, tell me the truth. I don't think that's the real reason you want to quit. After a brief silence, she suddenly couldn't hold her emotions down. Her voice rose. I'm scared. I'm really terrified. Those ugly goblins, that giant snake, and the red tiger. As she said this, her tears started falling uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I've been dragging everyone down. It's always been you saving me, big brother. It hurts so much. I feel useless, and like I can't meet your expectations. Jaehyun didn't interrupt her. He just listened quietly. Scenes from recent experiences flickered through his mind. Saving Byunggo's grandma, wiping out the goblin stronghold, a fight to the death with the red tiger, and then the giant python they'd just killed. Every time, they'd brushed past death. To be honest, up to now, Hiren's combat contribution really had been close to zero. But Jaehyun didn't feel there was anything about that worth blaming her for. Her poison fog ability wasn't the kind of skill you could just cast whenever you felt like it, and score easy merit by tossing it out. And every time she went out with the team, she was in fact gambling her life on the future. There was no reason to discard her just because her contribution wasn't enough. Seeing that she was still sniffling, Jaehyun changed angles and spoke. You know Kim Dabin, right? She's handling all the day-to-day chores for the survivors by herself right now, and she's already exhausted. And in the future, the population will only keep increasing. My territory will only keep getting bigger. With just her alone, she definitely won't be able to hold it up. I also lack truly trustworthy manpower. If I just find some random person, I won't feel at ease. But I trust you. Would you be willing to help with this? After he said that, he didn't press her. He simply looked at her quietly, and waited for her to decide for herself. After all, Jaehyun himself didn't want to give up and awaken so easily, either. He added, your ability is strong. I believe that one day, it'll come in handy. If you're afraid of combat right now, that's fine. You can handle internal work first. And when the day comes that we truly need you to go all out, I hope you'll step up and help everyone. After saying that, Jaehyun bowed to her solemnly. If you choose to stay, this is a bow of thanks. If you insist on leaving, this is a bow of farewell. In the next second, the corners of her mouth finally curved upward. Looks like she'd already made her choice. A system prompt followed right after. You hire in loyalty, Max. I'm sorry, brother Jaehyun, for letting you see such a weak side of me. I thought you were going to abandon me. From here on out, I'll give it my all and do everything I can as well as possible. Good choice. Keep it up. Jaehyun stood up and walked her out of the room. After the door closed, he turned his attention back to that beast management screen. It said, requires 1 billion to summon. Jaehyun felt like, no matter what, he should try it anyway. He decisively pressed confirm summon. The next second, golden light flared violently in front of him. A ring of dazzling light patterns surfaced on the floor beneath his feet, and a golden magic circle slowly took shape, its brightness cranked to the max. The light was so blinding he couldn't open his eyes. Jaehyun instinctively raised a hand to block it. When the glow finally dimmed a little, he squinted and peeked. At the center of the array, there was now a massive egg, completely golden from top to bottom. Immediately after, glowing cracks appeared across the shell, like something was in a hurry to break out. The cracks grew denser and denser. Golden light constantly spilled from the seams. Finally, the shell exploded. Jaehyun went silent for a second. Huh? What is this? Why did a blackbird pop out of this shiny golden egg? This thing is worth 1 billion? He immediately used ultimate eyes on the blackbird. Line after line of detailed information scrolled across his vision. Ahem. Sorry, Jaehyun was too loud just now. You think are actually a divine bird? As soon as he said that, the little blackbird instantly perked up, happily chirping Jojo at him. Watching it wobble around, Jaehyun thought maybe he should give it a name. But naming is such a hassle. I'll just call you Blackie. Blackie flapped its wings and hopped around the room. It looked like it was genuinely thrilled. Its mental state was ridiculously good. Only then did Jaehyun feel completely reassured. Seeing you bouncing nonstop, you're probably hungry. No idea what you usually eat, but you're a divine beast. Snacking a bit should be fine. Sure enough, almost no creature could refuse snacks. Blackie pecked away incredibly fast, wearing an expression that said, "This is the best thing on earth." As it ate, its eyelids started drooping. You could see the sleepiness on its face. The next second, it flopped over and fell asleep. What a carefree Blackie. Jaehyun was feeling envious of this free and easy Blackie when a system prompt suddenly popped up. 3-legged crow level increased. Solar power generation efficiency and revenue, ×2. That meant now, the daily power generation revenue alone was steadily in the 6 figures. Don't celebrate yet. After the territory expanded, there are still 10 buildings without solar panels installed. Before, it was because installation was too expensive and the payback was too slow. But now it's different. He was thinking over the investment, when another system prompt flashed. 3-legged crow level increased. Generation efficiency ×2, again. Fine. Now there's no reason to hesitate. All in. 10 buildings. Install them all. After arranging construction of the solar power facilities, Jaehyun went to Choi Hyung-jun's door and rang the bell. After a brief identity check, Choi Hyung-jun opened the door, with a baffled look on his face. With Jaehyun suddenly showing up, he couldn't make heads or tails of it. When he heard Jaehyun say, "I have something to assign you," he was even more confused. This time Jaehyun's tone was especially serious. "I want you to help me manage the money." As soon as the words fell, Choi Hyung-jun practically sprang up. What? Jaehyun made this arrangement because his tax-related skill told him. Letting a citizen hold funds could continuously generate profit. Even though the first authorization came with a fee, in the long run it was absolutely a gain. And so far, the only person whose numbers were high, balanced, and stable, on both trust and loyalty, was Choi Hyung-jun. Jaehyun transferred 100 million in funds directly under Choi Hyung-jun's name. The next second, 2 related values on the system interface maxed out simultaneously. Loyalty, max, trust, max. This had been Jaehyun's plan. He just hadn't expected the effect to be even better than anticipated. After explaining the money's use, permission limits, profit distribution, and other details, Jaehyun added one more thing. If you need to, you can draw on this money appropriately. Use it reasonably. That's fine. Choi Hyung-jun was so happy he was practically flying, almost about to bow like crazy on the spot. Jaehyun waved his hand and said a simple goodbye. There were other things to arrange. Next, he found Kim Dabin. He introduced Hiren to her, and formally arranged for the two of them to handle survivor management and logistics together. Considering that the number of people she had to take care of was increasing day by day, and the pressure was getting heavier, Jaehyun decided on the spot to give her a raise. A system prompt immediately popped up. Kim Dabin loyalty increased. Her motivation instantly maxed out. Before Jaehyun could finish explaining the next plan, she grabbed Hiren and turned around. Go, go, go. We still have a ton of stuff to deal with. As if she were about to dash out and start working the next second. Jaehyun looked at her back and sighed softly. See that? This is a top-tier corporate wage slave. With manpower, money, power generation, and logistics all arranged in a full loop, next came the more troublesome matters. In the room, Jaehyun gathered all the squad members. Everyone worked hard today. Is everyone physically okay? Ha Dongjian spoke on behalf of the group. We're fine. How come you have time to come see us? Jaehyun looked around and said solemnly. Thanks to everyone, that giant python and all the surrounding monsters have been cleared out. Now we have a rare window of time. Before new monsters surge in, we have to strike first. He thought of the scene not long ago, of Yuhiren breaking down and sobbing in front of him, and realized even more clearly one thing. Every mission, they were completing Jaehyun's requests with their lives on the line. And also thanks to the precise intel Seo Yejin provided in advance. Otherwise, the danger level of this operation would have been so high it would have spiraled completely out of control. Facing the apocalypse, everyone is under enormous pressure. I know that wanting to save my own family may make you feel I'm being selfish, but I have to do it, because family is the reason I've held on until now. After saying what he'd been holding in his heart, he briefly laid out the action plan for the next few days. Only then did he return to his room. On the desk, Blackie was already awake. Its body was lighting up again with level-up effects. Looking at the system panel, Jaehyun couldn't help sincerely sighing. The little guy grows so fast. Without realizing it, it's already level 5. At the same time, a new prompt popped up. You can partially inherit the summon beast's power. Elemental magic, unlocked. This is what I've been imagining all along. Magic? He took a deep breath, raised a finger, and seriously mobilized the latent energy inside his body. His mind focused. Ignite. Above his fingertip, a spark leapt into existence out of thin air. Then it became a small flame. That familiar sense of control felt as natural as when he activated dignity maintenance. Then next, I should find a place to test the skill's power. He went downstairs and chose an area that was relatively secluded and open. Let me imagine how to release the kind of flames in those huge, cinematic scenes where you raise fire to burn the heavens. Moving with his intent, he concentrated and constructed a huge fireball in his mind, and tried to translate that image into a real attack. When he opened his eyes, the fireball in front of him did indeed exist. But it wasn't even as big as his face, and this was already the limit he could maintain right now. Honestly, a skill at just this level is fucking useless. The very next second after he complained, that palm-sized fireball suddenly exploded. Combined with the gas Jaehyun's dignity maintenance instantly summoned and spread, the blasting flame swept across the open ground, and the power doubled in an instant. Fine. Even if it's only a low-tier skill for now, at least it can grow. He patted the dust off his clothes and turned to leave. Alright, experiment over. Time to go back. In just this short while, Blackie jumped several more levels, surging to level 8. Correspondingly, the power generation efficiency rose again, and electricity output was now clearly overflowing. The extra energy could be directly exchanged for cash income. Jaehyun was happily calculating this wave of passive income when a familiar voice sounded outside the door. It was Seo Yejin. She came specifically to thank Jaehyun for arranging new rooms for her family. No need to be polite. Because you're useful, it's only natural that I reward you. He said it very directly. And for some reason, when facing her, Jaehyun always couldn't help wanting to take a bit more care of her. Ha Dongjian and the others have already started moving. Trouble your mice to keep escorting them. She nodded. I already set things up in advance. Up until the next subway station, there won't be any issues. Hearing you say that means after one more station, there will be issues? Yes. I'll activate my skill now. Big brother, you should activate your skill too, and take a look yourself. Jaehyun adjusted his view. His ability unfolded, and the subway tunnel scene appeared before his eyes. Collapsed concrete, twisted rails, and large stretches of standing water and sludge. The entire tunnel looked like it had been forcibly dug clean through by something. If it's like this, then it's impossible to go that way through the subway today. Yejin's voice sounded by his ear. Big brother has already seen what the subway looks like. Then let's take a look at what's above together. The viewpoint shifted, piercing through the ground to the city's surface. Fuck, it's all ruins. The city in front of them no longer had any trace of its original outline. Buildings had collapsed, roads were severed, rebar was exposed, and there was almost not a single intact structure. It was as if something had brutally crushed through it from top to bottom. It was hard to imagine this had once been a bustling block full of people. All of a sudden, Jaehyun's gaze stopped somewhere. There was a huge shallow crater, extremely regular in shape. It looked like the footprint of some colossal creature. His heart sank. Damn it, that basically solves the case. Why isn't there a single intact building? Why are the roads almost completely destroyed? The answer was plainly written on the ground. Everything here was telling them. Some monster they had never seen before had once stepped over this city. The building suddenly began to shake violently. An earthquake? At this level of shaking, if it lasted too long, this building would be getting buried in place today. Fortunately, the violent shaking lasted only a few seconds. Yejin, are you okay? I'm fine. But what was that earthquake just now? Probably just a normal quake. Before he could finish speaking, there was suddenly a furious pounding at the door outside, and someone urgently shouted his name. Jaehyun, come out and look at this. Jaehyun said to Yejin. Get up, let's go out and see what's going on. The moment the door opened, they saw Choi Hyung-jun looking panicked. He grabbed Jaehyun's arm and dragged him out. Come to my balcony. You have to see it yourself. Seeing him practically half-running as he pulled him forward, a bad feeling rose in Jae-yin's chest. Thinking of that huge bang and violent tremor just now, plus the city view on the other side, Jae-yin could only hope it wasn't what he thought it was. When they stepped onto the balcony, the scene that met his eyes made him speak helplessly. If nothing else happens, something's about to happen. His ominous premonition, as always, was dead accurate. In the center of the block ahead, a massive one-eyed giant was crazily ripping and crushing the city. With its huge bod-in claws, concrete sprayed, steel twisted, and buildings were wiped flat like sand sculptures with a casual swipe. Jae-hyun felt cold sweat all over his back and forced out a sentence with difficulty. Summon the vassals. The next second, all core combat power was forcibly pulled back, appearing one by one in the room. Why are we here? Weren't we on the front line just now? Did we get pulled back because of the earthquake? Jae-hyun only tilted his head to gesture. Look for yourselves. Everyone followed his gaze out toward the balcony. That enormous one-eyed monster was wreaking havoc in the block not far away, and it was no longer that far from the apartment complex they were in. A moment later, the giant seemed to notice this side too. That whole cluster of new buildings it hadn't played with yet successfully caught its interest. Everyone shouted in unison. Don't come any closer. Jae-hyun took a deep breath. Don't panic. Though it's also okay to panic a little. But no matter what, we have to stop it. He stared at the monster, his mind racing. The problem is, what am I supposed to use to block this thing? With my current abilities and system, can I hold? Jae-hyun had zero confidence. Could it be that today is the day the whole show ends? A powerful voice suddenly came from behind him. Jae-hyun, please let me do it. Jae-hyun blankly turned his head to look. He could clearly feel it. Her battle intent had already locked onto the one-eyed giant, morale fully maxed. He fell silent for a moment, then said darkly, Ma'am, do you think that's possible? Oh Yeonju's eyes were resolute. Trust me, I won't lose. I'll turn the impossible into possible. So confident. Jae-hyun narrowed his eyes and opened the system. Then I'll assign you a task first. If you kill it, your son comes back to life for one day. Her expression jolted, and she clenched her teeth even harder. Jae-hyun turned around. Next, I'll lay out the battle plan. Everyone listened carefully. The tactical briefing ended at high speed, and grouping began. Group 1, Oh Yeonju, the baseball pitcher, the reckless knight, plus a dedicated healer. Group 2, Archer Gaeong, Kim Jian, plus Blinkboy Byunggo. Group 3, Jaehyun and Seo Yejin's younger sister, handling command, support, and rear line control. I'll personally handle things on the home front. Everyone else, take your positions quickly according to the plan. I'm counting on you for this hard fight. As he spoke, Hiren ran over, panting, and reported the situation to Jaehyun. The combat personnel have reached the front gate as planned. Everyone else has all gone down to the underground shelter. Good work. But you should be going down to shelter too. I'm just really scared. But I also want to help. Even if I can only help a little, it's still something. Her clenched hands were white, trembling slightly. Jaehyun looked at her and asked seriously, Are you sure you can? Really no problem? This time, she didn't lower her head to dodge. I really am scared. But this time, I want to be brave. Alright, Jaehyun nodded. Then come with me. We'll go to the front gate together. Soon, they arrived at the community's main gate. All personnel who could fight had been organized. Jaehyun swept his gaze around. Out of 1,200 citizens, only 101 were truly willing to step forward and fight. That number was absurdly low. So what's the arrangement next? Someone couldn't help asking. Jaehyun was about to explain, but noticed several people from the scheduled list still hadn't arrived. He looked at the companions beside him, only to find everyone had their heads down. None of them willing to speak. Damn it, Jaehyun thought coldly. At a time like this, there are still deserters. There would always be people who pretended none of this concerned them, hiding in the underground shelter and leaving the fighting to others. And those standing here now weren't idiots forced to go up. They were the people who understood one thing. In this apocalypse, giving up and rotting would definitely get you killed. No one truly wanted to fight, but they all had a reason they had to. Protecting family was also protecting yourself. Some things were precious enough to be worth risking your life for. Just like Hiren. Having courage didn't mean she wasn't afraid. It meant that in the face of fear, she still didn't back down. Looking at these people who had the guts and acted on it, Jaehyun felt genuinely grateful. I won't let you come here for nothing, he said to the system. I want to buy 101 handguns, and the corresponding ammunition. A blinding light flashed, and a large batch of weapons rained down from the sky, landing neatly in front of everyone. At the same time, Jaehyun adjusted everyone's loot sharing here from 0% to 100%. Please pick up the guns and ammo in front of you. This is to raise our odds, and it's also my reward for your courage. In the distance, a heavy roar rumbled. Ultimate Eyes activated. The battle officially began. The monster roared not far away, slowly pressing toward them. Ha Dongjian had already infiltrated the front line in advance, hiding his presence. He seized the moment and violently hurled his spear. The spear pierced into the one-eyed giant's calf, splashing a large spray of blood. To the monster, this damage wasn't much, but the humiliation was extreme. The next second, that giant single eye locked onto him, and he was instantly in its view. Even Donghua hadn't expected it. A monster of this size would have such fast reactions. The giant raised a claw like a crane, and flammed it down viciously toward the direction he was in. Right then, the irritable bear launched a flanking strike from ground level. It caught the opening, leapt up, and slapped a palm straight into the monster's lower body. The one-eyed freak was clearly fed up with this whole routine. It almost ignored the bleeding calf, and lifted its foot to stomp down hard on Oyanju. Oyanju hurriedly backflipped, cleverly avoiding the frontal stomp, but she still got grazed at the edge. Just that single graze sent her flying a long distance. She crashed heavily into the rubble, and for a while, she couldn't get up. The monster lowered its head to look at Oyanju lying motionless in the ruins, as if sneering. That's it? It stepped forward slowly, preparing to finish her off completely. Just as its fist rose, an enormous blast of noise suddenly sounded by its ear. You stupid ugly monster. It was Kong Deoksu, holding a loudspeaker and taunting like crazy, successfully pulling the monster's attention away. The monster cursed inwardly. This idiot's head has got to be screwed. It glanced again at the spear stuck in its leg, and suddenly equated the ambusher with the loudspeaker guy. The brute Kong Deoksu was still standing there, confused why the monster wasn't moving. Little did he know, in that giant's brain, he'd already been marked as target locked. The next second, the monster suddenly spun around, and sprinted straight toward the show-off's direction. Now the show-off couldn't keep pretending. His face turned sheet white, and he almost pissed himself on the spot. So a classic man runs, monster chases scene played out. At his speed, it really looked like there was no escape. Jae-in calmly watched the battlefield trend, his lips pressed into a thin line. The monster is finally coming to our doorstep. He turned back and ordered everyone. All personnel, prepare. The test has come. Kong Deoksu ran while crying, but at the critical moment, he still successfully rushed into the territory barrier. Inside the barrier, Kim Ji-yeon's contract crow made a flashy entrance. Diving down, it lunged straight for the one-eyed monster's eye. At the same time, Archer Gaeong seized the high ground. She drew her bow, knocked an arrow, and a blue streak of light shot out, tearing through the air. The monster instinctively raised a claw to cover its face, but the arrow carried a piercing skill, directly ignoring defense and drilling into its eye socket. The monster was blinded in pain. It threw back its head with a heart-rending howl. The instant its vision was lost, Byongo blinked, teleporting to right in front of it, taking advantage of it opening its mouth in pain as it roared. He threw in several mice he'd prepared in advance. He dumped them straight into the monster's mouth on the spot. After confirming mice into stomach was successful, Byongo immediately shouted a reminder. It's ready. Very good. Jae-in issued orders calmly. Nice coordination. Now, release gas through the mice. In the next moment, the monster's injured eye suddenly opened again. An astonished look appeared. Its belly began swelling crazily, as if an entire barrel of explosives had been forcibly stuffed inside it. This is the chance to finish it. When the chance comes, you take it. So now, please die. Jae-in raised a finger and released, basic minor spell, small fireball. A small fireball shot out. The moment it touched the monster's abdomen, it burst with a thunderous blast. Violent flames detonated the gas inside its body, like setting off a nuke in its guts. The entire monster was torn apart from the inside by the explosion, and the firelight dyed half the sky a blazing red. A moment later, the flames gradually died down. Billowing smoke rose into the air. The one-eyed giant staggered, seeming barely able to stay standing. Through the barrier, everyone tried their best to see the situation clearly. Soon, they realized something was off. The giant seemed to be slowly toppling toward our direction. Everyone don't panic. Hold the line. Up to now, everything was still within the plan. Now, everyone just needs to pick up your guns, aim at the monster's head, and concentrate your fire. As for the finishing blow, I originally wanted my vassals to do it, but they're still on the way. Should we let Yejin end it? While he was thinking about how to arrange it, Choi Hyung-jun suddenly shouted, "Behind you." Jae-hyun tilted his head slightly, forcing himself to stay calm. What are you panicking for? The next second, everyone saw it. That single eye, which should have been on the verge of dying, was still pried wide open. It carried astonishing hatred. It stared viciously at everyone inside the barrier. No way, you're this hard to kill? Are your guts made of iron? The giant said nothing, only raising its fist in fury, then smashing a punch into the barrier. The moment the giant's fist hit the barrier, a system notification immediately popped up. Looking at that string of prompts, Jae-hyun complained inwardly. This notification is kind of redundant. Fortunately, up to now, the barrier was still reliable. It successfully blocked the monster's frontal heavy blow. Everyone, aim at the monster's head, and open fire. Of course, what they actually had in their hands was only 101 handguns. But after that shout, everyone rode the momentum. They decisively raised their hands and pulled the triggers. Dense gunfire erupted. A rain of bullets poured onto the one-eyed giant's head. The damage wasn't fatal, but it was enough to make the monster instinctively cover its face, unable to calmly charge up power. Even if the barrier had blocked that punch just now, Jaehyun knew it wouldn't hold for long. Once it was breached even once, the consequences would be unthinkable. Jaehyun can't just stand by and wait for danger to smash him in the face. He immediately activated a skill. Invisible Hand, Gigantify. He had been saving these skill points specifically for sudden large-scale crises like this. The monster raged again, raising that fist as big as a sandbag. Under everyone's horrified gazes, it hammered punch after punch into the barrier. With every punch, system prompts kept popping nonstop. The good news was that no barrier collapse alert had appeared yet. Everyone kept firing, tense yet exhilarated. The monster, pushing through the bullet rain, still found time to swing its fist at the barrier. But Jaehyun could see it. Their attacks weren't completely useless. Bomb mice had blown it up from the inside, and the gunfire kept stacking damage. Its HP was being ground down bit by bit. Maybe we really can wear it down slowly and kill it, but I keep feeling we need a trigger. A truly lethal finishing strike, to completely break out of this. Right then, a blue streak of light cleanly pierced through the giant's waist. It was Ha Dongjian's thrown spear. Good, our elite squad finally made it. They charged into the battlefield, panting. But in a very short time, they adjusted their state, and they took over as the main DPS. The monster's aggro was completely pulled away by this wave of high damage. Damage is on you. Next, I'll support you and provide unlimited firepower. Jaehyun lifted his hand and swept it. A large number of spears appeared in midair, linking perfectly with Ha Dongjian's skill. He flung both hands, and countless phantom spear images blanketed the sky, shooting out toward the monster from multiple angles. The other side of the giant's body was also completely covered by a rain of blue light. Gaeong shouted as she kept firing. You're not fighting alone. We'll cover your flanks too. Skills, arrows, explosions, curses, like money was no object, kept pouring onto the one-eyed giant. And right then, a system prompt popped up in front of Jaehyun. Three-legged crow, Blackie leveled up. This level up not only further advanced Jaehyun's magic, Blackie also proactively submitted a request. It wanted to release its own power. Jaehyun looked at the little silhouette on the interface and muttered to himself, "A tiny thing like you, what power could you possibly have? And you still want to join the fight? Whatever. If you want to try, then try." He confirmed the authorization. The next second, the system settled. Funds consumed, 300 million. All generators within the territory lit up in unison, channeling a terrifying stream of energy toward a single direction. Jaehyun looked up. Beams of energy converged above the city, and finally all concentrated on his own home, where Blackie was. This scale, he murmured. It's kind of scary. A blinding golden light suddenly burst from the rooftop. A moment later, Blackie flew out from the pillar of light. Its body was a size larger than before, and when its wings spread, it actually looked kind of cool. It circled in midair, then opened its beak and inhaled. Terrifying energy began to condense in front of its beak. The next second, Blackie aimed at the giant. It spat out that maximally compressed energy in one shot. That golden beam looked simple enough, but it contained horrifying destructive power. The light struck squarely in the giant's chest and abdomen, instantly blasting it flat onto the ground. The giant that hadn't fallen after tanking so many attacks finally vomited blood this time. Under Ha Dongjian's shocked gaze, a brown figure swept past at high speed. Oh, Yanju was back. Using the collapsed high ground, she leapt up, closing in at high speed within the reflection of the one-eyed giant's pupil. You were the one who blasted me away just now, right? Now, you fucking die. Her heavy strike landed precisely, completely ending its life. After the battle ended, the system's settlement panel almost flooded the screen. The dropped loot was extremely plentiful. The familiar leveling sequence, accompanied by that pungent purple glow, spread across the sky above the territory once again. Now, the ownership of the entire residential complex was all under Jaehyun's name. At the same time, there was also a huge new sum of funds usable for construction. Jaehyun's knees went weak, and he knelt on the ground. Partly it was the intense discomfort from leveling up, and partly, he really was exhausted. After completing its attack, Blackie also returned to its original small form, landing in front of him a little smugly. Jaehyun looked at the little thing. You know, that shot just now. You spent 300 million for me without permission. Of course, that strike's payoff was truly ridiculous. Without it, they very likely would have been dragged down and collapsed in this fight. He reached out and patted Blackie's head. Well done, Blackie. Although Blackie could only move within Jaehyun's territory, the return from that one shot was jaw-dropping. That strike straight up earned Jaehyun 30 billion. Alright, Jaehyun has decided. He's going to pull all 10 summon beasts. As soon as he said that, he glanced at the summon interface, and fell silent for 2 seconds. The second summon beast actually costs 10 billion. Just as he was still hesitating, in the corner of his eye he noticed it. Yanju was standing quietly to one side. She stood with one foot on the one-eyed giant's corpse, as if waiting for the system to give the task completed prompt. As long as another 300 million or so was spent, her son could appear again for a full day. That was the reward she longed for most, and the rightful price she had earned. By fighting desperately, and staking her life, time rewound to another block before the one-eyed giant battle. A hand kept condensing clear water in midair, and purified water ran down the fingertips into empty bottles. The girl who received water smiled sweetly. Thanks. Next to her, a man with a scarred face and braided hair raised a hand to signal. Next. His name was Lee Jun-hyuk. At this moment, he was calculating in his mind. Water can still be made, but food is already at the bottom. The provisions we'd painstakingly collected from killing monsters before are gone now too. In the end, can we only hold on this far? Looks like, in the end we still have to leave here. Before the thought even finished, the ground began shaking violently. Just like what Jaehyun and the others experienced, everyone instinctively thought, earthquake, until someone upstairs screamed, Jun-hyuk, get up here, now. Something big happened. There's a huge monster. Hearing that, fear and confusion still surged up in Jun-hyuk's heart. He followed the person all the way up to the rooftop, staring blankly into the distance. Not far away, a massive one-eyed giant stood towering among the city blocks. This is just too awful. His teammates panicked and had no idea what to do. First, notify everyone. Hide well, and don't move around. Jun-hyuk scratched his head like crazy. He also knew they couldn't do much against something like that. He turned sideways and asked the person next to him. You called me up to look at this. What's the point? The only thing they can do now is pray that monster doesn't come this way. The moment he finished speaking, everyone froze. Light and flame suddenly blossomed across the sky ahead. In that instant, Jun-hyuk understood. That awakened is not even in the same league as someone like me. He didn't hesitate anymore. Hyeon-chan, call all our people. His teammate froze. Jun-hyuk, you're not thinking of taking all of us over there, are you? To survive in this godforsaken world, we have to go. Their group moved with uneasy hearts, discussing and worrying along the way, beginning to migrate toward the vicinity of that battlefield. After a grueling journey, they finally reached the area where we had fought the one-eyed giant not long ago. Hyeon-chan looked up at the tidy buildings ahead, full of confusion. At a time like this, how can there still be buildings this clean? The next second, they slammed into an invisible wall. The barrier bounced them back, and the system's icy prompt sounded at the same time. Your access is restricted. Immediately after, apply to become a citizen? Before they could fully react, the system had already auto-confirmed. In the next moment, they gained citizen status, and received a task. Report to Jaehyun's residence. In front of Jaehyun's home, the door slowly opened. Jaehyun extended his hand with a polite smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Lee Jun-hyuk. Hello to everyone as well. My name is Jaehyun. Jun-hyuk froze on the spot. It was this man. That absurdly strong, handsome guy who'd killed the one-eyed giant with one explosion, was standing right in front of him now. His instincts were blaring alarm bells. Grab him. No matter what, don't miss the chance to get on good terms with someone like this. Meanwhile, in another room in Jaehyun's home, Oyeonju sat cross-legged in front of a low table. The tabletop was filled with fresh food that was rarely seen. Sweetie, is it good? The little boy nodded with a beaming smile. Super delicious. But Mom, is it someone's birthday today? If not, then why are we drinking seaweed soup? Oyeonju answered softly. Because you like it. In this apocalypse, this brief moment of warmth was exceptionally precious. As the door was pushed open, Jaehyun walked into the room, and the little boy happily called out to him. Uncle Jaehyun. Jaehyun was just about to speak when Oyeonju asked first. Were the newcomers settled smoothly? Of course, no problem. Jaehyun paused. But Jaehyun came today to apologize to you. Oyeonju was a little confused. Jaehyun said slowly. Because the resurrection skill has too many restrictions, you can't leave my home. But she gently shook her head. I don't mind. I just feel that being with my child is already enough. Right now, being able to stay with him already makes me completely satisfied. At this time, a system prompt popped up. Citizen Oyeonju loyalty is full. To be honest, that prompt was a bit redundant. Just by her expression and her attitude, Jaehyun had already sensed it long ago. Looking at her playing with the child in the room, what he felt wasn't just liking. It was a genuine admiration. But right now, those feelings weren't important. What mattered was this. Jaehyun still didn't know how his family was doing. Whether they were hurt, whether they could even survive and hold on. He closed his eyes, forcing himself not to think about the worst possibilities. It was only this single short day. And for this day, he knew very well what Oyeonju had paid. At this very moment, Yejin was controlling the mice with her ability, sprinting toward Jaehyun's parents' home. As long as the mice could arrive smoothly, they could deliver the supplies they carried into Jaehyun's family's hands. Jaehyun silently recited to himself, So today, just rest properly for now. And while we're at it, Jaehyun also wants to witness with his own eyes this entire day where Yeonju's only dream comes true. Yeonju, you and Siyu, sleep in the master bedroom tonight. No, we can sleep in the living room. Listen to me. Get proper rest. This isn't politeness. It's my order. You're so considerate. She smiled. Siyu, let's thank Uncle together. Uncle, good night. The little boy waved with a grin and was gently carried into the room by his mom. Jaehyun smiled and gave the child a small nod. Soon, night fell. From the crack of the door, Yeonju singing as she lulled the child to sleep slowly drifted out. Jaehyun lay on the sofa, listening to the lullaby, and it actually felt a bit unfamiliar. He'd long since passed the age of falling asleep to lullabies, but for some reason, as he listened, his eyelids started growing heavier bit by bit. That night passed just like that, peaceful and uneventful. The next day, Jaehyun and Siyu ate the breakfast Yeonju had cooked with her own hands. After the meal, they stayed with the kid and read his favorite comic. Because Siyu liked Blackie so much, he chased it around the whole way, until he chased Blackie into getting angry. At noon, Jaehyun and the others took a nap together, and they even bought the kid some toys he liked from the shop. But time never stops for anyone. With Jaehyun's current ability, resurrection lasted only one short day. That day was everything he could give them. The child looked up at his mom and asked, "Are you unhappy? Why are you crying?" Yeonju held it back and shook her head. "Mom's not crying. You're lying. Mom, you're obviously crying. Mom. Don't cry anymore, okay? See you. Mom is terrified. Mom is afraid that there won't be you in this world anymore. But Mom, I'm right here," the child answered gently. Hearing that, Yeonju instead completely broke down. "Mom will always be with you. You know that too, right? See you, don't leave Mom. Mom still has so many things she wants to do with you. And I still want to cook more of your favorite foods for you. I love you, Mom." The little boy smiled happily. And then, his body outline began to slowly turn transparent. This was a farewell that was destined to be unavoidable. Yeonju smiled through tears and whispered her goodbye. "My dear baby, Mom loves you too. Goodbye, Mom." As the words fell, Cus figure completely dispersed. Yeonju kept kneeling on the floor, staying like that until even the lingering warmth the child left behind fully departed from her palm. To the side, Jaehyun thought silently. This is like a flower that only blooms in the depths of despair. People who can grasp hope are often forever surrounded by despair. Reality is just that cruel. He said softly to her, "Don't be too discouraged, Yeonju. This won't be the last time." With Yeonju not in a good state, Jaehyun could only inject her with a bit more hope for now. She asked tremblingly, "Are you telling the truth? As long as there's a chance, I'll definitely help you make it happen." That sentence was gentle, yet also like a devil's whisper in the ear. A system prompt suddenly popped up. Yeonju trust has broken the upper limit. Trust can actually level up. Right at this moment, Baek Sunjeob's wail came from outside. "My spear. All my stuff is gone. It's all been stolen." Those twin brothers also started confirming with each other. "Is your equipment still there? It's all gone. Looks like it's not just us. Lots of people are the same." The bunch who lost their stuff just happened to be the ones who didn't participate in the fight. One of them said in a low voice, "Back then, we should have gone to fight." Baek Sunjeob grabbed him by the collar. "So you're saying it's my fault? You agreed not to go too. You yourself even said the people who went to fight were idiots. Sorry, please let go of me." Baek Sunjeob irritably released him. "The problem now is, we might get kicked out. Something like this has happened before. People have made moves on minors, and then they'd end up inexplicably dead in the street. I don't want the next person to die in the street to be me." The more he spoke, the more annoyed he got. Damn it, that Baek Sungman who went to fight alone actually got himself a gun. How did things turn into this mess? Baek Sunjeob, you probably still haven't realized. The real show is only just beginning. Issue task, hunt 20 goblins. Task failure, you will suffer severe pain. You should understand the responsibility and consequences you must bear. Speaking of the system, the previously rewarded primordial vitality was Yeonju's skill. When Jaehyun saw that reward back then, he almost couldn't believe it. Trust maxed out, and it actually just gives me her skill directly? This skill was extremely strong regeneration and recovery. But with Jaehyun's current combat style, he basically wouldn't personally go to the front line and hard brawl. So in the short term he couldn't really use it. However, getting a skill once trust reaches 100, that setting was crucial. Before long, Byunggo's trust would max out too. If he could obtain Byunggo's ability, then within his field of vision, Jaehyun could instantly arrive at any time. If he also paired it with outpost-based deployment, then activated Ultimate Eyes, maybe he could pull off something big. As long as Jaehyun's mental strength was strong enough, he might even be able to teleport directly to the target location. So from now on, I'm going to raise my mental strength. At this time, Yeonju's voice came from outside. She said her emotions were stable now, telling Jaehyun not to worry, and that she wanted to go back and rest for the time being. And once she adjusted her state, She wanted to personally go rescue Jaehyun's family. She knew Jaehyun had sacrificed an entire day for her, and she was deeply grateful. So she decided to repay him with actions. Looking at this woman who laid her heart bare in front of him without holding anything back, Jaehyun faintly felt it. Did I come on a bit too urgently? I feel kind of sorry, but I'm also truly grateful. But Oyeonju said, it's fine. If it were my family, I'd be even more anxious than you. Everyone values family heavily. I know very well how precious this entire day you gave me and my son is. Please let me thank you again. And please let me serve you. In her eyes, there was no longer hatred for monsters, only trust in Jaehyun. Thank you for understanding. Go rest a bit. I'll start arranging the next step right away. Jaehyun didn't have them depart immediately. There was a reason. That damn one-eyed giant earlier had wrecked both the tracks and the road surface into a complete mess. They could only carve out a new route. Starting yesterday, Yejin had been controlling the mice, barely clearing out a barely passable path. Jaehyun activated his skill, linked to the mouse's perspective, and checked the current situation. Huh? Why did this mouse get so big? Looks like it evolved. Could it be the new ability Yejin gained when registering as a vassal triggered? But what's that thing chasing behind it? The camera angle shifted. Jaehyun froze. Holy shit. Zombies? How could there be freaky things like that? In the footage, countless zombies were sprinting through the tunnel, relentlessly chasing that mouse in front. The mouse fled for its life, running like the wind under its feet. But there were simply too many zombies. In the end, they still surrounded the mouse completely. Could it be everything's over? Jaehyun clenched his fist. Should I just blow up the mouse directly? As he hesitated, the mouse in the scene suddenly turned serious in its eyes. The next second, the mouse switched into full-time four-wheel drive mode. It threaded gaps, brake-drifted hard stops, and maxed out its footwork like a veteran racer. Under Jaehyun's gaze, it forcibly carved its way out of the encirclement. Not bad, little mouse. How about I give you a reward? Ahead was the light of the exit. Come on, follow the light. Don't look back. You're almost there. The mouse leapt. But it never noticed something. In the shadow at the exit, a colossal creature was lying in wait. By the time it realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Landshark LV.23. The mouse jumped straight into the shark's mouth. Because Jaehyun shared vision with the mouse, that instant made him feel extremely uncomfortable. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that he was very familiar with this location. This was only a few kilometers from Jaehyun's parents' home. With monsters like this nearby, the situation is pretty bad. We have to hurry. In the corridor, Kim Dabin was bent over organizing supplies. So tired that she was drenched in sweat, Jaehyun walked over to greet her. You're really working hard. You've been through a lot lately. She smiled and waved her hand. Not hard. I'm just doing the job I'm paid to do. But did you come to me for something? Seeing how busy she was, Jaehyun felt a little embarrassed to even ask. Seeing him hesitate, she thought he was about to make some weird request. Actually it's just, can I borrow Hiren for a bit? What, you want to borrow a person? She raised an eyebrow. Then for this period, I'll have to do the work all by myself. Huh? Yes, I'm very sorry. I need to borrow her for 2 days. I'm begging you, Team Lead Kim. Jaehyun. She put her hands on her hips. If I have to work alone these next few days, is there overtime pay? Yes, absolutely. I'll pay you double. She immediately showed a satisfied smile. She really was an adorable little money grubber. On the other side, in a room filled with poisonous fog, Hiren was desperately releasing her skill. The thick mist expanded ring after ring, yet her face grew paler and paler. As the poison fog continued to spread, she looked extremely exhausted. Jaehyun gathered everyone and explained the plan quickly in one pass. Everyone knows, because the giant caused severe destruction, the original route is temporarily impassable. But giving up the subway corridor entirely would be too much of a waste. Based on Yejin's scouting, we can detour from another station. So our top priority next is to ensure this detour stretch can be traversed safely. Everyone looked a bit confused. At that moment, Kong Deoksu raised his hand to interject, and complained to Yejin. Your map's pretty good. Next time don't draw it. Jaehyun ignored him on the spot. Let's continue. While detouring, pay special attention to an area nearby. There's a large supermarket there, with a huge number of orcs entrenched, estimated at least 500. Ha Dongjian asked seriously, are we going to hit them? Completely unnecessary, Jaehyun answered. Just slip around them quietly. Don't worry too much about the route. The mice have already finished scouting it. Before fighting the giant, I already leveled everyone up. Right now the average level is around 30. At this stage, ordinary fodder mobs don't pose that much of a threat to us. Once we reach the detour starting point smoothly, the road after that is basically unobstructed. What's truly tricky is the next station. At the first station after the detour, the subway interior is packed with zombies. Unless someone can instant kill whole clusters of enemies in tight spaces, we'll have to find yet another passable route after that. At this time, Hiren lifted her head. Brother Jaehyun, and Yejin. Look, can my ability be useful now? It can be, very much so. Jaehyun nodded. I've already stored 100 kilograms of poison fog through my storage space. You did great, Hyrin. You must be exhausted. Are you feeling a bit better now? At first it was really tiring, Hyrin said. Later, some mysterious power surged out, and it didn't feel that tiring anymore. In fact, Jaehyun had already seen she was about to hit her limit, so he quietly leveled her up. Anyway, there were several 100 million just lying in the system. Money, when it needs spending, you spend it. Hyrin wanted to go to the front line too, but Jaehyun told her to obediently make poison at home, and not go to the battlefield. Then preparations are basically complete. Everything that needed to be explained has been explained clearly. Let's move. In the dim tunnel, the mice set out again, sprinting toward the disturbed zombie horde. When the zombies saw a living thing, they became abnormally excited, like beasts with their appetite triggered. At this moment, Jaehyun activated his skill, and opened his storage space at the mouse's current location. In an instant, wherever the mouse passed, poison fog spread wildly. The mouse weaved nimbly, and ran extremely fast. Soon it carried the poison fog past the entire zombie mass. Hyrin's poison fog had a very powerful paralysis effect. Once ordinary living creatures inhaled it, they would slow first, then lose bodily control, and finally suffocate to death. But this time the target was zombies. They didn't need to breathe at all. However, that was already part of our plan. Now, it's time for Yejin's mouse army to take the stage. The rat tide surged out like a black ocean. Wherever it went, nothing survived. The zombies could only watch helplessly, as their bodies were gnawed bit by countless rats, blood spraying everywhere. System notifications flooded the screen, and loot kept flowing in nonstop. All of a sudden, Yejin shouted in a bit of panic. Jaehyun, come look. There's something off about these rats. Jaehyun looked at the footage. He saw that any rat that had gnawed on zombies began changing. They leveled up and mutated one after another. This is really something. Jaehyun frowned. Not just the ones that ate zombies. Even the rats that got splashed with zombie blood are starting to mutate. If that's the case, will the little bear wife turn into a zombie bear wife? He asked Yejin. Are the mutated rats still under your control? Yes, but they're more aggressive now. Then that's fine. As long as they can reach safely, Jaehyun will have a chance to reunite with his family. As he was thinking, the system popped up another new prompt. Near the territory, 157 people meet citizen requirements. Grant status? Why are there suddenly so many more people? But there's no harm in taking them in. Jaehyun chose confirm. With this wave of new citizens, the total officially broke through 3,000. At the same time, the system unlocked a new skill, Economic Activity Subsidy. This skill looks pretty good. It could be used to set citizen positions and salaries, and automatically distribute them. Looking at the detailed description, Jaehyun thought, I can assign appropriate roles to Kim Dabin and the Life Management Group. At this scale, it really is time to expand more management staff. More importantly, salaries distributed through this skill wouldn't cost Jaehyun's own money. Calculated this way, he could save a huge amount of daily expenditure, and part of the money they earn would flow back to Jaehyun when they spent it. This is a perfect closed loop. Then let's start expanding from the basic jobs. Security, cleaning, those are all urgent needs right now. First, set Kim Dabin as the general manager. Speaking of it, how many people has Kim Dabin taken in? Choi Hyung-jun, Hyrin, and who else? Right then, a system prompt flashed by. Kim Dabin loyalty has reached 100, registered as a vassal. So now, anyone whose loyalty is maxed will automatically become a vassal. That means she also has a new ability. Let me see what skill it is. Before he could even finish reading, a soft snoring sound suddenly reached his ears. It turned out Hyrin had already fallen asleep on the sofa. It was obvious she was truly exhausted. Yejin asked softly, should we wake her? Jaehyun shook his head. Let her rest well. Her task is already done. She always pretends she's fine. But during this period, she's been through quite a lot too. Let her sleep properly. With invisible hand, he gently lifted her up, carried her into the room, and tucked her in with a blanket. Yejin stood at the doorway and said softly, she really looks especially tired. Yeah, Jaehyun said. What about you? Are you okay? I'm fine, Yejin answered. Everyone in the mice have already entered the next station's tunnel. As soon as the words fell, Yejin's face changed. Jaehyun immediately asked, what is it? Jaehyun, the situation isn't great. I suddenly can't connect to my mice anymore. No way. Is there danger? Don't panic, I'll try again. She tried reconnecting, but it still failed. It feels like it's beyond a certain distance. How could that happen? Jaehyun asked. Weren't things fine before? Yejin explained. The control range's center point is near us. Now it looks like the mice ran too far. What a fucking pain. And at a time like this, of all times, it has to pull some bullshit. Jaehyun's original plan had been to use her mice to scout his parents' situation first. Now it was all thrown off. Yejin, please use the edge of my territory as the new center point, and reconnect from there. Okay. She didn't hesitate. She immediately started trying to reconnect. having the mice continue advancing farther out from the other end. In his heart, Jaehyun repeated again and again, Jaehyun, no matter what, you have to find a way to hold on until that moment arrives. Please, please let them be safe. On the other side, Ha Dongjian and the others arrived outside the subway station according to the plan. Everyone looked up, and the city that met their eyes was what it looked like after the apocalypse had grounded over again and again. A shattered sunset, collapsed buildings, and roads pocked full of craters from monster trampling. This is what the end of the world looks like. It's really brutal. Kim Jian summoned his contract crow and sent it up high to scout. Through the shared perspective of his skill, he confirmed a full sweep. There are no monsters nearby for now. Someone chimed in. It's still thanks to that giant. Wherever it's been, monsters don't dare stay long. With this whole expanse of ruins in front of us, neither normal people nor monsters would want to get close, right? Kim Dejong was a bit scared and said hesitantly, how about we wait until daylight to set off? Wouldn't that be safer? Gaeong comforted her softly. Don't worry too much. Goblins actually hide at night. Ha Dongjian thought for a while and made a decision. We leave now. If something really happens, Jaehyun will summon us immediately. At this moment, Yejin's little mouse also trotted up into the front of the team. Everyone followed behind the tiny mouse and continued pushing forward. They passed an area where the surface of the water rippled gently. It looked like a small lake. Someone guessed, could the giant have made it? Others felt, more like a pit from a building collapsing, that filled with water. While they were discussing it, something slowly rose from beneath the water. Kim Jian seemed to notice something and immediately stopped. Just now, I heard a strange sound. Look over there. It seems like there's someone. Everyone looked in the direction he pointed, and faintly made out a human figure that looked like a woman. Wait, don't move. Something's not right. Before he could finish, an ear-piercing screech exploded out. Shit, everyone cover your ears. The woman on the water revealed her true form. It was a monster, something like a hybrid of a mermaid and a siren. And the screech coming from its mouth kept stabbing into everyone's ears like blades. Deoksu and Oyeonju, who reacted a beat too late, had a strange purple gleam flash through their eyes. The next second, their bodies seemed to lose control, as they walked straight toward the water's edge. And amid everyone's cries, they both fell into the water. Water splashed, and the two figures were quickly swallowed by the dark lake. As their bodies kept sinking, Oyeonju recovered her senses first. She turned her head, and Deoksu was still unconscious, his body dropping straight down in the water. Her heart tightened. She didn't even care about herself as she swam desperately toward Deoksu. However, in the shadows on the lakebed, other monsters were also rapidly approaching. Suddenly, a huge force struck from her lower body. Yeonju's leg was seized tightly by a monster, and the next moment, she was yanked violently down into deeper water. On the shore, everyone was still covering their ears in agony, resisting that soul-rending screech. At the critical moment, Kim Dejong grit her teeth and powered through, forcing down the discomfort as she raised a hand and activated her skill. Layer after layer of magical armor instantly enveloped her teammates. Dejong, your skill is seriously awesome. We don't feel awful anymore. But Kim Dejong immediately collapsed to her knees, her voice trembling. Go save them. Deoksu and Yeonju have been in the water for a while now. At this time, a hideous fishman head popped up on the lake's surface. Someone couldn't help cursing. What the fuck is that thing? And there's more than one. As the water churned, an entire fishman army surged out of the lake, instantly locking onto the people on shore, and closing in fast, skimming across the water. Everyone immediately grabbed their weapons and took battle stances. Ha Dongjian shouted a warning. Careful, they're coming up. A fisherman leapt high out of the water, weapon in hand, and chopped down at his head. He gritted his teeth, raised his weapon, and barely blocked the blow. Right then, an arrow nailed into the fisherman's neck, diffusing that immediate crisis. However, the monsters surging up were far more than just that one. Everyone was forced back to the shoreline, grimly holding the line. Very soon, they were completely surrounded by armed fishmen. Ha Dongjian cursed inwardly. This is miserable. We don't have time to get bogged down here. We need a way to save them. Just then, the water column behind the monster group suddenly exploded upward. Immediately after, a little bear-shaped figure dropped from above, clutching someone as it burst out of the water. That was the dizzy, half-conscious Deoksu. It had to be said, Oyeonju's abilities were, as always, comprehensive. The moment Deoksu hit land, he started choking and coughing water like crazy. I thought I was dead just now. Seeing the two successfully rescued, everyone finally let out a breath. Thanks, Yeonju. You let me live one more day again. They didn't even have time to say much more before the fishmen got angry. Are you acting like I don't exist? They launched another attack. Everyone was fed up. These monsters never end. Deoksu, newly reborn, instantly charged into the fishmen, grappling with one of them in a melee. Yeonju raised her bare paw and slapped a fishman hard. That fishman was sent flying by the slap, smashing violently into a huge pillar behind it. The next second, the pillar let out a cracking sound under the strain. It began to fracture and topple. "Everyone be careful," Ha Dongjian shouted urgently. "Get away." In the blink of an eye, the pillar slammed into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Dongjian, are you okay? That thing, what even is it?" Kong Deoksu walked over to take a closer look, and found something was actually tied to the fallen pillar. He focused his eyes. It was a goblin. At that moment, Kim Jian jerked his head up and cried out, "Everyone, look up there!" Everyone followed his line of sight. They saw that on every cross-like pillar, some kind of creature was bound. The shapes varied. Some were monsters, and some even looked like humans. It resembled some bizarre, cruel ritual site. Only now did everyone realize. They'd been so focused on fighting, that they hadn't looked up at all. Someone gritted their teeth. Those bastards. They don't care whether it's monsters or humans. They're just slaughtering life indiscriminately. Gaeong's bow slipped weakly from her hand. It was as if something had nailed her in place. Facing forward, she trembled and screamed soundlessly, her face full of terror. Her gaze locked tightly onto one of the crosses. She covered her mouth in disbelief, but couldn't make any sound at all. Even when a monster lunged at her, she didn't notice in the slightest. Ha Dongjian's expression changed drastically when he saw this. Shouting, "Gaeon, watch out!" A gunshot rang out. The bullet cut in from the side, and hit the fishman that had pounced on her with perfect accuracy. The fishman dropped on the spot. Byongo, holding a gun, was furious. "Don't lose focus." Ha Dongjian couldn't help shouting, "Byongo, nice shot." But he still felt uneasy. What's wrong with Gaeong? Just now she suddenly wasn't right at all. At this time, Kim Jian walked over to them. He pushed up his glasses. "I think I found a way to break this. I've been keeping the crow up there observing. That mermaid siren-looking thing. The screech it's making, it looks like it's commanding these fishmen. I can't understand what it's yelling. But every time it opens its mouth, those fishmen move and think. So if we can take it out, these fishmen might lose command, and directly rout and retreat." Ha Dongjian nodded. "Your analysis makes a lot of sense. I also think it's worth trying. But as things stand, the thing doesn't look like it'll give us an easy opening." At this time, the brute Kong Deoksu spoke up. "So the conclusion is we kill the siren, right?" Ha Dongjian fell silent. He no longer knew whether to call this guy brave or just reckless. Deoksu spread his hands. "If you're not talking, I'll take it as you agreeing." "Perfect. I've got a plan too." Right then, the siren's ugly mouth opened again. A new screech echoed through the air, and the fishman's formation shifted rapidly. Clearly, the siren had already noticed we were staring at it. "Deoksu," Ha Dongjiang asked, "that plan you just mentioned, tell me, should I trust you right now?" "Trust me, you won't regret it. And if we can successfully piss it off, it might even help the next part of the plan. But brothers, do me a favor. Clear me a path first." Kim Dejung stepped up voluntarily. "I'll take care of Gaeong. Everyone doesn't need to worry about her for now. From now on, full assault." Ha Dongjian charged first, and the others coordinated with each other. Every strike sent the blue blood spraying off the fishmen. "Kong Deoksu, now's your chance. Move." Deoksu took a deep breath, swung his halberd, and it howled past his teammate's side. The light bursting off the weapon illuminated the siren's face in the distance. At the very instant it was about to hit, the siren tilted its head slightly, and easily dodged the blow. The halberd kept flying, and the energy within it kicked up huge ripples across the water's surface. Everyone rolled their eyes in unison. "Your plan was just to show us this?" Deoksu's face darkened. He forced himself to act like a pro, and didn't answer a single word. "This is what you meant? Having the brothers risk their lives to clear you a path?" After dodging, the siren let out a smug, monstrous laugh. Even the fishmen mocked him mercilessly. Deoksu suddenly asked, "Ha Dongjian, are you a bit forgetful?" "You're the forgetful one. At a time like this, what the hell are you still putting on an act for?" Right after cursing, he actually remembered something. "Dongjian, can you kill fish? Do you know where to cut?" The next second, the show-off's halberd appeared again. "Come on, let me teach you. When killing fish, it's best to strike from the back. That way when you grill it, it'll be flavorful enough." The halberd seemed to blink into existence, precisely piercing through from behind the siren. The siren let out a miserable howl, as its HP dropped to 0 instantly. Its body twitched a few times, and then completely fell silent. The halberd spun in the air, and flew back into Deoksu's hand. A system loot prompt popped up accordingly. Right after, the fishmen that had lost to man froze in place, as if briefly crashed. Then they seemed to have their will to fight ripped out, and they jumped back into the water in a frenzy, fleeing the battlefield in a swarm. The danger was temporarily lifted. Everyone gathered around, keeping watch, as they couldn't help sighing, "Nicely done." Ha Dongjian couldn't spare time to listen to the praise. He rushed to Gaeong first thing. Kim Dejong was holding Gaeong. She opened her mouth, but didn't know how to speak. At this time, Gaeong finally reacted. She called in a low voice, "Dongjiang." Then, using all her strength, she forced out 2 words with difficulty. "Dad." Ha Dongjian's expression sank at once, and then he looked upward in fear. Gaeong's voice trembled. Dongjian, what am I supposed to do next? When he followed her gaze and confirmed the identity of that corpse, Ha Dongjian couldn't even stand steady anymore. He had no idea how things could have turned out like this. Jaehyun tried to post a task on the system panel, wanting to bring Gaeong's father back to life. But the system's response was only a cold failure. In that moment, Jaehyun was practically clicking the panel like a madman, trying to find even the slightest possibility that could bring him back. Yejin watched Jaehyun nervously from the side. Jaehyun stared dejectedly at the system interface in front of him, while also scrutinizing his own heart. If it were a life-or-death moment, I would summon them back without hesitation. But summoning them back without an outpost base means all actions have to start over from scratch. That risk is too great, and it would waste far too much time. But they were surrounded by monsters and dragged underwater. If that doesn't count as life or death, what does? That was the truth. People were selfish. Everyone worried for the people they cared about. Of course Jaehyun understood these principles. He was just pretending he didn't care about others, and only wanted to prioritize saving his own family. And they had also been accommodating Jaehyun all along. Jaehyun knew that perfectly well. But this was the apocalypse. Jaehyun could provide help, but it was impossible for him to be everyone's babysitter. Thinking of this, Jaehyun posted a new task again. Gaeon's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the task prompt in front of her, bury father, and she broke down into sobs all over again. Watching this, Jaehyun felt uncomfortable in his heart all the same. Before long, everyone stood in front of Gaeong's father's grave, accompanying her in a moment of silence. Ha Dongjian asked her softly, "Are you sure you want father buried here?" With her back to the group, Gaeong's voice was very light when she turned around. "Dad would like it here. He was a workaholic when he was alive. He always said after he dies, he wants to be buried with the railway too. I think I should help him fulfill that wish now. When I was little, I always thought it was a ridiculous last wish. But now, he's finally gotten what he wanted." Every word she said made Jaehyun's chest ache. Jaehyun was also afraid that one day, this would become his own story. "I hope their sorrow never becomes my sorrow. At the same time I also hope they won't stay trapped in sorrow forever. Looks like what we need is more people who are strong enough. And among the people we have now, the one with the greatest potential seems to be only him." The scene shifted. A blade-sharp wave of water swept out, instantly splitting a goblin in two. The next second, a system notification popped up. "Citizen Lee Junhyuk meets the requirements to register as a vassal." It's him. Jaehyun registered him as a vassal without hesitation. At that instant, the woman behind him widened her eyes. "Junhyuk, your body is glowing." Lee Junhyuk himself could also clearly feel it. Something inside his body had become completely different. I really didn't pick the wrong person. He's already level 40, and he awakened 2 skills at once, 1 A rank and 1 S rank. Lee Junhyuk also realized this was Jaehyun's ability strengthening him. Seeing him stare blankly, his companions asked with concern, "What's wrong? What happened?" He looked down at the brand new task he had received, and the corners of his mouth slowly lifted into a smile. "Test my skill. Perfect. I'll use goblins as test subjects." He slowly raised his hand. Water, visible to the naked eye, rapidly gathered in his palm. Before long, a huge water ball condensed in front of him. The monster stared dumbly at the terrifying energy surging within that water ball. In the next moment, Lee Junhyuk activated Water Bomb. The huge water ball exploded instantly, turning into countless droplets, then dispersing into nothingness. Looking down again, the ground was cut by a bottomless trench, spanning across the front. The power of this skill was absurdly strong, terrifying beyond words. The current Lee Junhyuk was basically a grand archmage of water. He lifted his hand slightly, and the water droplets on the ground seemed to be pulled, flowing upward against gravity with his gesture. This was his other skill, Water Controller. A companion cried out, "Junhyuk, is this something a human can do?" After testing the skill, he stood under the rain curtain he had created, and laughed out loud. Right after that, he dropped to his knees, kowtowing madly in the direction where Jaehyun was. Some companions thought he'd gone crazy, while those who understood vaguely guessed. Everything had to do with that flash of light just now. On this side, Jaehyun also received the notification. His trust and loyalty rose again. "To be honest, I didn't expect him to awaken an S-rank skill. Now he's under me. After Oyeonju, he's my second S-rank ability user. But he was originally only B rank. So how did he jump straight to S rank? Could it be because his original level was high enough? Looks like this isn't just a simple luck issue. Forget it. Results that satisfy me are enough. Next, what position should I put him in? What if I just toss him into Ha Dongjian's team? Seems unnecessary. That side's lineup is already very complete, and he has a team of his own too. If I pull him away, won't his people fall apart? For now, the most feasible way seems to be letting him keep his own team, and continue cooperating side by side. At this moment, the system popped up another loot acquisition notification. Jaehyun froze. It's already so late. Someone's still working hard killing monsters? Just as he was about to check who was that strong, his skills suddenly leveled up. The next second, the territory range began to expand, and that familiar pressure and stabbing pain swept across his whole body again. But this time, the pain was far stronger than ever before. Even worse, this territory expansion, he had no idea how long it would last, nor how far it would expand. In the searing pain, Jaehyun's vision went black, and he fainted right in front of Yejin. This time the suffering was simply unprecedented. Before he completely lost consciousness, the last thing he saw was Yejin, lunging in front of him, anxiously calling his name. He didn't know how long had passed. When Jaehyun slowly woke up, what came into view was an alluring mouth, inching closer and closer to him. The next second, his eyes snapped wide open, meeting Yejin hovering over him. She was pursing her lips, about to kiss him. "What are you doing?" The moment Jaehyun spoke, she jumped in fright. She hurried to explain. "I was getting ready to give you CPR." Blackie was also behind her, flapping its wings anxiously. Jaehyun reached out and patted its head. "I'm fine. Now we should check, after this upgrade, just how big the territory expanded to." After checking, centered on Jaehyun's apartment, everything within a 1-kilometer radius had become Jaehyun's territory. No wonder it hurt so much. The scale of this expansion is unprecedented. "I'm really tired and really want to lie down and rest for a bit. But right now, it's not time." Right now, Jaehyun's level had reached level 20, and he also gained 3 skill points. First, upgrade Ultimate Eyes. With the skill upgraded to level 4, a new function was added, Multi-View. Jaehyun could feel it, his vision being stretched and split, like opening multiple split screens at once, simultaneously watching different targets. However, turning on multiple views at the same time noticeably accelerated mental energy consumption. And right now, Jaehyun could only unfold at most 3 viewpoints simultaneously. The second skill point, Jaehyun decided to put into Dignity Maintenance. This thing was very practical. At the same time as the upgrade succeeded, it also unlocked the Mysterious Scroll trait, and even gave him 300 crystals for free. Jaehyun froze slightly. "Crystals? What are those?" Looking down. "Mysterious draw, single pull, 300 crystals per draw. So this is where you were waiting for me. Draw now." In an instant, a huge magic circle rose in front of him. The blinding light made it almost impossible to open his eyes. Only after the array fully dispersed, a wisp of golden light still floated in midair. It was a glittering platinum ring. Jaehyun casually put it on. System prompt. "This is a communication ring, which can be used to send messages to vassals." Right. I still haven't taken a close look at what skill Kim Dabin awakened after becoming a vassal. One look, and Jaehyun went blank. It's actually telepathy? That's too perfect. This ability is basically a perfect match for the logistics work she's responsible for. At this time, Jaehyun happened to see a group of people arguing fiercely with Kim Dabin. The reason was simple. They didn't want a bunch of people crammed into one room, and they were insisting she allocate more empty rooms. Jaehyun's anger flared instantly. Without saying a word, he headed straight to the scene. That middle-aged man was still yapping on, gesticulating wildly, acting like if Dabin didn't agree, she'd be violating basic human decency. What Jaehyun hates most is this kind of person, opening their mouth and immediately starting moral blackmail. "You won't obey? Then get the hell out." But the middle-aged man wasn't scared at all. "You little brat, what are you supposed to be? You dare talk to me like that?" Jaehyun couldn't be bothered with more nonsense. He raised a hand and pointed, directly expelling him from the territory. This was the first time Jaehyun personally acted. The scene went silent instantly. "I've said my piece. Who agrees? Who disagrees?" The rest didn't dare make a sound. "Don't think this is the end. From now on, your water, electricity, and gas are all cut off. What do you think this place is? And you only ran here after I defeated the one-eyed giant. Why you came here, you know perfectly well in your own hearts. Every day, hundreds and thousands of people come rushing here with the same thoughts as you. If I agree to your demands, do I still have to manage everyone else? You think you can come here and enjoy life the moment you arrive? I'm telling you now, keep dreaming. The government is gone, and I'm not the president. You can think I'm a new tyrant, but that doesn't matter. If you want to take my benefits, first look at whether you're even worthy. Everyone else is grinding their teeth adapting to the new environment. A lot of people who truly have it hard are still helping each other, doing what they can. And you open your mouths and demand. What gives you the right? Now, right this second, get the hell out of my face. I think you've been too comfortable. Otherwise, you'll end up like that guy." After being chewed out by Jaehyun in a harsh barrage, these people instead felt strangely a bit relieved, watching them not daring to say another word. Turning around and leaving in disgrace, Kim Dabin finally let out a breath. She repeatedly expressed her thanks to Jaehyun. Jaehyun only smiled faintly and didn't speak. Instead, he spoke inside her mind through the communication ring. She froze instantly. eyes widened as she stared at him. Jaehyun continued in her mind. Pretty interesting, right? Actually, you can do it too. Try your new ability. Think in your head about the person you want to communicate with. Then speak. It's simple. Very quickly, Dabin got the hang of it. She thanked Jaehyun again. And this time, it was with the telepathy she had just awakened. Just as Jaehyun was about to leave, he was stopped by a fat man. He kept his head down, a little nervous. Sorry, I interrupted you two talking. Jaehyun's mood really wasn't great right now. What is it? The fat man broke into a cold sweat, then gathered his courage and said he hoped Jaehyun would spare the person who had just been expelled. Again? Jaehyun said. Why should I? The fat man admitted that the guy who led the trouble was wrong, but that had also been everyone's shared opinion. He hoped Jaehyun could forgive him, and spread the punishment across everyone instead. Actually, Jaehyun hadn't planned to take that guy's life for real. He just needed to set a rule. What's your name? Han Jaehyun. Jaehyun glanced at him. You seem fairly sensible. How about this? Jaehyun will restore that troublemaker's citizen status, and your water and electricity will be restored as well. But gas, for now, it won't be turned back on. This time, I'm making an exception, and it's because you know what's appropriate. There won't be a next time. Go back and pass a message for me. Han Jaehyun thanked him repeatedly, then hurried off. It wasn't that Jaehyun hadn't considered reopening gas for the elderly, the weak, and the sick, but they needed a warning first. Dabin looked at Jaehyun and said via telepathy, Jaehyun, you're really a very warm person. Jaehyun stiffened slightly. Don't suddenly say stuff like that, okay? But I did come to you this time because there's something else I want to discuss. Right now only these two buildings have shared facilities. I'm planning to roll out the same setup to all buildings. How many people did you say were on your team again? Only 15? I want you to expand the team to 100 people. I'll cover the money. 100,000 per person per day. This is a pretty good direction for development. With you in charge, I'll also feel at ease. Before they even finished talking, someone ran over to interrupt again. Jaehyun felt a bit irritated. What do you want with me? The person was very polite. Sorry to bother you. I wanted to ask, do you need a medical team? I'm Lee Se-youngman, an associate professor at a hospital. After sending him off, Jaehyun continued discussing with Dabin. What if we just convert their floor directly into a hospital? As we keep searching, there will definitely be more and more doctors and nurses. And the matter of forming a medical team, I'll leave that to you too, Dabin. After dealing with all that, Jaehyun finally returned to his room. Yejin asked gently, did everything go smoothly? Don't worry, Jaehyun replied briefly. Then activated his skill to check Ha Dongjian and the other's current location. Looks like everything is still going smoothly. Then Jaehyun will keep using the remaining skill points. This point goes into storage space. The skill upgrade completed. The capacity doubled. And when items were stored, their physical state at that moment would be frozen. This passive is something. Time for some high-end plays. Gun, come. Jaehyun loaded the bullets, raised his hand and aimed forward. Yejin, it might be a bit loud in a moment. Cover your ears first. She looked confused. What are you doing? Hurry up, Jaehyun said. I'm going to fire. Huh? Why are you playing with a gun? Before she could finish, Jaehyun was already firing like crazy into the air. Yejin was so startled she immediately dropped to the floor, both hands clamped tightly over her ears. Bullets shot out one after another, but vanished into thin air mid-flight. His storage space collected them all. Storage went very smoothly. Jaehyun nodded in satisfaction. Then he walked to the window, pushed it open, and calculated quickly in his mind. If I'm understanding this right, seeing Jaehyun's I'm about to do something expression, Yejin couldn't help feeling a little uneasy. Standing by the window, Jaehyun opened storage space. The next second, the bullets he'd stored earlier all flew out exactly as they were, along the direction he just locked onto, and shot out again. Jaehyun curled his lips. This is exactly the effect I wanted. This will become my remote support attack method. On the other side, a goblin's head exploded, green blood splattering everywhere. Ha Dongjian and his group were killing goblins as easily as killing chickens now. Soon, they finally reached the next planned strongpoint. At that moment, a familiar voice suddenly rang out in their minds. Hello, everyone. Can you hear my voice? Everyone was startled at the same time. Looks like you can hear clearly. From now on we'll communicate this way. Now, you can leave through exit 2. Under Jaehyun's command, they went up to the surface along the designated route. However, the scene that met their eyes still left them speechless. Every block and every station they passed, not a single place was intact. From now on, we've stepped into a new region that has never been explored before. Yejin kept trying to reconnect to the mice, but every attempt ended in failure. Jaehyun, which way should we go now? Continue forward 1 kilometer along the road on the left. In theory, we'll reach the target point. Everyone advanced slowly according to Jaehyun's guidance. And right then, a new monster quietly appeared. Ha Dongjian noticed it immediately. Holy shit. Fall back. After finally cutting a bloody way out from those siren fishmen, now another shark pops out? He raised his weapon and took the initiative to attack the land shark head-on. Kim Ji-yeon also drew his gun quickly and kept firing from the side, bullets hammering the land shark's fish head and face from all angles. Taking advantage of it being suppressed by firepower, Ha Dong-jeon closed in on the monster's lower body. Then, with a whipping arm motion, hurled his weapon viciously. At that moment, Oh Yeonju had already transformed into the little bear and dropped from above into the battle. In the land shark's vision, only that falling bear remained. This time the little bear finally switched to a new pose. With a plop, it sat down hard. But first, right on top of the monster. The system loot prompt popped up right on schedule. Yeonju stood up smugly. That move just now was cool as hell. Dong-jeon, later have Kim Ji-yeon scout the surroundings. Kim Ji-yeon nodded and immediately sent the contract beast to fly off into the distance. Very clearly, the situation was a bit bad. There's a big one ahead, and not just one. Stay alert. As soon as he finished speaking, a mutated crab appeared in front of them, with the heavy clatter of its shell. Careful, it's not the only one. There are other monsters too, quite a lot of them. Watch the overhead. There are monsters up there too. Watching creatures keep emerging from all directions, everyone was a bit stunned. What the hell of these things? Looks like we recently punched through a seafood nest. Dong-jeon's reminder. Hurry up and summon weapons and armor, and hold them back. In an instant, Deoksu was fully armed, charging to the front line like a heavily armored tank. He raised his weapon and swung hard, splitting a blue marlin cleanly in two with a single slash. Kim Ji-yeon and Byung-go handled ranged fire suppression. Gaeong activated her piercing skill, picking them off one arrow at a time. Even though the two guys were firing their pistols fast, it was obvious. Gaeong's arrows were steadier and more accurate. Just then, Gaeong suddenly heard Kim De-jung cry out in alarm. She saw Kim De-jung's hands trembling as she fired frantically forward. But not a single shot hit a monster. The next second, the monster was only a 0.001 meter gap away from her. At the critical moment, large numbers of bullets appeared out of thin air in front of De-jung, pouring out like a torrential downpour, and instantly riddling the monster full of holes. It was Jae-hyun using storage space for remote support. Seeing the frontline situation tighten, Jae-hyun immediately called Yejin over to help. Don't rush to reconnect to the mice yet. You, fire into the storage space. Yejin froze on the spot, holding the gun with both hands, not knowing where she was supposed to shoot. No time to explain. Shoot anywhere. Just do it. Hurry. Urged by Jae-hyun, Yejin finally gathered her courage and pulled the trigger. From now on, don't worry about anything else. Focus on firing your pistol. Don't stop. Jae-hyun summoned all the bullets she fired into storage to the frontline battlefield. The effect was pretty good. At least clearing out the fish in the air became much easier. Jae-hyun, I'm out of ammo. Hurry and swap magazines. Keep firing. At this moment, Hyrin heard gunshots coming from their room and hurried in. When she saw it was just Yejin standing next to Jae-hyun firing into the air, she finally let out a breath. On the other side, the mutated crab raised its massive pincers and slammed down at Yeonju and Ha Dong-jeon. The two hurriedly rolled to evade, pulling back to a safe distance, panting as they watched. You've got to be kidding. How are we supposed to kill this thing? It's coming again. The mutated crab raised its pincers once more. Everyone quickly spread out to dodge. Then Yeonju prepared to charge again. Before striking, she still didn't forget to shout, De-jung, buff me first. Hearing that, Kim De-jung immediately snapped back, rapidly stacking a full set of buffs onto Yeonju. The next second, Yeonju gleamed with golden light, turning into a gold-plated little bear. She charged up and lunged forward hard, hugging one of the mutated crab's legs. Then Yeonju fired her waist and core together, ripping one crab leg off by brute force. Ha Dong-jeon also seized the chance to rush up, still shouting, Jae-hyun, weapon support. Using the momentum of his forward rush, Ha Dong-jeon activated his skill. His weapon flicked upward from below, in a strike that hit dead-on, right into the mutated crab's mutated big mouth. Yeonju also leapt at this moment, diving down with unstoppable momentum, both paws raised high, slamming viciously toward the mutated crab's head. But the mutated crab didn't budge an inch. The little bear's attack only knocked a layer of dust off it. Yeonju stared in disbelief. Not even a scratch? How is that possible? At this time, Byung-go spoke up. Everyone back off. Let me try. A flash of light. He blinked above the mutated crab, aimed at its head, drew his gun, and fired in rapid succession. The bullets hit the shell, and all ricocheted away. This defense is insane. We can't break its armor at all. How are we supposed to kill it? Everyone looked at the mutated crab, and for a moment, they all felt a headache coming on. Jae-hyun stared at that exaggerated outer shell, and a possibility surfaced in his mind. Maybe you need enough impact force to crack its shell. Alright, my turn to operate. He began using his skill to rapidly search within his territory for what he needed. Before long, he found the target, in the gym. Through the communication ring, he contacted Yeonju. When I give the signal, you need to jump up and attack immediately. After coordinating, Jaehyun immediately began summoning items from his storage. Recognize it? That barbell falling from the sky. Jaehyun wants to say this first. Sorry, Miho. I'm borrowing your baby for a bit. I'll buy you a new one later. Jaehyun first built up enough potential energy for the barbell via a high-altitude drop. At the instant just before it hit the ground, he stored it back into storage space, freezing its physical state at that moment. That's it. Next, summon it again. The falling barbell precisely targeted the mutated crab's back. The moment it struck, Jaehyun sent the signal through the ring. Yeonju, now! Yeonju jumped again, shouting in midair. Let's see just how hard that shell of yours really is. Using the crack the barbell had smashed open, she drove a palm strike straight through that section of carapace. System loot settlement. When the numbers came out, everyone froze for a moment. No one expected that just a single mutated crab could drop more than 900 million in profit. After killing the mutated crab, the road ahead was still the same as before. The streets were packed with ferocious seafood. All sorts of spiky, shelled, bizarre-looking creatures kept crawling out of alleys, rubble, and shadows. More than once, if Jaehyun hadn't provided timely remote support, someone would have died on the way. Watching all this, Jaehyun's mood grew heavier and heavier. With Ha Dongjian's squad's current strength, they're still struggling this much against these monsters. They're top tier awakened, and they're even armed with guns. Yet after pushing forward just 1 kilometer, they're already exhausted. I also need to face reality. The probability that my family is still alive is basically zero. The closer they got to his parents' home, the more Jaehyun's unease, anxiety, and fear pressed down, until it was hard to breathe. Even so long as there was even a sliver of hope, Jaehyun wouldn't give up. The surrounding streets had become ruins, but Jaehyun could still feel a strange sense of familiarity. We're almost there, just a bit farther, and it's my parents' home. Suddenly, Jaehyun noticed a detail in the image. Wait, that tree just now. Dongjian, have everyone stop for a moment. I grew up around here, so I know exactly what this road does and doesn't have. There have never been any trees here. Even if someone planted one, there's no way they'd let it grow right in the middle of the road. So there's only one possibility. That tree is a Triant monster that appeared after the world mutated. Through the communication ring, Jaehyun said. Everyone, you should already see that towering tree ahead, right? Yeah, it's pretty noticeable. All personnel, be careful. That tree is a monster. As everyone took up battle stances, a crack suddenly split open in the tree's bark. A vertical eyeball slowly opened. The next second, the tree demon began to move. Gaon was the first to draw her bow, and an arrow hit the trunk. The tree's branches and roots immediately whipped around like it was having a fit, its shape twisting. As it gradually grew structures like arms and legs, as if thoroughly enraged. Seeing the monster change, Ha Dongjian immediately followed up with damage. The Treant abruptly turned, using the thick trunk on its back to tank the spear he threw. Right after, its manifested claw slammed heavily onto the ground. Before everyone's stunned eyes, it slowly straightened up, truly standing in a complete form. Ha Dongjian looked annoyed. Why do we keep running into freak monsters like this? A flash of light, Byunggo blinked behind the Treant, and unloaded a burst with his pistol. The bullets hit the bark, only throwing off a few sparks. Yeonju also lunged from the front, preparing to brute force it head-on. The Treant stared at the bear charging straight at it, and instantly manifested a mass of vines, whipping wildly along the bear's path of movement. Yeonju wasn't stupid. She rolled and dodged, evading the attacks with agility. Then she sprang hard, preparing to use the momentum to go in again. However, the ground suddenly split open, and roots shot up violently from beneath her feet. Yeonju was shocked. Damn it, I can't dodge this. But unexpectedly, those vines didn't stab at her. Instead they wrapped around in coils, binding her tightly. Everyone cried out in unison. The Treant lowered its twisted face, and looked at the bear it had tied up. The next second, it swung down a vine like a sharp spike, stabbing straight toward Yeonju. It's over. Looks like we're done for today. At the critical moment, a flash of light, and Byunggo blocked in front of the spike. The spike was only one step away from him. Yeonju shouted urgently. Go, now. However, that vine spike seemed as if someone had suddenly hit pause. It stopped right in front of Byunggo. Ha Dongjian's eyes went red with urgency. Byunggo, what are you waiting for? Move! In just an instant, Byunggo and Yeonju vanished at the same time, reappearing behind everyone. Jaehyun saw everything clearly. The Trent's attack abruptly stopped as it approached Byunggo. This detail left him completely puzzled. Could it be the Triant only attacks bears? Let's test it. Dongjian, pull Yeonju back. Everyone else keep attacking. Follow my plan. Ha Dongjian was confused, but still complied and issued orders immediately. Kong Deoksu liked to charge in, but that didn't mean he couldn't think. Looking at that massive Triant, he had zero confidence. After all, this thing was not only huge, it also had tentacles. He was honestly a bit spooked. He was about to force himself to go in when Ha Dongjian suddenly asked Jaehyun, Did you see it too? Could it be that this Trey ant actually doesn't attack proactively? But one thing was certain. It was only from the moment Yeonju transformed into monster form that the Trey ant truly became enraged. While Jae-yin and the others were analyzing the situation, the Trey ant moved again. Under everyone's gaze, it slowly stood upright once more, as if the real fight was only just about to begin. At this moment, on the street on the other side, another land shark darted out. The Trey ant slowly turned its face, locked onto the target, and the vine started whipping again. Exactly like before. The next second, a spike-like vine precisely pierced the shark's vital point, and the land shark was instantly killed on the spot. The monster won't attack humans. Since it won't proactively strike humans, you can keep moving forward. Everyone cautiously detoured around the big tree and walked a few steps forward. Sure enough, the tree didn't move at all, and launched no attacks. Not long after, they finally arrived at the target location for this operation and stopped. Jae-hyun, you should be able to see it, right? Are you sure this really is your parents' home? Everyone looked up at the towering tree, and couldn't help doubting. Did we come to the wrong place? No, we didn't. Jae-hyun clenched his fist. The spot where the tree stood was exactly where his parents' home used to be. This is where my parents, and my grandparents, once lived. You stupid as hell tree. What right do you have to stand here? Right now I want to kill it. I don't care why you grew here. If you make me unhappy, I'll summon Ha Dongjian and the others back, and blow this place into ash. As his emotions kept surging upward, the system suddenly popped a notification. Bloodline-related individual of the ultimate shut-in detected nearby. Before he could read it carefully, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Ha Dongjian and the others. The person spoke. Who are you? As soon as the words fell, a beam of strong light shone straight into their faces, making everyone squint painfully. When their eyes adjusted again, they finally saw three middle-aged people, walking over slowly. But none of the three looked friendly. They only questioned sternly. Why are you trying to hurt Poppy? The three elders quickly gathered around the Trey ant, their eyes full of concern and distress. The group exchanged looks, feeling awkward for a moment. One elder flared up. Why are you trying to hurt it? It doesn't attack anyone at all. Everyone hurriedly apologized. We were reckless. Sorry. At this time, someone beside them called out to the elder. A man said with a smile. Poppy did great again this time. Help them deal with that land shark too. But honestly, the monster doesn't taste very good. The older man's blood pressure practically spiked on the spot. Is now the time to complain about the taste? Seeing this, Jae-hyun finally connected the clues. A Trey ant that won't attack humans. And that bigger tree growing at my home. Ever since Jae-hyun was little, his yard had practically been filled with plants. As the seasons changed, different flowers bloomed in turn. And the tree on the roof bore fruit on schedule. That was the little farm Jae-hyun's grandfather built by hand after retiring. Sometimes, the vegetables and fruit on the table were all freshly picked from their own yard. Thinking of Poppy that wouldn't attack humans, and then thinking of the giant tree at home. Everything felt like some kind of awakening. If there really was an awaken behind it controlling things, then everything made sense. So, Grandpa, you must be an awakened, right? Thank goodness. This is good news. A very good sign. Earlier I even thought everyone was already gone. After all, monsters were roaming everywhere nearby, and their levels weren't low. I never thought there could still be survivors living here. Seeing Jae-hyun suddenly laugh, Yejin couldn't help asking with concern. What's wrong? Nothing. I just suddenly thought of something happy. Looks like everyone's still alive. Since that's the case, let's confirm one more time. On the other side, the table was covered with cut fish meat. The elder side, being young is nice, while looking at the fresh ingredients. That was the labor output Ha Dongjian and the others left behind. They had voluntarily helped the villagers with work, and dealt with monsters to show their apology. Through the communication ring, Jae-hyun quietly said to Dongjian, help me ask that uncle in front of you. What's your village chief's name? Ha Dongjian turned and asked the man from earlier. The man answered, his name is Lee Bonggil. Kid, why are you asking that? Do you know our village chief? Sure enough, just as Jae-hyun expected, it was his grandfather's name. Before long, that man personally led Dongjian and the others into the village. After they entered, the man had them wait where they were, saying he would go invite the village chief over. The villagers were busy carrying ingredients. And although life was hard, everything looked orderly. Ha Dongjian was shocked by what he saw. Jae-hyun felt a jumble of emotions. Even a rough glance showed more than 100 people. The bustle was practically like a morning wet market in the apocalypse. A bald man was lowering his head and cleaning fish. That earlier man, to thank Dongjiang and the others, brought everyone to the bald man, hoping he could pick the best, most tender sashimi for them to taste. Before long, a huge platter of sashimi piled like a small mountain was brought out. Everyone exclaimed in unison, holy shit, you can do it like this? But, sir, do you have chopsticks here? The bald man glared at them. At a time like this, you can't just grab it and eat with your hands? The next second, a whole handful of chopsticks appeared out of thin air in front of them. Jae-hyun had tossed them over from his storage space. He had plenty of stuff like that. Everyone immediately broke into grins, while the two elderly people watching nearby almost had their jaws hit the floor. Very soon, Gaeong picked up a slice of sashimi and carefully put it into her mouth. My god, it's insanely delicious. With her saying that, the others stopped caring about appearances, and all started eating, sighing as they dug in. It's been so long since we've had sashimi this fresh. Seeing how happy they were eating, Jae-hyun didn't intend to kill the mood. He raised his hand again, and teleported a batch of drinks in front of everyone. The two elderly people were completely dumbfounded again. What kind of trick is this? You can even do it like that? Ha Dongjian smiled and invited them. Want to have some too? The next second, even more supplies were piled directly in front of the bald guy. Staring at the rare ingredients and drinks on the ground, the bald man froze. These are all for us? Ha Dongjian answered. Looks like it. Probably a meat-angry gift from Jae-hyun for everyone. The man asked instinctively, is this guy you keep calling Jae-hyun some kind of god? Right then, a rather stern voice cut off the conversation. What's going on? Why is it so loud here? Everyone looked up, and saw an old man standing on a tree branch, looking down at them from above. The villagers all called him chief, and when Jae-hyun saw the elder's face clearly, he completely lost it. It was his grandfather. The system interface also popped up an explanation at the same time. A person chosen by the world tree. When Jae-hyun checked Grandpa's panel further, another prompt appeared. Auxiliary structures can be built. Grandpa was still exactly as Jae-hyun remembered, hands clasped behind his back. He jumped down from the branch, landing steadily on the ground. He looked far healthier than before the apocalypse, and just from the way he walked, Jae-hyun could be sure this wasn't an illusion. All of this was thanks to his awakening. Jae-hyun immediately sent a message to Dongjiang. The elder in front of you is my grandfather. Please give him my greetings for me. Dongjiang stepped forward right away to greet him. That middle-aged man also helped introduce them from the side. Chief, these young folks are all pretty good. All these supplies you're seeing were sent by them. The chief glanced at the supplies and spoke slowly. Really? Water resources are a huge problem right now. Thank you for your generosity. Ha Dongjian quickly clasped the chief's hand. You're thanking the wrong people. These were all brought at Jae-hyun's request. We were also entrusted by Jae-hyun to come here specifically to find his relatives. Oh my, Jae-hyun, my grandson? Yes, your grandson. He's living in an apartment building right now. Jae-hyun, my Jae-hyun. I've missed that kid so much. If everything you said is true, then now, come with me immediately. As he spoke, Grandpa quickly turned around and grabbed a hanging tree branch. Everyone followed after him, stepping onto the branch one by one. The branch rose slowly, carrying everyone toward the dense canopy. Jae-hyun watched from afar through their shared perspective, and silently repeated, up a little more, and I'll be able to see Dad and Mom and Grandma. For the moment, Jae-hyun still couldn't teleport himself over directly. He had to wait until the outpost base was completed. However, the system prompt just now said, on Grandpa's side, an auxiliary structure could be built. An auxiliary structure was essentially like opening an additional territory, with the same functions as the current one, and it could also be upgraded and expanded. The only prerequisite was, a blood relative must live here. It cost more than a normal outpost base, but there was no warning of risk of being destroyed. Right now I have money to burn. No need to think that much. He simply made a big gesture and chose to build it on the spot. At the instant he confirmed construction, Jae-hyun's viewpoint was pulled by the system to above the auxiliary territory. The area was almost the same size as his current main territory. Now what he needed to do was keep Grandpa within this range, until construction finished. All of a sudden, Jae-hyun saw Grandma in his view. It turned out that under Grandpa's lead, everyone had come to Grandma's bedside. Grandpa gently held her hand. My dear, listen to what they're saying. They say Jae-hyun sent them. That's our grandson. He's still alive. Jae-hyun's heart jumped up into his throat again. He immediately had them help ask Grandpa what Grandma's condition was now. Yeonju spoke up for him to ask. Grandpa was clearly surprised. Jae-hyun, can see everything here? After learning that Jae-hyun could share the view, Grandpa answered slowly. It's okay. Your grandma is still with me. She's just fallen into a coma. Grandpa, since when has she been in a coma and unable to wake up on her own? That day, the first day the apocalypse arrived. Since then, she hasn't woken up again. It was the first time Jae-hyun had ever seen such a complicated expression on Grandpa's face. His own heart twisted just as hard, but at least Grandma was still alive. This alone was already very good news. Even though she had been in a coma for over a month, from the current situation there didn't seem to be any other fatal problem. This was most likely because Grandpa's awakened ability had kept Grandma safe all the way until now. If only Jae-hyun could issue system tasks to Grandpa. What a pity the system can't assign tasks to blood relatives. Kim Dejong tried using her healing skill on Grandma from the side, but it had no effect at all. Now there's an even more important question. so many of them followed Grandpa here to visit Grandma. But no one mentioned where Jae-in's parents are. Grandpa asked, Jae-in can see everything here? After everyone confirmed it, he said slowly. That day, your parents both went out to work. Jae-in's heart sank. So he still hasn't found my parents. From Grandpa's tone, Jae-in could feel it. He also wasn't sure whether Jae-in's parents were still alive. Jae-in had been mentally prepared for this. In this world, if you weren't awakened, the odds of ordinary people surviving were simply too low. Even so, he still wouldn't give up. Everyone, please note, our next target is the hospital where Jae-in's parents are. It's too late today, so everyone rest here for one night, and tomorrow we. Before he could finish, the system suddenly prompted. Blood relative individual detected nearby. The instant he saw those two words, Jae-in went completely rigid. Then he snapped back. Yejin, use your mice, now. Search this entire area immediately. If you find any survivors, report at once. The system hadn't indicated it was on Ha Dongjian's side, which meant the blood relative was in this area. Jae-in could feel it. That had to be his dad and mom. At this time, inside the auxiliary territory, the villagers were still busy. Someone complained, it's already so late and the work still isn't done. But more people knew this meant they would have ample food reserves for the next period of time. Suddenly, someone looked up, and their face changed instantly. A group of monsters was falling from the sky. The people on watch hurriedly rang the bell. Monsters incoming. Everyone, take cover quickly. Quick, move the stuff into the storeroom and pull down the roll-up door. At the same time, someone sprinted over to deliver the warning. Chief, something terrible. Please come out, quickly. Everyone turned back and asked, what happened? Monsters. Tons of monsters. A huge swarm of all kinds of mutated seafood is flooding this way. Facing the onrushing monster tide, Grandpa only stood at the very front, hands behind his back, quietly watching the monsters approach. This was also the first time Ha Dongjian and the others had seen a scene on this scale. Grandpa raised a hand, and a tree ant in the distance moved accordingly. Not just that one. More tree shadows around them began to sway. Seeing the injured Poppy among them, Grandpa frowned. How did it get hurt this badly? Dongjian quickly offered, we'll help, but Grandpa refused outright. Those monsters aren't coming for us humans. To me, they look more like they're desperately fleeing from something. But even so, if we let them pass through here, it'll definitely cause serious damage. So we still have to be prepared. Soon, flying monsters swept overhead. Just like Grandpa said, those monsters didn't attack. They only fled at top speed. But Dongjian knew. Once the ground monsters crashed in, Grandpa alone couldn't hold. Everyone, move. We have to help. Yet Grandpa still refused sternly. He kept his hands behind his back, and raised his right foot. With a heavy stomp, countless earth spikes erupted from the ground, piercing the charging monsters into seas. Didn't I tell you to hide inside first? Grandpa said lightly. What, do you look down on me? Seeing this, everyone only had one thought. How would we dare look down on you? The monsters skewered by the spikes were all different shapes, and those dense sharp spines standing there looked like an iron cage. There were too many monsters. More and more kept surging from behind, crashing into the spike array one after another. Seeing this, Grandpa didn't hesitate, and swept his hand. More spikes shot up from the ground, blanketing everything in all directions. Monster kill notifications flooded the system. With the bloodline inheritance bonus, the experience Jae-in gained multiplied tenfold. He stared at everything in disbelief. This is level 55 Grandpa's damage? Earlier, Jae-in had thought his grandpa was just a charge-happy reckless type. He hadn't expected he was genuinely strong. Thinking he'd wanted everyone to help him was now a complete joke. Grandpa himself was monster-tier combat power. Right after, another system notification appeared. Level increased. Wait. Jae-in isn't ready yet. Oh my god. The territory range expanded again. And that pain that felt like his body was being torn apart. No matter how many times Jae-in experienced it, he could never fully get used to it. As the territory expanded, the system found even more citizens who met the acquisition standard. Jae-in gritted his teeth. In this batch, will there be dad and mom? This time the coverage count was huge, and he didn't have time to confirm them one by one. But by the system's usual habit, if it scanned his parents, there would definitely be a blood relative prompt. So no prompt right now meant they still weren't within this range. Yejin was still desperately using the mice to search. Once there was news, Jae-in would know immediately. Even though his whole body felt awful, he didn't dare relax. He still stared intently at the situation on Grandpa's side. Seeing Grandpa stand still, staring forward, everyone asked in confusion. What's wrong? What happened? Grandpa frowned. It's strange. The monsters we killed earlier at least left corpses. But now, there's nothing. Other than lingering traces of battle, there isn't even a single fish bone left on the ground. Ha Dongjian explained. That's Jae-in's ability. Grandpa nodded. I see. Since things here have come to a temporary end, I need to call some hands over. Do you still want sashimi? There are a few fresh ones left. Only then did Jaehyun suddenly realize he had almost never seriously considered eating monsters before. Watching the villagers skillfully carry the corpses, a bold idea surfaced in his mind. Should I try it? Forget it. First register these things in the system shop. Jaehyun might not eat them, but he can not have them. A familiar flash of light. Item registration successful. Great. Maybe we can eat sashimi every day from now on. Just then, a voice sounded by his ear. Jaehyun, I think we found them. Hearing the words he had waited far too long for, Jaehyun couldn't sit still. Almost at the same time, the system also popped the text he wanted to see most. Blood relative. On a street not far away, a hand pointed at a familiar apartment building. Honey, look over there. Our apartment is still fine. Blood relative Lee Ji-suk, LV.50. Awakened ability, Lord of Dominion. Blood relative Kim Dong-heek, LV.42. Awakened ability, Enhanced Defense Aura. With both the footage returned by the mice and the system's confirmation, Jaehyun could finally be sure. It really was them. Thank goodness. My dad and mom are still alive. At the same time, the system continued. 23 subordinates of blood relative Lee Ji-suk have gained citizen status. His parents' location happened to be on the edge of the expanded territory. They were about to step into Jaehyun's territory. Because of the blood relation, they and their subordinates would not be blocked by the barrier. Jaehyun didn't hesitate at all. He activated his skill and instantly teleported to the street where his parents were. Finally, I can meet the family I've been longing for day and night. Watching that line of figures slowly walk toward him, Jaehyun couldn't help shouting, Dad, Mom, honey, look over there. Are we dreaming? He's still alive. Looks like we don't need to have another one. So great. It really is our son. They could no longer hold back their excitement, and nearly at the same instant sprinted toward Jaehyun. Even though it was only a few short steps, they didn't want to waste even 1 second. His parents rushed up and hugged Jaehyun tightly. I'm not dreaming, right? You really are Mom's Jaehyun baby? As you can see, it's me. They looked him over anxiously while asking, Are you hurt? Did any monsters attack you? I'm fine. I'm doing great now. Don't worry. After saying that, Jaehyun looked behind them. That must be Mom's co-workers from the hospital. They awakened too? Strictly speaking, it should be that Mom granted them power. At this time, a woman leading 2 small dogs stopped at the edge of the barrier, looking a bit uneasy. Pets couldn't be registered as citizens by the system, so they were blocked by the barrier. However, when they touched the barrier and were confirmed by Jaehyun, they also passed through smoothly. Mom's skill can form 100 contracted subordinates and make them awaken abilities. In the early stage of the apocalypse, whether you were an awakened pretty much decided whether you could survive. So Mom's skill is absurdly overpowered, and Dad's ability was clearly awakened only after he became Mom's subordinate. His skill was Enhanced Defense Aura. When the aura was activated, physical ability within its coverage directly increased 3-fold. This is insane. Note, 3 times, not 30%. It completely shocked Jaehyun. If it were a percentage buff, that would just be ordinary addition. 3-fold meant a straight-up multiplication. By that math, Dad's current power is terrifying. Territory citizens came with a baseline plus 93% to all attributes, stacked with the blood relative extra growth plus 103%. The combined multiplier had already broken 1,000. And when he then activated the defense aura, physical ability could shoot up to 3,300% plus. Alright, this is outrageous. And it's strong. The current strongest overlevel king goes straight to Dad, and their subordinates' abilities were mostly around B to C rank, which was the key reason they had survived until now. Alright, now we bring them home, Jaehyun said. I'll arrange 5 empty rooms for you first. For any living supplies, just tell me directly. After hearing him say that, his parents briefly suspected their son's brain had been hit by a monster. Jaehyun looked smug. Didn't you notice my building has had its lights on the whole time? Mom nodded. I just thought it was strange, so I came over to take a look. Dear Mom, what do you think it means if an entire building has its lights on during the apocalypse? After saying that, Jaehyun snapped his fingers, and the surrounding buildings lit up one after another. He loved seeing his parents' stunned expressions. That feeling made him think he was really capable. But that still wasn't the finale. Anyone want a nice cold Coke? Awesome. There's actually Coke at a time like this? Can I really drink it too? Jaehyun looked at the subordinates behind his parents and said with a smile, This one's on me. After you drink, come with me. After returning to the apartment, Jaehyun first arranged lodging for the subordinates, then prepared all kinds of supplies and food for them. On the way back to his own room, Mom couldn't help asking, Is it really okay to just use other people's rooms like this? Jaehyun tilted his mouth into a grin. When they come back, I'll return them. The premise is they can come back. Don't worry about it. Just as he pushed open his own door, Yejin and Hyran had already been waiting at the entrance for a long time. Calling out in unison, Hello, Dad and Mom. Jaehyun's parents froze instantly. Son, you have 2 girlfriends? Jaehyun was about to explain, it's not like that. When Hyerin immediately piled on. We'll take good care of you. Yejin chimed in as well. Yes, with the most sincere attitude, wholeheartedly. Jaehyun completely couldn't take it anymore, and could only say stiffly, thank you for your hard work. Now, you 2 can go out for a bit first. After his parents washed up and settled in, Jaehyun started asking them about what happened on the day the apocalypse began. That day, like usual, Dad drove Mom to work. After the monsters appeared, they protected each other, and barely survived through the chaos. Just as Jaehyun had guessed, Mom was the first to awaken. After hearing his parents' story, Jaehyun also told them, one by one, about his own adventures during this period, the abilities he had obtained, and the current living situation. Along the way, he also told them about Grandpa and Grandma's situation. By the time Jaehyun sat with his family in the lit room, sharing stories and confirming each other was safe, night had fully fallen. Ahead, the world was still filled with the unknown and danger. But at this moment, being reunited with family restored long-missed warmth. To this apartment that had once been cold again.